guys, what up, pasta? This stream will be played. Have a good time. Hopefully, let's do it.
You scheduled it, but it's not live.
It's gonna go live in a minute. It does that. Alright, guys. Hey, guys, we're watching. We'll be watching the Major 2. Day 1. MCS Grand Finals. Give me a second. Do it. Oh my God, why is it so loud? Alright. Like, it's, Alright, ready? Data's is already in? How is Data's in already? Oh my God, this guy's a super fan. Literally. The poll. But somebody took the pedals now. Hey guys, I just got a camera in the thing and you can see on my camera. Hey guys, I'm back. Hey guys, do it. Hey, put him in the pit. Alright, hey guys. Dance plays in the background, guys. So, come down and see. Hey guys, this Data plays in the background on my street. Hey, let's go! I love the vlogs! Also, guys, I will be voting on the poll. He's gonna be in the background.
What's going on, everybody?
Oh, gosh!
Welcome.
It just started!
Yes, this is the Major 2 Finals. It is that time. We've been watching the competition now for weeks.
Oh shoot, they can't see it, bro. No, they can't see it.
Ready to
Fudge.
3 trios.
I didn't do it. I messed it up.
This year. Trios will be fighting tooth and nail because.
Hey guys, sorry, hold up. Give me a second, guys. It'll be up in a minute.
Line, so if someone's gonna qualify, this is the time to do it. Joining me here on the analyst desk, it is Kelly. It is Vivid. Friends, welcome to
Kelly and Vivid under the chat, bro.
You has got me hyped, and now I can't wait to see what we have here in store in NA.
Listen, I'm just so excited that my internet is breaking. I've been shaking all the wires, really excited.
Why is it Why is it echoing?
Where we got to see Vino, Flixie pull out the old
Oh shoot!
and change up their drop spots every single
Oh my God!
I was not expecting that the chaos that happened in EU, and I can only imagine that.
Why is it glitching?
The same.
Yeah, there's some rises to these
Whoa!
That's what makes it so fun. Which always kind of gets me wondering. It's like, is anybody gonna do something?
Yo, help me! Somehow it's glitching. I got another sub somehow.
Listen, we've been going.
Thank you guys. Thank you guys. How I'm doing good. I'm trying to figure out my thing because it's.
But nothing will ever prepare you for the day when it's like, hey, today's finals. This is where it all takes place. Every single time I get so excited.
Hey, yo, Dennis, please, can you try to help me? I'm trying to get. I'm getting a lot of people in. 23 people in, guys. Appreciate you for joining. Another sub in the chat. Thank you. I got to do video cam. Something is happening. It feels like it's.
Bro, it's finals. Like this. It's happening, you know. It's just
Oh.
different, and I love that. Speaking of,
It's good. I had the video up, and then my mic was hearing it too at the same time.
Right around the corner.
So I muted this one, and it hears it in my mic.
Bang Bang Bosch will be live from Los Angeles at the gate.
Thank you guys for watching, guys. Like, subscribe, comment, and vote on the poll. Appreciate you guys. Hope you like my new video, cam and stuff. I'm locked in, guys. Let's do it.
Up for this to kind of see everyone come together and to take it to reload.
Can they hear me?
A little breath of fresh air. Breath of fresh air. Wow, my
Yes.
roof's close.
Yeah.
I mean,
Can you hear
especially
me?
this new reload map that just got released, last week or 2 weeks ago. I got to play it this morning. It is so much fun. And when I think about the Pro-Am, I think about how much fun this is going to be. 20 of the best competitors that Fortnite has ever seen, and then 20 incredible content creators, and some of them with titles of their own.
You hear me too?
It's going to be very exciting to see who comes out on top in 2 weeks.
It's gonna be awesome, right? Satisfying the
Hey,
desire
guys,
for
okay.
kind of a new in-person event in the mix of things.
Still
So
here.
that's going to obviously
I'm
happen,
just sitting
switching
here.
up with the game mode. And then, of course, returning so many faces back to the Fortnite ecosystem and kind of showing off their abilities once again. I hope a lot of them are going to be practicing, because I know some of them had some breaks from Fortnite, but then when I kind of look at some of them, I'm like, okay, they've been playing this entire time, so hopefully we'll have some good competition. Everybody kind of puts some effort into it, but regardless,
Also,
Pro-Am, it's going to be awesome.
Man, awesome. That's a word I would use to describe this next person. It's Cypher PK. What's going on, buddy? Oh my gosh, Cypher.
Yo, it's good
you
to
look
be
so
back
good.
on the broadcast.
Cypher PK.
Did you just get a haircut?
I did. I had to be looking fresh for the Pro-Am. You know, I had to change the style just a little bit.
Oh man, Cypher, I'm so excited to see you at the Pro-Am, bro. I mean, how's it feel? We get to go come together once again for another LAN. It's gonna be Pro-Am. You're gonna be competing. Are you excited?
Well, I am very excited for multiple reasons. One, first LAN in a very long time, so I'm excited to be returning to competing in Fortnite in person. Of course, getting to meet the fans as well. A lot of us are doing meet and greets. But also, it's going to be my birthday, so it's actually going to be a very special birthday. I'm going to get to spend it
Okay, are we
playing
ready?
Fortnite, meeting fans,
Ready?
and hanging out with my fellow creators.
Well, that's a pretty good birthday gift, especially when you're going to be playing with X at
Can I not see it?
The Milk Cup last year.
Oh, that's
one of the
how.
best
Well,
competitors
yo, Cypher's
that
Cypher's
Fortnite has ever
getting
seen.
interviewed right now. Do you
What
know
are you
that?
feeling about your teammate?
Oh, I'm very excited. I
6
actually
people in,
recorded
6
this
votes,
about a
6
year ago
votes to the
where
poll.
I
Appreciate you
was with
guys.
different streamers, and I did really well against a lot of different creators
hear
and
me?
even some competitive players.
Can they hear me
But
now,
Moxie absolutely destroyed me in the 1v1s. I think she ended up beating me 5-1. She was very smart, very tactical. So I really like her playstyle. I think me and her are going to
Oh, yeah,
match
they can
really
hear
well. We're planning to get some practice in before the Pro-Am, so I'm looking forward to it.
Nice, good to hear that you guys are kind of aiming for some.
I gotta turn on my mic.
Speaking of practice,
I gotta turn on my,
some of the creators that are going to be
stuff.
in the mix at Pro-Am, they kind of don't really play.
'Cause,
Fortnite
brother,
all
they
that
can't
out
hear
there.
me.
But you,
They
of
can't
course,
hear the
are
stream
one of
and
those
me at the same
creators who play
time.
Fortnite all
It's
the
top
time.
audio,
How
edit
does that kind of
mic.
make you feel? You feel like you got a big advantage there?
Oh, I feel confident. Listen, I'm going to say it.
Yeah?
Like, I'm just going to say it. I feel like out of all the creators that are competing, not the pros,
I'm turning on my
I feel
mic
like I
right now.
top the list. If I'm not one, I'm at least 2 or 3.
Hey,
But
thank
listen, we're
you
going to all be
for-
there practicing at LAN. If anybody wants to 1v1 me from the creator side, you can hit me up and we can get a 1v1 going.
Nice.
That is crazy, because I feel like, yeah, Fortnite's, dude, it's in your DNA. I mean, you've been here since the
we're
very
pulling up your channel
beginning.
now.
You know, you
Okay,
take it
guys.
all the way back to when we did like Secret Skirmish. Like, there's been so many things that you have been involved in. I think about like the trap towers, the videos that you would make. I'd be watching them all the time. I
can
mean,
they
it's
see?
so cool, and like to see you participate.
Oscar, guy.
I don't know, Cypher. I mean, are you sure? I
Wait.
mean, there's some
My thing
good
just glitched,
content
bro.
creators. Are you sure, man?
No, listen, there are some good ones out there. I'm not going to discredit anybody, but I am feeling very confident. I've been playing a lot lately, a lot of ranked. I even just hopped back into the Cash Cups recently, so I'm going to make sure that by the time May 10th comes around, I'm going to be in top tier form.
I love it, bro. We cannot wait to see you in person. What would you say to the fans to get them excited about Pro-Am?
Well, first of all, that FNCS pickaxe looks so good in my locker right now. I know we're going to be giving those out at the Pro-Am. You guys are going to get your little codes to redeem, which is just going to be such a huge brag and flex, at least until it enters the shop. But
Okay, guys.
that is sweet, and you're going to get to meet us in person, not just me, but
I
a
don't
bunch
think
of
they can
other
really hear you that much.
creators and icons and professional players. It's going to be the first time in a long time that a lot of us are all in the same building, in the same area, so don't miss out on that opportunity.
Okay, so we got
Oh,
whip,
man,
one
Cypher
whip pasta,
cannot
so-
wait. Thank you so much for stopping by, bro. We can't wait to see you at the
Can
Pro-Am.
you guys see it?
Thank you, guys.
Oscar's in
Likewise.
the background. Oscar's like streams in the
Cypher
background.
PK,
Okay.
he's gonna be
Check
there.
out.
Tickets are available. I'm just saying, I'll be first in line at the meet greet. In the meet and greet, you'll see me there.
Ow.
I'll have a little pen, little paper. I'll be like, Cypher
Because
PK,
of
please sign
me.
my forehead. It's gonna be great. Now, as we focus back in on the competition, once again, many things to discuss because again, we have 3 spots up for grabs in the Global Championships later on this year. But it's not just those 3 spots. There's also a ton of prize money available for these trios. So just think, if you, as we kind of bring this up, if you went even from like, let's say 15th
Okay, guys,
up to
so
5th, that's
got Oscar
life-changing
here.
amount of monies for these trios. So Kelly, I mean, you know, not only are these pros fighting for those spots, they're fighting to move up those standings to try and play for more of this money.
That is right. $500,000 on the line here for the prize pool. Of course, $180,000 for that first place spot. That's what everyone's fighting for. But Vivid, in reality, we're kind of looking to a top 3, potentially top 5 fight, because it's not just the money, it's not just the Blade of Champions they're fighting for, but of course those coveted spots to the global champions in France later this year.
Yeah, honestly, sometimes
Major
I feel like
finals,
the
guys.
pool kind of takes a
NCS Global Cloud teams
exist because of how the format kind of works. And it's like, listen, the only thing some of these competitive players seem to
7
ever
people
talk about is
in, 6
qualifying
likes.
to
We
global.
get a lot of
This
people
major,
in right
major
now.
number 2,
Oh
we're gonna have
my.
3 spots available. And the interesting thing about that is actually
32
the
in.
most amount of qualifying spots are going to be available in an individual major throughout the year, right? So kind of changing up of how it worked last year. Usually was that, you know, that last major that was going to be worth the most, but no, switch it up, which is
We're trying to
probably
get some
why
more
we saw so
subs,
many
guys. I
changes
appreciate
in
it.
terms of trios that
Hope
actually
you
happened
like-
before this FNCS.
Hopefully
actually
you
happened.
like,
But yeah,
new,
like Kelly was mentioned right there, with those 2 top teams
Gamma.
being Peterbot
Yeah,
Crew and
thank you.
Ritual, Acorn, Agers, and Polio already qualified for the Global Championship. They, of course, cannot qualify twice, so those spots might roll down. We might have a top 5 situation to go ahead and qualify. So a lot of our teams are kind of going to be expecting, they're hoping to get into that top 5.
Man, oh man, let's just look at this lobby list, right? So we've been watching for 2 weeks now. We've watched several different groups. We've even
Hold
had
up.
trios come up
Is
through
it-
the
where's
last
my
chance
guys?
qualifier. And now
Clicks, I'm
we
looking
get to
for
all
clicks,
battle
guys.
it out across
Clicks is
2
not
days,
there.
6 games today, 6 games
Peterbot
tomorrow.
Code Ritual.
And this is a look at our lobby list. I mean, to think that only 3 of these trios will secure
There's
one of
Clicks,
those, some of those spots
Pigs,
for the global
and
championships later this year.
Yamso.
It's crazy.
I love that you say, you know, we got to see the play-ins, we got to see the group stages, but we haven't really seen a finals lobby in so
like
long,
20
right?
minutes, guys,
And now
so.
we get to see the drop map where the big 7, the magnificent 7, shout outs to Teddy and the Avantasia crew there, all have these uncontested drop spots throughout the map. And there's a reason why, Vivid, so much respect is put on the big 7, these 7 trios that kind of dominate the North American region.
Yeah, I mean, of course, they're going to get that respect. And I think what's also very, very cool about this lobby,
Okay,
we haven't
guys.
seen this exact lobby, right? This
Explain me
FNCS, how it works.
They can't
Funny,
really
we had
see
3
that
separate
anyways, bro.
groups, so them all qualifying not only from different groups, but also all
Because
of them
you're-
in
bro,
separate
look.
ways, right? Some of them
Look-
getting
look on
victory
the- look
royales,
on
some
my
of them
camera.
qualifying through consistency,
What?
all to kind of
What?
give us this amazing FNCS finals. It's going
Kind
to
of,
be
I mean,
great.
but they don't actually know like
Man,
what's really
we
going
love to
on.
do stats. I've really
6
grown to
people
love
in,
these
like,
stats
like
from all the groups.
comment, just
Yeah.
go
We like them.
past your
Why don't we
phone,
hit some of the
shot.
stats from this major
Oh,
2
FNCS
finals?
finals.
Oh yeah, that is a lot of FNCS finals appearances. Of course, the trio with the most FNCS finals appearances is Agers, Acorn, and Poyo, our reigning champs. But the player with the most appearances, 26 out of 26, of course, goes to the way of Kanata. But 25 titles going to be competing here today. And then, of course, that first finals appearances, 28 players looking to kind of shine some light on themselves.
Yeah, I've kind of just started paying attention to this number, right? How many players are kind of making it into their first FNCS finals. So I don't really have a good comparison in mind when I think about, you know, past finals. But I can't lie, Zeke, like 28, that seems like so much of the lobby kind of making it into their first FNCS final.
It's crazy to think, again, when we were like looking at some of those stats, there was like one group where it was like 56. The next group was like 64. They were looking to make that first finals appearance. Now that number is only 28, right? So from all of these players, that has been, you know, cut down to only 28. And now they're looking at everyone else going like, okay, it's my first time showing up in the finals. Peterbot Poyo, please. I'm just trying to qualify. So we'll have to see how things kind of play out. For now, though, why don't we introduce your casters, Monster D-Face, Jacob PR. Say hello.
Thank you, Zeke, and that's right. We've gone through all the weeks of the group stages. We're at the big finals table now. And Jacob, we got to highlight some of those other squads, right? Of course, we know about the big 7, those huge teams that are going to be showing up. But then you have the other up-and-comers like Shadow, like Tyler, right? Coming through, making these appearances once again.
Yeah, you got players fighting for redemption. Taki, Isho, and Vert missed out very narrowly, at least Taki and Isho, of their first final appearance in that last major. Switched up the roster a little bit, get experience. 15-time finalist Vert is on their roster now, and they are in the finals. It just goes to show, Monster, a little bit of changes and a chance, and there you have it.
Yeah, and there is going to be a lot of those big battles happening across the map. You saw the conversation starting to develop across the community. How is this FNCS going to play out? What is the dynamic on the playing field going to be like? At the end of the day, it's going to have to reach a boiling point, and teams will have to clash it out in order to start earning those points. And most importantly, Jacob, getting a position right on the damage threshold so you can go ahead and ride it to endgame.
Yeah, and just catching fire at the right moment is important. Bucky, Okus, and Cam have done just that. First place through consistency out of their group. Let's see if they can channel that into a finals lobby. But that's going to do it from me and Monster for now. We'll see you in a little bit. Back to you, Z.
Why Monster looking so good? I feel underdressed, bro. Man, Monster, chill, dog. All right.
You need to chill.
Apparently, I need to chill. Storm Surge. We're going to be talking a lot about Storm Surge over the course of finals. We've kind of seen it ebb and flow from group to group. Sometimes it's like really, heavy and it's kind of tough to deal with. Other times we see lobbies thin down. It's not really an issue. This being a finals, though, we know none of these trios want to go down early, so I can expect we're going to see a lot of Storm Surge, Vivid.
Yeah, I'm going to use the staple mechanic of Fortnite competitive Storm Surge, of course, to kind of give you guys an idea just how hard some of these finals lobbies can be. In order to do that, we're going to take a look at some of the average Storm thresholds needed for some of our sessions. Now, the first one I'm going to look at is group number 1. Now, of course, these numbers don't really mean anything, but we're going to make comparisons throughout, right? Zone number 5 need about 400. At the end of the game, need about 800.
Okay, guys,
all right, so let's go ahead and take a look at another session that kind of happened, right? One of the Div Cups, because it's going to be very similar and amongst the same meta. Why don't we go ahead and take a look at what was required for the Div Cup right now? As you can see, pretty similar, right? Zone 5 around 400, Zone 9, around 800. But Kelly, the big comparison that we want to make, right? It's like, okay, these are happening throughout the season. Why don't we go ahead and take a look at Major 1 finals and kind of make a comparison and talk to how hard finals just really are. Zone 5, 867, nearly double. Zone 9, 1,300 damage needed there, right? Like, it is just so much more damage. And it's like, well, let's also think about the meta a little bit, right, Kelly? Like, I would say that Storm Surge is even going to be higher in this season than it was last season. So it's going to get crazy today.
It is definitely going to get crazy, and it's kind of the perfect storm, pun intended, for these players to be going for these Storm Surge. I mean, it is final, so everyone wants to stay alive. We constantly see by Zone 2, Zone 3, 90 players still alive, but by having these scoped weapons for these easy tags as well, obviously Vivid is just going to impact Storm Surge that much more.
Yeah, I mean, it makes it just so much harder. And obviously the Storm Surge meta this season, kind of returning to the conversation, is of course going to be these giant towers that players love to waste. Usually, some brick on. Usually they'll find a nice little way to kind of put their head up on.
Okay, guys,
this season has also kind of created, how do I say, just so much chaos and so much wealth in terms of the consumables that are readily available, whether it be, from an uncontested POI. And as you can see here, like for example, Acorn's Trio, they got uncontested mass metas. So they're going to get so many extra consumables, so much so they're just going to go ahead and carry all of these extra consumables to the top of those Storm Surge bases that we were talking about, which kind of puts them in a position to be like, well, I'm kind of sitting here, I'm looking at some extra minis, some extra big pots. Why don't I go ahead and expose myself out here, kind of, incentivize some other players to go ahead and shoot me. Oh, look, they're going to poke their head up. I can get to shoot them. I get to do more damage because of how many extra heals I have this season.
I mean, the fact too that because of all the heals that are available, you can buy these from the black markets, right? So we're seeing these black markets play more of a factor into some of the strategy that some of these trios have. They're like, hey, we have to go here to make these rotates. We're late in the storm. Stop by the black market.
Yeah, the black market, the 3 black markets that pop up on the map have completely changed the way that we have seen this early and middle game, and just the plethora of items, whether that's weapons or heals, of course, has just kind of shaken up the way that Storm Surge is earned, Vivid.
Yeah, and I think the black market is really, really cool in the sense that, with those 3 spots around the map, there's a kind of a way to play offensively and kind of defensively when you kind of think about it, right? Defensively, it would be, hey, listen, I just want to go to the black market. I'm going to go ahead and pick up some heals, for my rotates or whatever. But offensively, you can also think about it, oh, Black Market's players are going to be going there. I'm going to go ahead and put a base next to one of those because I'm for sure going to see players kind of go in there, rotate out or something like that. So I feel like the Black Markets have just enabled so many different strategies for some of our players.
And one of those players that has really kind of revolved their entire strategy around the Black Market is Clix's trio.
Hello, guys.
And we've seen them kind of, especially at the early part of the season, they would go for splashes, but unfortunately, it's only Higgs that have the splashes.
No way, bro.
As you can see right here, you know, Lane.
Do you think they have a chance, guys?
One stack
Type in the chat if you
splashes
think Clix
prior
has a
going
chance to
into
win
the Black
FNCS,
Market,
guys.
And like Kelly was saying, this is a big part of their strategy.
I need you to
Of course,
tell
they're
me,
gonna
'cause
go
I want
over
it.
to the Black
'Cause I
Market
think he
and
does
use
have a
Magic
chance.
Mosses, and let's go ahead and take a look at
I
the inventory
already
once
have
they're done buying
1.6
up all
watch
of
hours
those
already.
splashes. They went from just one stack of
My
splashes to a
stream.
total of 5. And I can't lie, if I was in an FNCS Finals, I would love to have 5 stacks of splashes on my trio.
I will say, though, Zeke, that there is a big question mark right now on Clix and getting the Black Market in time. There's some times where I notice that he doesn't rotate to Black Market until 17 minutes deep into Storm. And at that point, you have teams like Tony's trio, you have Noah's trio that are nearby that can easily pick up a ton of those stacks if Clix's trio doesn't prioritize it early enough.
I mean, Clix is a rewards member of the Black Market. He frequents it often, so we'll have to see how that kind of plays out. But, you know, there's also like Liam and 20, right? These guys also looking to utilize this Black Market.
Yeah, I mean, building bases on top of the Black Marks is, of course, very, very good. As you can see, Liam unexpectedly going to be taking some damage. And, you know, this is pretty basic, right? But it kind of opens up these ideas, these strategies. Because, like, oh, Liam's like, well, I don't got any heals in my inventory, but I'm based up right on top of a Black Market.
I don't know,
just
something.
go down
Do something
and buy
to try
some,
to
make sure I'm
promote my
100 before I start rotating. So that's why we just see so many players go ahead and base up near or on top of these Black Markets.
I love it. So obviously, guys, there's an elephant in the room we have to discuss.
Where?
Of course, it is the trios that have already qualified: Peterbot, Cold Ritual, Pollo, Agers, and Acorn. Vivid, why don't we talk about this segment that you've called Back to Back or Back to Pete?
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I love the fact that I kind of came up with that. It's one of my crowding achievements in life. I thought it was really, really cute right there. But yeah, I guess that's the question for me, right? I mean, is Peterbot gonna return to the top, or is Pollo, Agers, and Acorn going to get that back-to-back? Or I mean, even for Pollo, right? Multiple back-to-backs at that point. So I wanted to go ahead and take a look at their FNCS Major 1 finals and kind of how they performed and compare some of their statistics. I feel like Peterbot's trio, right? More total eliminations, the better highest point game, more VRs, right? They had those pop-off moments, right? They kind of have a higher ceiling, I would say, than Acorn's trio. The Acorn's trio was just so consistent during those Major 1 finals. I mean, they got top 8 11 times. They never got struck by storm surge. They only had the reboot 1 time, whereas for, you know, Peterbot's trio, those numbers were a little bit higher than that, right? So basically, the point I'm trying to make here is that Acorn, Agers, and Pollo, they're trying to play like perfect Fortnite. They don't want to make any mistakes at all. Whereas Peterbot's trio is kind of going for those high point games, which is sometimes risky and sometimes costly.
It's interesting, you know,
8 minutes to a start, guys.
and more so looking at the
Hope you
community
guys
as
are
a
liking my
whole
stream
and how
already.
they kind of revere him and his trio. I mean, you can see why that is when you look at the Div Cup finals. And yeah, they may have had a bit of a surprise Group 1 performance where, although they did somehow still break records but disappoint us at the same time, I don't know how they keep doing that. They did get the top out of consistency in their group, and by watching them just play, we know that it is so elimination heavy. And even more so to focus on is that elims are worth 4 points. So if you still look at all the numbers, all the tournaments that they've had that they've gotten first place in, that's typically with elims being worth even less. So with today, and there's something I want to pull back to the
7 people in, 6 likes, 6
we know
votes
that's
on
going to
the
be
poll.
Peterbot.
Appreciate you
And
guys.
even Levin said the same thing, that by them
please
losing
about the
Major
stream
1, they are going to be even more strong and dominating in this major today because they have so much more.
Like actual whip hostage.
Yeah, I mean,
Like get
it'll
whip
be very
hostage,
interesting to
like,
see if anything
actual
changes
whip
amongst
hostage in there.
the trios, right? I mean, heck, they even tried to change
No,
the
like
trios
in your
completely.
stream.
But yeah, we kind of also wanted to take a look at one of the head-to-heads that, of course, will be happening on some of these trios, and we're going to be taking a little bit of a focus towards the support role. So why don't we go ahead and take a look at, you know, Ritual versus Pollo in terms of some of the statistics that we can kind of expect, or you know, maybe some of the play styles from these two.
And this is from the group stages. I know, depending on what tournament it is, it's a completely different set of stats, but I love looking at these two right here because I think a big question mark on which one of these teams is going to be coming out on top actually comes down a lot to how Pollo or Ritual are going to be playing here today.
They're talking a lot about it,
eliminations
guys.
and assists,
I don't know how long till
they're somewhat a little bit
starts,
more
guys.
favored on Ritual side, but Pollo is able to bring out more damage and a better damage ratio. Pollo is able to kind of play this fragging role, but also still support, whereas Ritual, I feel like, is full support. But we saw a lot of people kind of hating on Ritual, let's be honest, right? But if you look at the group stages, Ritual was the one that was able to keep his teammates alive and bringing them back and kind of keeping them forward throughout the entire group stage.
Yeah, I mean, not to mention, right, I feel like the motivating factor or kind of like his goal coming into season 2 here was, hey, he wanted to improve on his mechanics. That was kind of like the goal. And I feel like that was a conversation we had during the group stages. And I'm not gonna lie, it looks like Ritual's practice did pay off. So hopefully it also is able to pay off in the finals today and tomorrow.
I don't know, less than 6 minutes till
Okay,
MCS
so
starts,
like,
guys.
obviously we've talked about
ready to
people
watch.
like
Let's do
Pollo
it,
Ritual.
guys.
What about the other side, right? Pollo
I'm
and
ready.
Acorn. I mean, both of these trios had over 900 points in major number 1, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, we now have two just like absolute titan trios who are roaming around the lobby that we have to figure out how to deal with.
I mean, when it comes to Agers, Acorn, and Pollo, what an incredible run we got to see from Major 1. And they kind of went under the radar for many, many weeks until we really got into the Major 1 finals. And I feel like they might be doing a little bit of the same today. A lot of people putting them in second place below Peterbot. But Acorn is such an incredibly smart IGL. He understands the meta. He knows exactly what to do to be at his advantage. And then you have Pollo, who is an incredible fragger and support. And then Agers, who solo clutched, I honestly, probably their Major 1 win.
Yeah, I mean, definitely did, right? Some of these trios, some of these players are just Grands players that kind of show
Five
up
people,
right
guys,
now.
do
Listen,
it.
it's finals now. We're going to give you guys
Five,
the best, and
less
I would
than
expect
5 minutes.
that out of this trio.
Ooh, can't wait to see. We're close. We got 5 more minutes before we can jump into the battle bus to kick off the competition. I know we're so close. The last thing we want to talk about here is trios we think could qualify to globals, right? With 3 spots on the line, who do we think could walk away with one of those spots? We want to start pretty simply here, right? Clix, Iamzo, and Higgs. I mean, we've already kind of touched on them fighting over the black markets, and now we kind of see them come in. They finally broke in that 4th place curse. Can they break the ultimate curse and go ahead and qualify through the globals this weekend?
I think that there is a possibility. I think out of all of the seasons that we have seen Clix play, that this is the best potential that we have out of them getting
Clix
a
has
first
been
place
doing
or
that.
second place spot in the
Actually
finals. And if you look at this graph right here, that doesn't look super great. Yes, Group 2 was a
Right
little
now.
rough for Clix's trio, Vivid,
Please
and we
don't
could even
lie,
hear
guys.
that after the group stage finished, just kind of how down Clix was on himself.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking about that myself, right? Like, is that going to go ahead and
1
affect
XP!
them in the finals? I don't think it will.
On it!
They've been competing for a very long time. But, Kelly, I mean, this trio just does such a good job of controlling the low ground, getting to the front sides of the moving zone. It would be no surprise to me if they were able to kind of pull something like this off for a majority of the games today.
10.
It's wild.
200
During
for
the
back.
performance evaluation that happened a few days ago, literally
Full back
at the
single
same
cross.
second mark, around 24 minutes and 40 seconds, which is around the time that the 10th zone pops, they
watching
would
it.
go and aggressively push into the front side of zone. And you can see, even when Iamzo and Higgs were a duo without Clix, they still made the same move. And pushing to the front side of zone isn't necessarily a, unique strat, but it's how aggressive they go for it
that
every
was
single
fun.
time. That's really impressive to me, and I think part of the reason why we see them do well in consistency.
I mean, I gotta see it. I want to see Clix. Let's see it globals. Let's just make it happen. Let's talk about Muzz, Yapko, and Rise. I feel like it wouldn't be a globals without Clix, and it wouldn't be a globals without Muzz. Obviously, these guys are over at Shiny Shafts. They've got a black market nearby, right? So we've got all the pieces. Now we just have to convert that into a top 3.
Yeah, and this is definitely something that Muzz, Yapko, and Rise can bring. Muzz has had such an incredible run this season as far as solo cash cups go, and them as a trio as well has performed pretty well. We saw them in Major 1 get 5th place. They broke up at the start of Season 2, and then right before play-ins happened, Vivid, we saw them join back up again and get 5th overall.
I mean, super incredible stuff out of them. I like that strategy that kind of Zeke kind of pointed out, right? The black market being nearby. Also like Johnny Shafts, because it also gives them the option to use that launch pad that's on the hill right above their POI. Can make some of these rotates easier for this trio. I think their strategy in the end game, their early game being uncontested, it's looking good for these guys.
Okay. I said it wouldn't be a globals without Clicks. Said it wouldn't be a globals without Muzz. It also wouldn't be a globals without Kanata. Come on, man. Kanata, Bolts, and Sphinx more recently forming, now looking to snag one of those top 3 spots. I guess the question I have to ask is, do we think they can do it?
This, out of the 3 trios that we've talked about, is probably the biggest question mark for me, and I think a lot of it's going to come down to zone pulls in their favor. They are an incredible trio. Kanata is one of the most brilliant players that I have ever seen in Fortnite. His ability to handle Storm Surge or just kind of come up with unique strats on the fly, I don't think I've ever seen anyone do it better. Bolt's an incredible player. We saw him do really well with Bryce last year. I'm excited to see him joined up by Kanata. And Sphinx, who at one point Cooper called one of the best IGLs in the game. I think all 3 of them have so much potential. I really, really hope they stick together for Major 3 because I think we could see even more come out of them.
But yeah, they're going to have to stick together for Major 3 after they qualify to Globals this weekend. Am I right, guys? But yeah, I mean, this trio, my eyes are going to be on them throughout the day, right? They're going to be down in southeast of the map, all the way down in the corner, probably looking to farm some Kinch stats there with distance traveled. But yeah, Kanata always has some sort of strategy plan when it comes down to Storm Surge. Usually he's the player towards the top of the leaderboard in terms of damage dealt when it comes down to these finals, and he's got the most experience out of anybody in the lobby when you look at it. So that's why he's been through all of the metas. He knows what to do.
I love it. Okay, we have like 20 seconds. Really fast.
20 seconds so it starts, bro.
What are you guys hoping to see out of game number 1? Go.
Big shout outs to other teams that we didn't get to mention. Bucky Camo, because I think are going to do well.
Bucky, oh my god, I forgot Bucky, bro.
Buka Threats and Rapid did really well.
Bucky, bro, he's going to actually, he's going to go off.
Okay,
he was doing so good. He
you
got
know,
it.
listen, I'm going to go back to my typical, I want 12 good games of Fortnite.
That's right. Simple, and that's what I love to hear. It is that time. Friends, let's jump up on that battle bus. 6 games today. How do we set the stage going into tomorrow? Let's find out right now.
Well, Jacob, the stage has been set. What do you think about Zeke setting them up for the rapid fire? All the big team names getting called out.
I think it's one of those things. You get put on the spot like that, you might forget a name. So I got to give Kelly all the credit. I feel like she had a list. She stuck to it. And I got to ask you, let me put you on the spot. What names are you looking at this weekend?
I'm riding with the brothers. I'm riding with Xset this week. I want to see Clicks pop off, Yamzo and Higgs. I mean, the momentum is there. And clearly, I want them to show up to Globals, right? We already know 2 big spots. Big teams have taken some spots. But let's see it. Game number 1 is here.
The Xset boys getting a lot of love from Monster D-Face on this side. Honestly, I cannot go wrong with that one. But I'm going to go with Vivid on this one. I want 12 exciting good games of Fortnite. I want 1 point to really make the difference between 1st through 5th place all the way down that leaderboard. That's just my wish for the weekend.
And I don't
blame you.
Where's Nana's play? We all know, hey, look, you can come in with the strategy.
What is he doing? Nana's play.
At the end of the day, when the finals lobby
starts
to take shape, right? When the world starts
to
take form,
there's Clicks, bro.
Start to reveal themselves.
I got Clicks in there, bro. Let's go. Locked. Oh my god, they're already fighting. We already got some teams fighting. 1 dot, 1 team. Oh my god, down. Full back, 200.
He's at the final stage with Sid here. And of course, Bryce being that anchor to the trio is going to be the first to go down right now. He's going to come down to his 2 young gunners to go ahead and pick him back up.
Bryce going down.
This is the 2 teammates right now. Kanata formerly on this roster.
Took out someone.
Wasn't enough
Yep, goes down.
To get onto his
Moses
level.
took out
He still needs some progress of his own game.
Bryce
so it's interesting. It is going to be down to them. I don't think they're going to go on a
Higgs just took out a guy, knocked him. Let's go.
Chance for him to try
W
to survive
Spooga gonna go.
End of those mountains, but it also going to be a chance for them to get Bryce back into this game very, very early on, so that way they have a lot of time to root up, get some resources, and most importantly, the material around the map.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you'll be really happy to get your drop and get your first 2 eliminations just like that. That's damage. Those are, most importantly, points on the board, right? This is not a zero-sum game for them, but let's get on.
Oh, Amplify there. That's the guy I like. Amplify he was good, but he have his team.
For this trio,
he was playing with Prem. I watched their video together, but they got stuff with their
Shining Shaft. Now, I gotta say, Muzz clearly one of the greats, right? When it comes down to being overall mechanically gifted, but it has seemed like when it comes down to end games and finals settings,
Amplify's in his
this
first
trio
grand finals.
is starting
He's
to
doing
break
good,
away
so
with some consistent
check out for him.
performances.
But he is getting,
And I
he's
like
getting
that too
contested
because
by
they
a
were
lot
one
of
of the teams at the
He's
end of
leaving.
day one
He's
in the
getting out
last
of there. He's
major.
jetting.
They were at the top of the leaderboard. They pulled off some big feats through that game, and I like what they're doing here to start off the day. If you looked at the drop map, everybody claiming their spots. This was supposed to be uncontested, Monster. Muzz, Rise, and Yap go all season long. Very little people going over there. Right out of the gates in game one, they're able to get an elimination. Yeah, they've lost a player.
No
but that
W
helps them
plays
for
in
their
the-
early
in there,
scoring
bro.
surge. So now
W-
they have a
oh,
little bit
W
more
plays in
flexibility
there.
going
In
around the
FGN,
map.
bro.
As we take a look
Going
at Noah
crazy
Plays,
Chaos
Chaos,
Gaming.
and Kaz's, another team. Honestly, phenomenal performance just to make it to this stage. They started off at one drop spot. As soon as Kanata qualified out of their group, left Hopeful Heights open, they went all the way back over to their home, and that's how they qualified.
Yeah, we're seeing the story on both sides, right? Just to put a ribbon
getting
on it,
destroyed,
Muzz,
bro?
a trio who, of course, picked that first Victory Royale up, and then you jump on over to these other teams who had to fight their way through consistency. Brutal 5 games
32
put up
teams
over the
still,
group stages.
88 down,
Yuji, Yusuf,
88
and Phenom, they're going to be
people
pretty
still
happy
alive.
with this pop-up here.
I'm trying to
Team,
check
let's look at how
any,
it
clicks.
ended up playing out for them. So
Clicks
another
getting any more
contested
stuff. I think
battle
they got
at the
water
Shining Span.
elimination.
Shining Span's
They're-
really
they're
interesting.
not
This
really
is an
battling that
extremely
much, so
narrow
hopefully
play style,
Amplify.
right? You
Amplify, I
really
think,
can't
is
disengage if you're
cool.
committing to middle
The
breach
problem
like that,
is
so
his
it really is
team
all
got-
or
or he
nothing.
contested
Jumping
Buzz,
on over
that's
to
not a really good
the
idea.
man of the
Ritual
hour,
is cold,
Peterbot.
Peterbot
We got
right
to hear
here.
directly from him just a couple moments
They're
before
trying-
the
Peterbot
FNCS
trying to look
kicked
at someone
off.
over there.
Shout out to Faxity and everything he had going on. Peterbot jumped in and he put down his top 7 for this tournament playthrough for the weekend, how finals is going to play out, and he rated himself at number 1. He genuinely does believe he's the best player in the world and the best player and team in this lobby.
And I like that confidence. Some people could say it's overconfidence because you ask some teams and some players, they don't even want to rate themselves sometimes. Maybe they'll just put themselves on top 5 because they don't want to seem just a little bit too confident. Peterbot's one of those players that he not just wants to win. I was talking to him at last year's Global Championship. He wants to dominate. He wants to set records. He wants to build a legacy for himself that can go on years past his time is done in Fortnite. Hopefully
I am
not too
enough,
soon
bro.
with the way he's
I'm
been
enough
playing,
got his
but
first team. You know
uncontested
I
means
am
they have a
enough.
lot of early
He plays
open
a
space
lot
throughout
with West.
Prime City.
Wesley
Tyler,
Watt.
Shadow,
He actually got to
all
his
the way
first grand
towards the north.
finals. Wesley
Demon
Watt's literally
Dojo, a
live
spot
right now
that starts
watching.
off uncontested, but there is a couple
Well,
teams
I
on
am
the
enough,
outside that they like to
bro.
try to steal away
He's
some
good.
shots, steal away
But
some
his
loot,
teammate-
and they're not
his
having any of
teammate's
that. You see
literally
already one
getting
elimination being
absolutely full
picked up.
box right
They're
now
following on the
by
second. That's
Shadow
Hayes, and he's
Curve
trapped in the
and
box. 1v1 versus Shadow. This
Noah
is his best
Tyler.
chance, Monster, because he gets the knock, and now it comes down to a second 1v1 against Tyler.
Listen, I respect it, but Tyler and Curve are definitely extremely talented.
Shadow got eliminated.
Before, they have
Oh,
a lot
shoot.
of experience starting to officially now rack up
Oh
a
my God,
little
he's just
belt.
beamed one
Some
there.
might say this team right here
I'm
is
enough?
the
Is
next
there- is I am
generation.
enough
This is
there?
the
I
next
think he is.
up-and-coming types of trios that are going to be leading the Fortnite space in the years to come. So this is a big moment for them to go ahead and make sure they make a huge showing here in game number 1. And you know what? Respect to Hayes' team, putting up a strong fight and forcing off Tyler and Curve.
Yeah, and you see their full health as well, so they can kind of re-loot up. They're going to go their separate directions. I expect to see both of those trios fully
There's
intact
Bucky.
in due time, getting those
Bucky,
reboots.
Okus, and
Jumping on over to Bucky, Okus, and Cam. Land on over
Bucky,
to that
Okus,
Rainbow
and
Field
Cam.
right near the black market. They instantly go in there because of one of the chests inside get to the dill bits, so they're instantly the team that gets that mythic drum gun in their inventory, and they give it to Okus. Okus is putting up numbers in terms of damage with that drum gun. I believe it's like over 90% of his overall damage in these games comes from that drum gun.
Yeah, that drum gun, man, so good in the hands of Okus. I mean, we've
Okus
seen
got a
Cam and
drum
Okus
gun.
just continue to,
Bucky.
you know, break ahead
guy.
of the competition with it. And what's going on here? Bucky just trying to, you know, fish for tags here at the Seaport
get some
City. Have to
tags
be
over here, Bucky.
extremely cautious, though, of
There's
course.
Rapid.
Given that there's another
Rapid,
trio to
Threats,
the opposite
and
side. Rapid
Booga, I
and
think,
Threats
yeah.
also playing high ground here. Booga inside the Seaport City, of course. Making sure that he's fishing up all the
67.
loot that they're going to
He
need.
was on my street already. Almost 3 watch hours.
And this is just the start
already.
for game number 1.
Thank you guys.
Take a look at Booga's loadout. For someone who's got the entire city to himself, I'd say the ammunition count could be looking a little sharper, so he's going to continue to spend time farming up here.
Yeah, just kind of consolidate the loot. You can see where the zone is at. Seaport is just on the edge of it, so a lot of those southern eastern teams on the map right now are going to have to figure out a way to rotate into our zone, whether they beeline it up the eastern side of the coast, maybe even go all the way towards the western side, get around this spot is what they're going to be looking for, because you're going to have not just one, but multiple bases here and around the map in general. As you jump on board, Higgs clicks the Yamzo at their drop spot, Lone Wolf Lair, and Lone Wolf is one of those drop spots, Monster. It was built in high ground because it is on the edge of the mountain, especially when you look towards the north, the Black Market, Flooded Frogs.
They have a
There's
chance,
lot
bro. I
of
hope they
view
get it.
that they can look down and see any player rotating through those trees.
This is what makes me really like this draw spot as a pickup for Clix's trio here, given that, again, it is relatively isolated, but it's going to come down to whether or not these teams want to show themselves right below the Lone Wolf. All that natural terrain, all those trees is going to make it a lot harder than maybe some other teams might have fishing for tags, right? So Yamzo, Clix, and Higgs, I wouldn't be surprised if they are still forced into pushing the trio for their surge damage. Jumping over to King, Silic, and Jargu here. We saw a lot of them coming out of the group stages, of course. A team that was no stranger to contested battles and early game fights this time. Seems like Kappa Factory is completely theirs. However, that's come at the expense, right? Look at King's general builds here in Jargu, right? So it has kind of come at battling other teams, and they're just trying to claw back into the mid game.
Yeah, it's something we talked about throughout different group stages and even off broadcast as well, taking those prolonged early game fights where, yeah, you can start to build up a lot of surge, trading shots, getting a little bit of those heals intact, but it just leaves you so behind the rest of the curve. And that's a team right in front of them that landed towards the Kappa Factory, that prolonged the fight, and they're in a very, very similar as them. So both teams forced to stagger themselves back into zone, try to scrap up anything that is going to be left behind. But a team that I told you I was going to have my eye on, Taki Ishao, first-time finalists for them. Vert, 15-time finalists. This is redemption for them, missing out very narrowly on the Major 1 finals last season, and they land at the north side of the map. And this is kind of what they do, where a lot of teams are making their way in towards the Black Market. They hover around towards the outsides, collecting shots, building up their Storm Surge, so that way they don't have to worry about it later.
Yeah, gotta find that surge here now, but Ishu already getting pushed out, kind of out of position here. Lost all of his shields. And unless this team has minis, there's no way he's going to be looking to use these splashes this early, so should be just recuperating there for a second.
Okay, there's Kanata, both.
So we got both in Kanata right now.
It's
not emphasized enough how much history Kanata has been a part of when it comes down to Fortnite competitive landscape. I was going to say, the only person 26 out of 26 is Zeke, essentially, because even I myself missed the finals as a commentator, so we're going to put Zeke on the GOAT conversation alongside Kanata there. But, Jacob, take a look at the action. It's going down right now.
Oh my god.
Yeah,
Holy!
Fight breaking down.
Look at this.
A little slow to start that one. Gets beat off by Silic and Jargu, but
Look at this.
still there,
Watch,
trying to take
bro.
a little bit of that pressure off. His team is just getting cracked over and over. Luckily, they have the time and the heals to try to keep themselves in fighting shape. And this is one of those fights, I think, for Silic, King, and Jargu, where they do not have a lot of resources. You see bandages. You saw some empty spots
still 31
before.
teams at
And this is one of those they might feel like they have to take this fight in order to get one Storm Surge, but two, there's eliminations, so that way they can get a refresh on their loot.
So yeah.
Already looking to continue to go down. Veer and Dash playing once again a bit passively here, but I'm not really feeling this for Seek, Veer, and Dash, because we have a desperate King, Jargu, and Silic right now, right? They don't have a lot of mats. They're getting extremely close, and they're looking to press this box fight. And you know what happens when you don't have, you know, the material count to go the distance? You put it all on the table, so this is about to be a full-on, probably 50-50 dive here, sure.
Yeah, basically whoever gets the opening shot on their opponent. And there's actually a huge mismatch in terms of heals, as Veer's trying to lead the charge over the side. Has to be careful not to accidentally jump off the bridge. Seek just hiding underneath. He does have the Infiltrator, so he could deal a good amount of damage from far away. And you see in the distance the third party, Bolts, Kanata, Sphinx, they hear the noise, they see the shots, and they're beelining their way over. You see it in the minimap, and there's already one down on the board for Jargu and King. That's Silic they just lost.
yet Kanata gets the fall damage to assist them there on the elimination, and they are fully collapsing right now. Take a look at the nameplates. You just see they are controlling essentially the outer area here. This is a very bold push here, so it tells us Kanata, Bolt, and Sphinx did not get damage in the early game, and they are forced.
Wow, oh my gosh, this big fight right now, big fight.
Seek on the bottom level is going to find the elimination though, so no points earned just
Oh,
yet.
really?
They did leave the down
Man.
body there, so that's damage lost too, but hey, they're pretty
Kamara,
content
oh my
with the
goodness,
exchange here,
took
and
out
off they go.
everything.
Yeah, I agree with it as well. You see the zone just pulling further and further towards the north. It has a big eastern
Yeah,
wind on
keep
it as
moving.
well. They already got a little bit of damage, and since they're bypassing this team, they know eventually the team they left behind is going to have to rotate into their position.
Oh my God,
They're
Kanata.
gonna give themselves options
bro,
later
they
on. You
just
see
beamed
how they were able to
bro.
catch Silic off guard just in the distance.
No,
When you make that
shoot.
much noise, it's not as safe
Oh,
as you
shoot,
think.
I'm enough
You see
shadow
Ryan's
there.
fights breaking down. If you're
They were
not
fighting-
able to kind of position yourself
They were
with the abundance
fighting
of heals and get those
Destroyer
surge tags,
match,
these are the
so-
risks
And
you
I
have to
think
make.
Quick, I could go over there too.
Talking about risk, Shadow being brought back here at the Magic Mosses and now back into the action curve. Seems like they've caught a little bit of redemption as Hazen Mafia returned back to take the fight here against them. I would have thought they'd look at their little dub and call it a day, but no, looking to reinitiate here is definitely risky for all parties involved. And then on the outskirts, someone's listening and watching just nearby, but wait a second, we got a big battle here for Jack
Oh,
Kills and
Rise.
Rise. Taking down
Rise,
Amplify,
yeah,
so kind of
fun.
finishing off what they started
Oh,
earlier in the
Amplify went
game.
down.
And now that's going to bring them up to 3 eliminations. And there's still what's left of the trio here right above them.
I'm enough to get someone.
Which, Jacob, it doesn't seem like Lords is going to be able to survive. Nope, not for long as the full elimination comes through. And that brings them at 4 elims for game 1 for the boy Muzz, the 3X making a comeback.
Yeah, I think they let one of those players kind of escape early on, got the reboot, and just kind of took them down yet again. And now with Storm Surge active, you're seeing how fruitful it's been for their game so far. 953 above the damage threshold. They have splashes, they have the water sprites, and since they're rotating through their original POI, they're going to have some extra heals that they have left along the way.
Oxy
And with the zone
is
pulling
just
towards the north, I
took
don't
out
believe there's going to be too many teams contesting them until they get there.
80 people
Here's the
left.
truth of it. With
Dash
damage
just
like that,
killed
they
him.
could play dead
Took
side
himself
all
out.
day long. They have a lot of luxury right now to make some huge rotates around the outskirts of the map, take their time and fully cap off on material here, so long as they have maybe even just a singular med miss to bring to the new Storm. This is a perfect scenario for
Dash,
Muzz for game 1.
Seeking, and Bolt
We get to get an
and Sphinx are
update
there.
though on what's
Where's
happening
Kanata? I
here
don't know where
with
Kanata
Sphinx, Bolt, and Kanata. So they are 1,000 damage above. So that elimination, that fight that broke out for them, clearly favorable. But now look what's happening. Veer and crew pushing in a little desperate. We already knew they might have been. And
Oh,
Sphinx,
Dash
Kanata,
is
and Bolt
took
had
it out.
basically cut them
Their
off, right?
teammate.
They were trying to get ahead of this Storm fight.
And even somewhere, DK out of nowhere gets a knock onto one of them. Veer had to immediately leave to try to go get the revive, while Seek is just creeping around, tries to land a good shot to catch him off guard, but it's not going to be enough damage to continue the all-in push. But you see there's no HP in any of their inventories, Monster. They need elimination. They need the siphon. It's all or nothing. Seek's doing what he can, but he's going to be the first one getting dropped out of this trio. Kanata, Bolt, Sphinx using that to keep themselves
Oh my
alive.
God,
The siphon's
they're just
important, but
going.
in
They're
comes
just trying to
Dash.
go
Well,
in, bro.
out goes Dash
What
as
was
well.
that?
Veer being the last one left, and he has no chance
Oh,
at
shoot!
survival.
Snipe.
From one fight to the next, you're seeing how many other teams. There's been 4 teams staggered this deep into zone trying to get their surge.
And they're all
Oh my
lit up.
God,
This
they're all
might be
trying-
a
oh my
perfect
God.
storm for Kanata's
Cynic's
trio.
back,
And they
done.
get the
King's
rebound.
done. Oh my
So
God,
they're
Kanata.
farming at this point.
Kanata, they're
Ooh,
farming.
lit up for Kanata onto King. Oh my gosh. Look at the elim starting to rack up here. This has to be intimidating
7,
for
bro.
the lobby to see the feed lighting up in this way. Jacob,
I'm
what a
watching. Oh
start
my God.
for Kanata's trio.
7
Here's the best part
eliminations.
about it. People
For this
sleep on
team right
Kanata's
now. Oh my.
performances coming out of the FNCS. You can look back
Holy
at his
moly.
entire history. He has so many appearances well within the top 10, but never, I think, have we seen a game 1 like this.
I feel like that's because
Polio,
Kanata is what they would
Aker,
call
Coop,
in the industry or
and,
community a
Cooper
prime
here,
time
Curly,
player.
and
He just exceeds
King,
all expectations when the main event is on, when the spotlight is on him. I feel like he just gets
I don't know.
exponentially better, and there's
That
another
was
example
better,
of that. But from all the teams rotating in from the southern to the north, we're going to jump on board Coop, Ree, and Curly, landing at Flooded Frogs. You can kind of see that they're up on that surge. A lot of their plan here was just taking advantage of a lot of the teams that are contested around their actual POIs. We jump on board. Hayes getting taken down.
I'm enough.
DK was one of the ones that we saw get an elimination early on, or at least it was a knock. He wasn't actually able to clean it up, and now the tables have turned. Cynic's trying to break his way in, and they take down Mafia. They take down Hayes. They send the full trio back to the lobby.
This is pretty incredible
Oh,
stuff.
I'm enough down.
You know, coming into game one, I expected some early and mid-game upsets, but so
Buggy's
far,
went down too.
the big teams, the big names, the ones that we expect, the veterans are doing so well. They're exceeding expectations at this point. And then you have these new up-and-comers here that are looking to make a name for themselves. DK and Cynic's Polar doing a great job finding their eliminations that they needed.
There's Quicks over
I'm
there.
talking about
Puyo.
those household names. We got
Peterbot just got absolutely hit.
and of course, Rich
Oh,
Roll right
shoot.
in a bit of a situation.
Oh my gosh.
Low ground, not too much.
What's happening
damage
right now?
For what it's worth, and on the other
Bro,
side,
if
you have
Peterbot
Mars
and them
that
get
we knew
taken
they were gonna
out,
get that
oh
rotate
my
north.
gosh, it's
You
gonna
have
be a
the big
clinic
boys
for
here
everyone
waiting
else.
to catch them out.
They get taken
Yeah,
out,
this is a
it's
mean
over
cutback
for a
of
lot
the
of
zone
teams.
right now. Almost all game long. It's been pulling to the north. It's been pulling to the east. And as soon as a few teams try to make it an investment to position
Boyd-
themselves on that side,
Boyd just
pull
got
all
almost
the
full
way
box.
across.
He just got full box.
But now it's basically
Oh my god, he's trying to hold
1v3
the ball.
situation. Void trying to
Oh,
stabilize.
shoot!
Spot Cold. Ritual
Oh,
pushing
Cold
their
has
way
got
in. The
beat!
third-party shots continue.
Oh my god, 200 full box!
Yapko with his own pulling in. As now everybody at this edge of the zone is going to have to make that conscientious decision. Is it worth the fight, or do I rotate? And I think most of the teams in this position are going to have to rotate in because there's just too much damage
It's
coming in from that
crazy.
zone once it closes.
Peterbot, though, he's got
Holy
eyes on
moly,
Ryzen.
guys.
Free Pixel takes full advantage of it, finds himself 57 damage there. Hey, listen, every ounce counts. The more pressure you can put on your opponents while you're making his rotate, the easier it's going to be for them to make sure that they don't get shot back in return. A couple prestigious splashes being used, but they have to so they could get hot on the move here. And what a clean rotate is starting to turn out to be.
Wow.
I'm surprised there were
Okay, they got a lot of people on
Considering
them.
how
But
far
Peterbot
they're
and them
moving
have to
in
get in
from-
there. There's Clicks, there's Clicks!
from
Clicks,
Chris
baby!
and Higgs, who are fighting for
Oh,
their
Clicks, you
damage
gotta
right
get some
now.
more
Looks like
damage in the
Bugha's
threshold,
team is
bro.
the
You
one
know
in
what I mean?
distance
Stop playing.
there.
Get the
The
people
line
from
of front,
coming
but
in.
Yamcha
Keep
makes the
people
call
from
to go
coming.
ahead and start
Get the
looking to
people
get
that are
to the
coming in.
CJ.
Come on, guys, please.
Yeah, and it just seems like they're just
Oh, shoot, Bean!
getting that early
Bean!
surge over towards Lone Wolf Lair has cost
Literally,
them
Bean!
that ability to kind of go over to Magic Moss
Bean!
and splashes. Vivid broke it down.
Oh my god, almost 200 full box, 200, 70, 100,000. Let's go!
They get granted the zone here, but the
Come on,
scanners
Clicks!
Yamso, Higgs, Clicks are able to
Watch
see teams
it!
nearby, and they're putting the pressure right across. They already got some early
One
damage. and
HP,
the team's
dead!
focused. They get the knock. Clicks being confident to move in. He's gonna grab the body, bring it back, not wanting to get too greedy in this situation.
I like this.
Hunter, bye-bye.
His confidence surging up right now. and
Yamso,
crucial
getting beamed from another
elimination
side.
from
3
Peterbot
different
that they
people shooting the
absolutely
Yamso right
needed
now.
here, But it is
8
probably
people.
not gonna be
Okay, they
enough.
already got
will
2
have to
eliminations.
continue
Clicks
to
got
push to
2
go the
eliminations.
distance,
I think they've
but, you know, one
already.
thing's for certain, they pulled
Yeah, I don't
zone,
know.
and
How
that would
much
be
is
a lucky
elimination?
pull for
How many
them, no
points are
doubt.
elimination? I don't know.
It's all about just waiting for that moment here
Wow.
in the zone in your favor.
Holy
See Reed,
bean.
Curly, and Coop. They targeted out the high ground. They took down Vert. Taki followed. Don't know if Ishao went with him, but he's going to be the only hope because right now we're only in the top 20 with as much action as we've seen
What's
so far.
placement?
3
When you
more
start
teams
getting
need
placement,
to
I
go
don't know.
down just before placement points even start to come in for here game
Placement,
number
I
1.
think,
You're seeing Storm Surge still dictating a little
guys,
bit
watch
of
out.
the lobby, 280 above. You're seeing they're still trying to be proactive. Yusuf, the perfect target, the threading the needle. They get the knock onto one. They continue to fire over in that direction. They're trying to clean it up, but whether they do or not, that's still very, very helpful for their Storm Surge.
Clicks, Puyo right there,
Take a look
Puyo.
at this. Looks who's got the high ground here in Zone 7. Acorn, Aegis, and Boyo. A little early to be committing this much, but hey, when it gets
Crazy guys.
granted to you,
Yamso with the kill and rise. His old teammate, bro. His old teammate. Stop playing.
It's going to be an
Oh,
important
shoot.
moment for them to try to
Oh my
capitalize
god,
on
Breeze
one.
just took his
They're
kill.
coming soon. They have the
Breeze just
damage.
took
They
his
see
kill,
the
I
max
think.
there. Boyo contemplating if it's worth
Unless
playing
like
for
he
at
just
this
got the
point, but of
elimination
course
but
not.
didn't actually get the kill.
As things are really starting to settle
no,
up
no.
here, where's the zone going to pull? This is going to determine
Hey,
a lot. This is a very
Yapko Muzz, bro.
close
Yapko and Muzz.
zone for the
Agers,
games to
Acorn, and
finish as
Puyo
well,
on top.
because it's
Throw it
relatively
down.
flat,
Muzz
so
just got
there's no
taken down.
excuses
Just got
as
knocked
far
by
as how
Peterbot.
you end up
Oh my
pulling this
gosh,
one out
it's getting
when you have
crazy,
the advantage.
guys.
Here it is.
Peterbot in here.
Further south now.
He's trying to battle Yapko right now. Muzz dead, I think.
Above the surge
Muzz
right
dead.
now.
Yapko's
They have to
knocked.
work with.
And they get that final elimination on the Yapko. That trio's down and out. I believe 17th place But you saw on one side, they already had zone on Acorn's team, but at max pool. And the team that
Yeah,
was
you
on
watch
the other
it.
side, granted that max pool, Bugha,
It's
Rapid,
down to
and
these
Threats,
people,
they're
like, it's so many-
immediately looking like they're going to try
and
to
so
build
many
up towards
people
that high
starting to
ground, at
fight
least
because they
solidify
got
some
to.
position. You see it on the other end, and that's where Peterbot, Cold, and Ritual start to set their focus. They can chop it down early, or at least hinder what they can see. They're going to find success there, and there's the first elimination they were able to grab onto Muzz, and that was the final on that trio as Yapko went down.
That was insane work. They had so much mats as well.
Oh, where's Clicks?
Really giving Ritual, Cold, and Peterbot the
Where's
recipe.
Clicks, guys? How
for
many
success
points?
here
I
in
don't
the
even
endgame.
know. Clicks said
Bolts
to
Kanata
use a
Sphinx
couple.
riding
They
off the
don't have
momentum
that
of
many
those 7
eliminations, but they
eliminations
have
still.
some.
They haven't picked up
Team
anything
just
just
got
yet, but
took
this is
down by
going to be
G-Buddy.
all or nothing here
G-Buddy,
now.
I think.
As Bolts are starting to
G-Buddy.
lead their way ever so closely.
Shoot.
Finding
Kanata,
some
Sphinx, and
serious
Bolts are
danger,
trying to
though.
get in,
Now
but
they're
they're
all
getting
split
a
up from
little
one
bit
another.
beat. Oh,
Kanata
shoot!
from a different angle.
Kanata, what HP?
Time, but that wood is a sign of weakness right now. The lobby taking advantage of just it. Sphinx falls on the other side of the wall. Now they're caught between a rock.
Oh, Kanata dead. Kanata is Sphinx dead. Both trying to hide right now. They're just getting in.
Hiding out. Not trying
Both
to
trying to
make a
hide.
sound here. The zone closes on top of him. What a tough spot. He's
Oh,
gonna
shoot.
get an elimination and a follow-up. And hey, you know what? He's got plenty of points earned there in a 13th place spot as his game comes to an end.
What a find
Wow,
for
Bugha
Bolts,
threads
and
it
he's
Rapid on
grabbing a
height, I
couple
think,
more
now.
points in the back pocket before he finds
Peterbot knocked!
But Bugha threats
Peterbot knocked!
They had an opportunity to high ground and not turn back, but down
Peterbot!
Cold trying to be a hero, even bait the top
Yes.
of that cover.
Yes.
Letting Ritual
Clicks!
try to get the revive.
I don't want
One
it,
trying to
Peterbot.
deal with the pressure
Clicks
on
and the
Yamzo.
Yamzo trying to get in.
The Yamzo down below, but they're not taking
Peterbot,
the
no, they
risk.
couldn't help get him out, bro.
He's now back in the
Dang
game,
it.
and with the overabundance of
Peterbot
heroes
just
that
got
they have,
res,
you know he's
bro.
gonna be
It's
full.
bad.
Oh,
Peterbot, Peterbot's team is already clowned, and their Clicks were trying, but they couldn't get
Healthy
in.
right now. Look at this. Whittling the tank zone to play the front side and clear the low ground. Of course, the med
Bro,
miss here
why they in
is gonna be a
Storm?
target on
Clicks,
them.
why are you in
However,
Storm?
they have the metal
You
mats
cannot be dying to
here,
Storm.
so a lot of time for the base to
Bro,
build as well.
Clicks, you
They
cannot
are
die.
completely
Win this
fortified
game. Come
the
on,
front
Clicks.
side of low ground. Meanwhile, Pollo Acorn Agers are
Oh my,
completely
Pollo
different
Acorn
strategy.
Agers
Still
getting beamed,
contemplating
bro.
high ground.
Holy
They
beam!
can win
Holy
right now
beam!
With no mats, this is
Literally beamed.
the least for the NHTO.
Bugha slapping everyone. Peterbot going in.
Playing the
Peterbot.
the med miss here, but Bugha's
Peterbot just got beamed, I think.
to let this team get comfortable.
Bugha threats and Rapid on height. Clicks. Clicks say there. I don't know where Clicks is. Please be still be alive, guys. Higgs, Clicks just got elimination, or Higgs got elimination. Higgs got another elimination. Pollo got an elimination. Acorn got elimination. Oh my god, it's getting crazy in here. Yo, guys, watch out. Peterbot's still alive. This is bad for the whole entire lobby. Peterbot's still alive. Oh my god, they're literally moving. Literally moving. Oh shoot, Peterbot dead. Peterbot 1 HP. Peterbot 1 HP.
They're trying to bulldoze their way into the box.
Let's be dead. Peterbot done.
Gotta give him the game sense there. That play was incredible.
Getting crazy, bro.
Again, Reek just a
Cold
little
getting
healthier.
Ritual.
Trade
Cold
it
and
out.
Ritual
And
in
now
there.
down to Ritual and Cold.
Pollo knocked.
Leading the rotates, but they're out of material. They're going together and find a huge.
Higgs just
here.
killed Pollo.
Points, top 7.
Cold dead.
Cold knocked out.
Cold dead.
Finished here now. Bugha still
Clicks.
on high ground.
Clicks trying to get in.
Ever so slightly here.
Higgs dead. No, Ritual.
Game 1 is starting to set up for threats. Rapid and Bugha now. And
Clicks,
the
come
Heroes
on.
are add up as well. Down goes the Yamzo too, and it looks like there is no full trios left in this game.
Yeah, they even
Clicks trying to stay alive, bro. Oh, Yamza knocked. Where's Clicks?
For now, they just need to look
Clicks
down.
dead. He got
Pressure,
top
they have
6,
all
I
the
think.
ammo, but you're seeing the
Top
chaos
6, I
that
think,
everybody's
yeah.
going through. Curly with a down on the visuals, even with the cleanup, it's the cycle.
Curly
keeping
Coop
alive
right here.
with a little bit of
Ritual
something
dead.
that's as well. They're able to take some position on the front side of zone, but they lose Cooper along the way. Quick backtrack. They're trying to grab him in the box, but another trio on the other side. I don't
Rapid.
think they see it go
Threats and
down.
Bugha
They
on
don't see the
top.
revive, which means they're going to be able to get him back up.
But everyone's so damaged. Finally, Polar manages to get a little bit of footing. But look at this. Reed back up alongside Cooper and Curly. They're on the low ground. They're fishing for elimination.
Oh, that's
They find
Reed.
one. The pressure from the
Cooper and
high ground
Curly.
starting to
Oh,
come
that's
down.
why.
Bugha's watching it
SG
play out,
capable
but
piece.
Reed's
That's
still
Reed, okay.
fighting for the points here in the final moments. But we're just inside of top 3. Who else is lurking about is the real question now. It's Polar still running circles, running laps here. But meanwhile, Bugha Threats and Rapid looking to set up this game game 1 victory at 11 eliminations to be here shortly. Threats
Wow, the
finish
Reds
on
Rapid
to
and
Reed,
Booga
a
with the
big
win.
victory royale.
First
It's
game
7-7.
win, bro. It's
Hey, from
insane.
zone to
Quick
zone,
tried, he
they
got
have made
6.
it work. There was even a moment
tried,
in
he
that
started
game where I
getting
saw
beat.
on the feed, Rapid may have gone down, but they picked him back up. And in the late game, Monster, when every other team was getting max pulls, it pulled on over to their side. They built up for high ground, and they did not look back. Nobody was able to challenge them up there for it.
That was crazy, but look, one thing's for certain, this is a finals game. You can really feel the weight and the skill of the lobby. Such high-level play coming out of game number 1 is nothing short of impressive for a team like Booga, Rapid, and Threats to kick this one off and get a victory royale. And here's why you can never count them out, right? Booga's team had the damage they needed. They rode that through and then took it all the way to a win there, Jacob.
Yeah, that's 11 eliminations, even though they had the heals in the back pocket for a backup win condition that they did not need at all. They had 11 eliminations. I might be too soon to say this, but this might be a new era. This might be a Threats era with the way he's been playing Monster.
And who would have called that one, right? The conversation was set up from the beginning, but Zeke, get us the update here. What a game.
Booga, Threats, and
Booga! Booga won game 1. Booga won game 1. What's happening? Oh my God! Is this the World Cup? Ah! Booga won game 1.
Booga won.
Are you good? Zeke, you there?
I forgot to bring.
Yeah. No, honestly, I think that a lot of people, especially after watching the Scrim games, expected a lot out of Threats, Booga, and Rapid. And this is a trio, or let's just talk about Booga as a whole. We always, for whatever reason, kind of...
Booga!
We always think, oh, well, now he's a...
Booga!
That was 6 years ago, and every single time he proves people wrong. He has been one of the most consistent players that we have seen in the last 5 to 6 years. And them holding high ground so efficiently, Vivid, is something that other players are going to have to VOD review because they have a strat that other people aren't able to unlock.
Yeah, I think it's about time that I make myself a little bit of a soundbite, right? Because I feel like I've said this exact same sentence for the past like 7 seasons when we're talking about Booga. But he's just always like,
He always wins
quiet
game 1
throughout the season.
He won game 1
and it's
last.
like the week
That's
leading up
yesterday.
to finals, and then it's like Booga. Boom, the Booga effect always
Booga
ends up
Rapid.
coming to fruition in the sense that he just always ends up turning up whenever finals is within the conversation or within reach, like Kelly mentioned, during the scrim games during the week, winning all of those games, playing for the high ground right there. Let me tell you something, that win right
Also
there, I mean, holy moly, the amount of
got
pressure
second.
that they were able to apply to the rest of the lobby whilst almost receiving. Now, this is so NA-esque, right? Sometimes some of these teams, you just get it for free sometimes, it seems, right? Like, nobody really wants to play for it. It's kind of like opportunistic play style for the high ground on NA sometimes. But, yeah, I mean, Booga, Threats, and Rapid taking full advantage of that.
I just cannot believe
That was actually
from
pretty
zone
good.
8 they had height, and
That
they
was
just
amazing
never stopped. Booga won game 1 of Major 2 finals with 11
Seems like he
eliminations.
always
That is a
wins game 1.
statement
Booga.
of a game. Other trios had a little bit of a rougher time in that game. Peterbot, Cold, and Ritual.
Wow, I
At
can't
one
believe
point, we
Peterbot,
kind of
Cold, and
tuned
Ritual.
into them
They
because were
did.
300 above.
They
and you're
were
kinda
doing
thinking,
good,
like,
but then they got
that's
destroyed.
fine. We kind of need to make some stuff happen, but then randomly, like,
Oh,
Peterbot
Nanasway's
goes
still here?
down. They have to kind
Oh, I
of
see
like double
Nanasway in the back.
revive him, and then literally from that point forward, it's just shambles.
You know, he had everything ready to go for him. That Mythic Hollow Twister on Peterbot, what they
Huh?
get from the Rift Island there on top of the medallion.
What?
It looked like this was kind of their game to win. They had such good early aggression, but just kind of staying in the back of zone, allowing everyone else to get the eliminations in the front of zone, which is where they kind of stand strong, Vivid.
Yeah, I mean, Peterbot, Cold, and Ritual just doing a really good job this game and making sure they actually made it into the end game, right? They were in such a good position. All their mats were looking really, really well. I mean, it's kind of like one of those games that we saw last finals where it's like they looked like they could win this game, and then all of a sudden, right, you tune back in with them like 2 minutes later, and everything is just falling apart somehow. Regardless, in saying that, right, still breaking into the top 10, picking up a couple eliminations, even a clutch out of the duo of
Wait a
Ritual
minute,
and
good.
Cold towards the end here to pick up a couple more points. Still a pretty decent game for the trio as a whole, but again, one of those games where I feel like it kind of fell apart very, very
Oh.
quickly.
Oh no, that final Elam onto Higgs from Ritual. You know that if you're going to be a solo, especially as a solo for support for Ritual, he wants to make sure that he is getting those points needed for Cold and Peterbot. That question of can Ritual hold his own is no longer going to be asked, because that right there shows that even as a solo, he can do it.
I just can't believe. I'm still just in shock. Poyo in that game, kind of a similar situation. What I really liked about Poyo, Acorn, and Angel was at one point when we tuned in with them, they're sitting there tanking the backside of zone.
Yes, please.
Like Storm, they're tanking Storm in the backside of zone, right, to try and use that to gain advantage, which was kind of like an insane strategy.
Yeah, tanking Storm is something that Acorn, Poyo, and Agers are used to, but usually it's a little bit earlier on in the game. Agers, though, yeah, there was a moment where I think that they were trying to see how height was going, and so that they stayed in the back of zone. They waited for Bugha's team to kind of get a little bit further away and not pay attention to them, but the opportunity to take height just wasn't there, and so I do appreciate the fact that they kind of forgoed that strategy and instead just stuck to the low ground. But by that point, you have Muzz's trio on low ground, or you have Peterbot's trio on low ground, you have Higgs trio on low ground. Like, there's only so much that you can do as far as the aggression goes, especially when that low ground is already established. So Vivid, I don't know about you, I think when we saw them kind of tanking Storm at zone 10, that they were looking to go for height.
Yeah, I definitely could, kind of see that being in fruition, especially some of the plays that we saw throughout the group stages. Some other teams kind of making plays like that would be no surprise right there. The only problem with those Med-Miz smoke grenades, though, is that it's very, very obvious when a team is using them, right? You see a giant green smoke and storm, you're like, I wonder what's happening over there. So you do kind of draw the attention of not only the high ground team, who of course is looking for something like that to defend it, but then also some of the low ground teams, which is when we saw them try to rotate in, right? They were just on the backside of the zone for the rest of the game, which is why we usually like to favor some of the teams that actually play for that front side of the move zone, because it does give you the opportunity to kind of look back. And I know that, Kelly wants to talk about the trio that did such a good job of doing that this game. Clix' trio, of course.
Clix.
Yeah, it's so funny. We were just watching the game. You could hear Vivid in the background be like, Kelly, look, and there they are in the front side of zone. In fact, actually, they were taking Storm, but in the front side of zone, and that's something Iamza likes to do, and Higgs as well, that they'll kind of go out into Storm in the front side of zone, lay down all of these builds so that everyone else that's kind of encroaching onto their territory has to play by their rules. They've already set up the front of zone for them, so they can kind of just make all these like quick edits around them while everyone else is playing in their area.
Yeah, and no surprise to kind of tune into this trio right here. See that they're like 400 above the Orange 7 zone with 0 eliminations. We were kind of flipping through some of the teams throughout that game, right? We saw like Kanada's trio was very, very high up on the threshold, even though, but they had eliminations, whereas this trio seemingly had none going into the 7th zone. But that's no surprise, right? Because we take a look at their drop spot situation. They're pretty much surrounded by like 4 or 5 contested drop spots. So it'd be very, very easy and opportunistic for this trio to kind of take advantage of some of those situations to make sure that they stay ahead of the Storm Surge threshold throughout 12 games this weekend. But yeah, such a good job by this trio to go ahead and use their Med-Miz, tank the zone, go ahead and find themselves a favorable position. Just look back on all the trios trying to rotate towards them, some free shots, some free eliminations. Good game from them.
I just love the different strategies coming out of these trios, right? Especially in a finals lobby where pressure's on. The lobby is that much harder, and we still have trios just sending these strategies. I love it. We got to see a little bit of Kanata, Bolt, and Sphinx in that last lobby as well. I know, Vivid, take it away.
It looked so good, right? Like I was like, we tuned into them and they're like just in the storm fighting third party in this. They had so many eliminations. I mean, look at this, right? They're going into the end game with 7 eliminations, all of which they got on the rotate. And then I was like, they've got less mats than they do eliminations. That's probably not a good thing when we get to the end game. But of course, Kanata coming up with those strategies, finding the fights, kept his trio well above the threshold. But yeah, I kind of got to bring this up, Kelly. Over on EU, 6 of 6, right? North zones. And I couldn't help but notice the first game over here on NA, going against Kanata's trio here, also going all the way up to the north.
Whoa. First of all, we all know that Zeke's the one that controls the zones, okay? So don't be putting that on me. Zeke, what do you have to say for yourself?
I plead the fifth is what I have to say for myself. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know where the zone went. I wasn't paying attention. Probably should go check that code. I like to make mistakes with the code. Man, game number 1 of finals does not disappoint. What did you guys see out of game 1 that you felt like, man, we maybe are hoping to see more of, maybe less of? What do you guys think?
I saw Reet eliminate Peterbot, and I want to see more of that.
Yeah, we tuned in, right, to Reet, and he was popping off in the end game, and I was like, oh, Kelly, who's on the screen right now? She was like, Reet! Very, very good stuff there, right? See them kind of popping off. Polar's trio, though, right? One of those trios that we were kind of talking about had an incredible performance in the group stages. Also managed to pick up a couple of highlights and did pretty well in that game. Go ahead and see where they are on leaderboard. They are in 4th place right now, right? They were the team that got 3rd with 6 eliminations.
Yeah, I'm really excited about this trio. This trio, out of the 3 of them, only has 1 FNCS appearance, and that's from Decay there. So definitely a newer trio. They were able to get a victory royale on the group stages. So obviously they have a lot of potential. And once again, I'm going to say it, I really hope that they stick together for Major 3. I love to see kind of the evolution of these trios, especially when synergy develops from major to major. I think that this trio has a lot of potential.
You talk about trios of potential. I mean, Noisy, Creon, Tony, right now, 3rd place, 6th. They ended 6th in that game with 11 eliminations. We are going crazy in these finals. Wow. And I know what you want to see. You want to see more Fortnite action. It's okay. We'll talk more after this game. But for now, let's kick it on over to game number 2.
They didn't even show the leaderboard.
Things are heating up quickly, Monster, and it's going to be insane if a trend continues this way throughout all 12 games. Bugha, Threats, Rapid win game number 1 and give themselves a little bit of a cushion.
Yeah, and I got to see the Dwarf Dad himself watching his son compete, the live reaction. He's so excited, but you know what? He's got the winner's mentality. He says, let's not get ahead of ourselves. This is just the start. Let's see what happens now, though. As game number 2's cooking up.
I don't even know what the
It's a Major 2 finals, Jacob, and it's really starting to feel like it right now as Bugha, the icon, the man himself, really sets the stage here. And you know what? He took it by storm. But big names appearing up there, right? I don't think that game ended the way the critics may have expected. Reet, Cooper, and Curly showing up, and then Noisy, Creon, and Tony coming up out of nowhere. What a way to kick that one off.
Going down.
Yeah, you even had Cynics, Polar, and DK 3rd place, like Kelly said, with 6 eliminations. Just going to show, hey, it's not going to be as easy of a game or a tournament as anybody would think, especially early on. Seeing Muzz, Yapko, Rise, seemingly like they were contested in game number 1. Things already switching up, and it starts here with those drop spots.
Gotta love this drop spot here. Muzz, Rise, and Japco may have just earned their drop to themselves after taking down the last team that decided to contest them here in the early game. And as great as a game that Japco, Muzz, and Rise had, they did end up unfortunately crossing paths with the hands of Peterbot in that early kind of end game situation that was starting to play out. But jumping on over to Sandalit, Xanda and Evan here, seems like they end up winning their drop as well. Full on 50-50 down to Zipline. And yeah, Xanda's pretty excited about that. He's gonna hit us a little emote to go ahead and celebrate the pickup and the return of Evan here. Let's put him back in the game.
Kind of 1-1. 1-1 if we're keeping record between G-Money, OSID, and Bryce counting at this drop spot. I mean, I'm going to be counting. I think the chat will be counting. I think everybody's going to be counting to see who, honestly, when it comes to tomorrow, if you're losing, let's just say like a 5-0, 40-0, something like that, it starts to put those doubts in your mind. Do I switch drop spots? Do I go away from something I practice? And this is one of those volatile spots in general. You can see it's just a straight 50-50 for that spot. Dive straight down in. First to pick up the loot. Good luck to you.
That's Rapid and
yeah, and that is true though. You know, 1-1 now, it does make you wonder, and it kind of just brings me back to Noah Plays, right? In his group stage, he took full advantage of, you know, putting his ego aside and then playing the best strategy that he believed was going to, you know, help him and his team succeed. Getting on into here and talk about Noah, I'm actually curious if things are still going contested at the Magic Mosses, but here's our game 1 winners, Bugha, Threats, and Rapid, their early game strategy. We all get to get little visuals here on, you know, again, what makes them succeed. It's that full drop spot to themselves, right? There's nothing like having a named POI to yourself, and then one that, of course, has so much potential and teams kind of in the vicinity that have to rotate through. But here we have
There's a
the big
Beeve.
Aviv.
I don't know what team Beeve's on. He was with Boo.
Big Cheese, Skittles, and
Beeve,
Chimp.
Skittles and Chimp.
Hey, I feel like, what was it, Chapter 4 maybe, when it was Chimp and Spade and duos. They were one of those duos that were so consistent the entire year, flying under the radar. And this is one of those teams. In terms of consistency, they have their moments, but when you look at the Div finals, they're always there. If you look at the groups, they performed. When you look at the finals of majors, they're there. And this is one of those teams to where when they're Hot Monster, they're probably one of the top 5 teams. You can see them qualifying for the global championship. But when they're not, and they have those inconsistencies, it not only sets down to our minds as the casters and the analysts, but it starts to set doubts into their minds as well. So let's see if they can, you know, continue day number 1. Doesn't necessarily have to be first place, but if they can continue to build that confidence, they're going to be somebody I'm looking at to be a threat for day 2.
Yeah, they're undoubtedly a top 10 team, right? Depending just on how things go for them. Kinch Analytics ran that, what was it, 10,000 game simulation, and they were one of the few teams up clearly towards the top that have a true percentage chance to go ahead and, you know, outperform, right, your average trio kind of in this lobby, which I find to be extremely interesting because they are vets, right, and they deserve that level of respect. Talking about respect, you have, of course, Ree and his trio, and then you have Peterbot going into a little bit of a toe-to-toe here against a Minish right now. He's at a slight disadvantage having a low ground, but this is just baiting out a Minish, right? He's just asking him to peek. Meanwhile, Cold kind of playing side angles, looking for his own fishing for tags.
Yeah, and you can see not necessarily focused on having that mobility. They have the full POI, like you're saying. They know exactly where that's going to be sitting at, but a sneak attack on the other side.
Oh, shoot.
From
Sneak attack. He didn't even
Joji.
know.
They catch Silic off guard, and even with the knock, they're just kind of making sure they get max damage with that pump. They're going to go ahead and get a couple of shots, use the water sprite, heal them up. And these are the kind of tricks that when you talk about saving it until a big moment like finals, this is it right here. That's not going to be like a ton of extra damage, like 500-600, but those could be the difference makers between being above and below Surge during one of the hardest parts of the game.
And that's the most important thing, getting those critical moments that are going to separate you from the pack. Very few and in between opportunities like that will come across it, but hey, we love ourselves a good ambush, especially when it's caught on broadcast. But look at this right here. We didn't really get to see too much of Polus in game 1. It seems like now he's looking to turn the script around as they have 4 eliminations. Let's see how this ends up playing out. Oh, Jaxi, just quick on the draw there. He's going to find himself a nice elimination onto Cyrus.
Okay.
Seemed a little overzealous by himself on the other edge of that mountain. And depending on if they were kind of risky enough to get the reboot card early, it just kind of looks like they're hunkered down, gonna wait over there at the edge of the mountain on that reboot card and said, Napzire, hey, if you guys want to get your trio back into the game, you're gonna have to go through us to do it. Otherwise, you guys can sit on the mountain for as long as you want.
Also, he's a moderator of my stream.
And you're kind of seeing a lot of that proactivity going down around to the Navi. Sphinx, Kanata, and Bolts moving up from Hopeful Heights, not too far away from their current drop spot here. But with a lot of the other teams around this edge of the map, just trying to push down towards the south to try to get their Surge. These are the kind of situations you end up. It's not always a Surge base.
Still, what a game for Sphinx, Kanata, and Bolts. Picking up all those early game eliminations, set them up in the conversation for a near top 10 overall performance. If they would have just gotten a small bit of placement points, they'd easily be up in the top 5, but all good. Sure, they won't be making that same mistake, and looks like they got their work cut out for them. They're going to end up opening the shots here first. I'm curious, do you think the confidence coming out of game 1 now is going to set them up to want to fight these teams a little bit more aggressively? Maybe look to initiate the full fight and finish it.
I do think it plays a huge role in terms of at least approaching the opportunity, because they're not going to put themselves in a bad situation. So if they don't get the green light to push, they're not going to push. But yes, I do think they're going to get more and more confident after that game number 1 to take space, to take the mountains, you know, the better Surge spots that you see going down around the map. As we jump on board Clix, Higgs, and Yamso, not straying away from the strategy that they really developed through the last Divisional Cup. As Nap, Zyre, Cyrus, they were able to get the reboot back. They challenged on the other side, but they run into a whole nother team. That's Noisy, that's Creon and Tony, and they're trying to approach this fight from multiple directions. Damage still going in. Zyre just dropped down to just a sliver of HP, but he's trying to survive the best that he can, but the pressure is just too much. Two more players able to continue to push him down and take all that space away. Creon being relentless here for this situation, trying to approach different angles to close out the flexibility that they might feel they have on the other side.
Crazy to see that they haven't taken any damage, by the way, up until this moment. As I'm starting to speak about it, Tony punished, Force on the back, but Noisy as well, but the shots fire back, and that's one thing pros do very, very well, is they won't give up just because they get a little exchange going. Meanwhile, Creon, the healthiest on the team, seals the deal here onto Cyrus's trio. Now, do keep in mind, this is coming off the back of a reboot, right? So Cyrus's team has had a very difficult game too, and even after jumping back in and almost having an opportunity after getting pushed out by Jackson Polis's team there, they still end up getting taken down, this time to the hands of Tony, whom, by the way, now officially put themselves up in the race for a top 3.
Yeah, even though you can't necessarily win the tournament today, it is going to be 12 games separated between day 1 and day 2. You want to go ahead and put yourself as close to the top of the leaderboard as possible, so that way you're not fighting against a huge point deficit as the tournament does continue. See Agers just trying to consolidate a lot of the loot on top of the mountain. Going right back down. You see that he has double mobility in his inventory instead of a shotgun. The reason why is because when he does kind of loot up far away, he needed to be able to close that distance faster to make it back into his teammates. And obviously giving them options. But the zone continued to pull further and further towards the north. They're going to have to get out of that tower and start to rotate in before all the other teams beat him to the punch.
Yeah, and you can see those teams starting to encourage ever so closely there as Cam and Bucky kind of lurking about in the shadows there. Talked about the trio, we get to see it from their perspective.
There's Bucky and Ocus.
Little lit up here, but not completely out the fight just yet. Waiting for opportunity to kind of open up and avail itself. Pollo still watching from the tree next door.
This is kind of the result. The other edge of you seeing, you know, threats and Rapid and their surge towers outside of Seaport. And this is exactly the opportunities that they're looking for. A team like Bucky, Cam, and Ocus rotating on the low ground with a far pooled zone. And as soon as they peek out of these boxes, they're going to continue to fire down. And then you mentioned yourself, Pollo, Aegis, and Acorn, who just did the exact same thing. Pollo just got there. That tower did not spawn there itself. He immediately invested the materials, trying to take advantage of everybody that still needs to rotate on this side of the zone overall.
Yeah, he looks like they're going to hold him out for quite some time. We'll see how that ends up playing out. And I'm sure, you know, they have the game awareness. They know more or less what team this is, right? And who they're picking a fight with right now. But Aoxy, Pikes, and Jojo Fishy, once again, we get to tune in with them. They're deep in the storm right now. I wonder what their situation is like. Moving towards the Outlaw Oasis, looking to kind of wrap around the map right now.
What's been happening?
Yeah, I was thinking that. He's probably trying to hit that geyser and get up over the mountain, maybe throw the Menmist smoke right before they take off. And this is just going to allow them to obviously save their kneecapper strength and then be able to kind of close the distance as fast as possible, because it does get you a little bit higher than a launch pad as well. But now we go on over to the north side of the map overall, just above Magic Moss's POY, Ishao, Taki, and Vert. I said they're one of those teams, when especially when these north zones, they stay on this side of the map. They slowly but surely float around. They get their surge. And they kind of play a careful game overall. You see Vert just getting a little bit too close to enemy territory for his liking. He's just going to regroup with his teammates here.
Got to stay active right now. This game may have picked up the pace a lot faster than game number 1. However, we all know things are going to start to get real congested here soon. We start approaching the mid game right now. For Taki, Ishu, and Vert, they've got what looks to be a couple different angles at play here. But Vert's on the low ground, taking all the risk of kind of securing what he could here for the meantime.
Alright, we're back. What's up?
Jumping in with Curve, Tyler, and Shadow right now. Underneath the base of Visual, Braids, and a Minish.
quick little chop, trying to get them to shoot back, expose themselves any way that they can. And you can see they have like a ton of ammo. They can fire off, be in this position for as long as they want. But as the zone continues to rotate in this direction, you're going to soon find out how congested it actually is. And you're seeing
like
Shadows just in...
out.
Yeah, exactly. And Shadow's kind of doing the same thing in the bush on the other side by himself.
I like the thought process behind it. They're like, hey, yeah, we could chop him and force him to overbuild. Let's see if we can, you know, just kind of fish him out. Hey, come down, fix that structure. Right? Give us some fresh balls to spray for a second there. You got to respect the temp. Meanwhile, Cynics Decay Polar, just a little update here. Playing for the Islands, trying to get a hold of that medallion here that, of course, the boss will end up spawning in.
225 above the damage threshold. Because of that, they're able to kind of take some time away from making it a focal point. Try to approach the boss at the top. It does drop a Chug Jug, so that's going to be helpful. And then the medallion that you see some teams take, some teams do leave it behind. And since the zone is pulling all the way from the eastern side of the map to the west now, that's going to give them a little bit of opportunities here for Surge, but it depends on how proactive the other teams were at in order to rotate first.
Yeah, it doesn't look like there's anyone nearby, so I'll have a pretty decent time here shortly. Unfortunately, Decay taking that unnecessary damage there, really setting him back.
How much damage you do to this guy?
Yeah, it's really going to be on Cynics to get a lot of that Surge. He's facing the front side of the zone. We're going to see how it plays out for them. Have they been able to accumulate enough? As we got another North zone here in this game, back-to-back here on the day so far. And you're seeing some teams faring very, very well for that Storm Surge early on. 365 above for Boken, 20, and Liam. Just waiting on the edge, seeing where the next zone appears in the next couple of seconds. And if it does pull far, I want to see them rotate quick. Be one of the first teams at the end. Brutal Boxcars is now at the edge of that next zone. So if you position yourself on the south side, you're going to be battling against that mountain range at the other edge. So you got to be very, very careful and got to keep it in the back of your head, Monster, because the zone does continue to pull that way for the rest of the game. It is going to be a roller coaster of emotions for a lot of these trios.
Yeah, and they're recognizing they got to make a quick move here. They don't want to be caught between the teams setting up early and, of course, the one that they were fighting on the edge of zone. Even opting to go ahead and leave the water sprite behind. So they're just like, hey, you know what? There's things out of charges. We can't even stay here to get full health. Like, we just got to go. Really showing you how important it is to get positioning on the map. Look at this. It's not all sunshine and rainbows for some teams. They are in a struggle to maintain consistency here. And they are well below the damage. Cirque and crew kind of seeing what's happening here. I was going to say, they'd be wrong to not take advantage of a team right now who's sitting on those splashes, and in they go. Definitely have kind of read the field correctly, if you will.
Best case scenario, because I do believe they were attempting to get Surge, but with a lot of teams having already rotated out of this position, they weren't able to find enough, put them below the threshold. And they kind of had to push the first team that they saw, and you know exactly how that happened as we jump on board.
Peterbot, Ritual Code.
Ritual, not as aggressive as they typically are. A little bit of a different change here. They're focusing on just mainly getting that Surge, because if you look back to Major 1, some of the games where they did the poorest in terms of getting the points, which made it that narrow of a loss for them getting second place, it was because they were down on Surge. They were forced to fights they didn't necessarily want to take, and it put them in a bad spot. Now they're just trying to take more control over their destiny. Peterbot emerging as the IGL for this team, and so far it's working out for them here in game 1 and 2.
Yeah, you can tell it's very much intentional, right? They've been kind of trailing these trios here inside the storm right now. Not looking to overcommit, but instead, of course, play to their advantage right now for damage. Mafia hazing enough, though. Find themselves below the Surge and dead center zone, so it's great, but it's bad at the same time. They're going to have to be forced to take this fight. It's up against, again, a team we've been keeping a lot of attention towards. Ishu and Taki Vert here, of course. And now the Surge is active, though, Jacob, so there's no time to waste here for this trio.
Yeah, and it does seem they're just trying to jump back. Craze, aka Bomb, entered the mix on the other side. That's a whole different team. And Hayes, while he's healing up, he's trusting his teammates to try to get that damage. 122 below. The Mendless Smoke is a must at this time as they continue to fire shots across. That's Donnie and Joji that now enter in the mix, but Storm Surge active every 7 seconds. 25 damage gets taken off, and they're falling further and further below from 122 to 129, now to 149 damage below the threshold. For now, they're hoping that they have enough resources to out-heal it, but even if they do, I don't agree with that plan.
Yeah, you know, it's just one of those things where they kind of went for it. They recognized, wait a second, this team's kind of nasty with it, and they backed themselves off for the full heal to reset here, but they need to get in there. They're running out of moments. They're running out of time here now. As they're only 63 below, they fish for a little bit of damage, and up falls down, and that's going to be a huge 100 attack, but Hayes, unfortunately, will be forced back once again. And then things update here. And he is still below, even after all that. And in the process, he's lost a couple of his teammates here.
It's almost like a heartbreaking situation. Two teammates sacrificed themselves trying to get damage. You saw it for a moment, 39 above, and instantly went over 100 below. 6 zone here, Monster. This needs to go down to about 54 players before Storm Surge deactivates. And now we're in the 7th zone. It needs to go down to 42 players. That is insane.
Let's go down to 42
Yeah, it's very clear
players.
that there are a lot of players alive right now in this mid game here, but
There has to be so many more
look at what's happening now. We're starting to take shape.
No
Kanata on this trio right now, so Bolt and Sphinx clearly have had a much different turn of events here.
Yapko was and them taken down.
Let's not forget, they struggled to earn placement points last time. It's going to be even harder to do so now with a man down, but hey, at least Kanata gets to sit back and be kind of the coach in the ear for the trio.
That sucks for Cam.
Meanwhile, Cam finally gets traded off here. Peterbot's had enough of kind of tailing behind Team Bucky. They end up full collapsing here now. And that's how they find the full team back now.
No, Peterbot's trying to go through Yamzo, Clicks, and Higgs, bro. Are you serious? They better not. Yo, you're done. You're done.
Rotation, but you see
You
200
cannot.
below.
You better not go
Sphinx
for
is
Clicks,
down. It does look like he is going to try to get a revive. He has about the timer at the bottom right, 48 seconds before Storm Surge activates and they start to take damage. So it's a now or never opportunity for them. But you're seeing just
I'll get another sub. Thank you, dude. Appreciate you guys. Thank you for another sub. I've been trying to get my subs up, and I appreciate those subs.
With the zone moving, it's going to get exponentially harder for Bolts and Sphinx to find the damage that they need.
Sorry, I wasn't paying attention.
Kind of looking like a repeat of the last game. Another Magic Mosses-esque zone finish right now. Aegis, Boyo, and Acorn. Another high ground play coming out of Zone 7. This time a lot different. Aegis actually picks up a refresh.
Yeah,
couldn't jump down.
Oakins just got taken down, and they didn't even any placement.
Might have been the one to go ahead and pick up the loot there.
So bad. Alright, oh shoot. Okay, Clicks, where's Clicks? Boyo, Aegis, and Acorn on top.
As they're getting the siphon granted to them.
Where are you?
You saw there, no
They're in
minis,
there.
no big
They're in
shields.
there somewhere.
Very
I'm gonna need them to stay alive. 18
overall, even
people,
for a
18
team on
teams
height
still
right now.
alive. They're
Threats,
getting
Rapid,
a
and
little
Booga
bit.
have the zone to themselves now. They'll be one of the first to make this rotate. Ritual, Peterbot, and Cold have gone for it though. Sizing up high ground as well. This is starting to get exciting.
Yeah, and they're on the front side of the zone as well. Acorn, Poyo, Agers, they have a sense of being able to take the high ground. It's all about who plays this one right as it does open up. Storm Surge activating on some of these teams that are down below.
There's Clicks,
it's not
Higgs,
enough being in the chaos.
Higgs and Yamzo. Let's do it, guys. Please lock in. They got 2 eliminations, 64 points. They're doing good. They just need to lock in because Poyo, Acorn, and Aegis on top is very bad for them.
For the loot
But they're
beaming
a lot.
The full trio is out. It's a sacrifice
16
for Poyo,
teams
Acorn,
still
and
up,
Agers, giving up the
42
high
teams.
ground
I think
to try to
Storm Surge
refresh
has
their
to turn on.
materials.
Unless the
Yeah,
next
this is a tough spot
storm
to be in,
came
right? Like, you
up.
gotta make the rotate.
Okay, so
Don't
Clicks,
have the
Yamzo, and Higgs
height.
right there.
You're like, where's
Boats,
that body?
Boats
You
and
just
Sphinx
got
are right
that
there
healer.
too.
Where is the
A
loot?
lot of people
And it
coming
looks
in.
like
Ritual is
they're
cold and
not
Peterbot
gonna
on
be
height.
secured here now, and
Ritual is
of
cold and
course,
Peterbot on
Peterbot
height.
being
Are you
cold,
serious?
no better to leave up this free team
Why?
here. They're clearing the
Oh
landscape.
no, they're taking out Poyo.
All the entire field. Boyo, he's gonna fall there to the hands of Sandalite on the rotate right now, and
There's
Peterbot
Tony.
is just starting to get
Peterbot,
there.
you know,
This is
my
looking
god, we
like
need
it's
a
gonna
lot of
be
people
a
beaming from
pretty
height.
big game
We need a lot of people
for
beaming
this
from
team
below
up
to
top.
take out
Hold
height.
on, Agers
Poyo
still
just died.
down low,
Poyo just
getting
died.
active right now.
Dang it.
Yeah, just a crevice, the small side
Dang
of
it,
the
bro.
zone.
Agers and Acorn
Taken
going down.
That's
To who?
Ishao.
Who?
Now it's Acorn stuck behind. He gets taken down as well. 2 names checked off the list, and the Major 1 champions out of the game early here for game number 2. Not even half of the placement
Where even
points have
is
been garnered
Cliff?
throughout that run. His threats, Rapid, Bugha.
I do
Those
not
are
know where
game
Cliff
1
is.
victory royale winners,
see
and
him.
they're poised right now to have a great position.
They're
But the
in-
battle for high ground breaks out.
Oh, shoot!
Braves, they're ready to take the
Man,
challenge.
Minutes,
Cold,
Visuals, and
Ritual.
Braids are trying to take over Peterbot. That's a good job. That's a good thing because it keeps wasting their bats and stuff. That's a good thing. Oh my gosh. Oh my god. Alright. W and Chaperner. They're getting a little bit down. They're going to try to break them down, I think. They're going to try to break them down. Other people coming up.
Perfect. They could retake high ground in a few moments.
One of those situations where high ground kind of puffs out their chest and you're not sure if you can call the bluff or not. High ground does not have the mats, but they don't have that information. They don't know. So they make the safety call to go down. Meanwhile, Clicks, Higgs, and Yamto have not left the low ground. They have been battling their way
Clicks,
to the
Higgs, and
front side
Yamto.
this
Good job,
entire
guys.
time. And they're
You're on
trying to
below.
find
That
themselves
can be a good
refresher as
idea.
well.
Peterbot and them are not going to have much match. They need to take more people out to get more matches
on your
stuff.
screen.
So that's a good thing.
One of them's just taking all the space on the low ground.
Come on, Clicks, Yonzo, and Higgs. Let's
Outside
do
of the
it.
storm.
Clicks, Yonzo, and
And as soon as they get there, they know
on,
that
guys.
the fight is around.
They're trying to get over there. Okay, barely any
Clicks
hit.
finally figured out a
Good
way
job,
to catch
guys.
up above. They have not looked down at that opportunity.
Hit one down.
Pressuring
Knocked
everybody
one.
on
Let's
the front
go.
side of the zone at the bare minimum. They're just trying to drop them into each other's hands, and now we're going open over land right now. There's a bridge, and there's a whole crevice underneath teams are trying to dive into.
Plex just took down Rito, and he finds himself still somehow below the surge. And it actually
They're
turns
still below?
on. I can't believe it's active in Zone 10 right now. This is incredible stuff. At least it turns off for a second, but it already did its work. It did its damage. Take a look at what happened up top, though. Peterbot tries to get active. He had to because he didn't have the mats, and he's found himself down to the hands of threats, but the payback is good for Ritual and Cold. Once again, running it up here, finding themselves in this end game, earning their trio more and more points.
Hey,
Oh,
Kelly
God.
said it. Vivid said it. It's not necessarily
No!
the star players on the team. Sometimes it's about the support.
Where's
And Ritual
Yano?
is doing his job right. He has Cold by his side.
Yano?
Curly
He's gonna take
Cooper
it
down
down.
below. A little bit of chaos.
Right.
Trying to break out of the wall, taking some damage, but it's worth the sacrifice.
got
But now
8.
it's just cut
Need
off.
to get
Curb
more
on the
point.
other side tries to break his way in, and the teamwork makes the dream work. Curb out of nowhere gets the elimination onto Curb, keeping them moving at this side of the zone. This is where they have space. This is where it's going to open up.
And it couldn't have gone better right there. He got the siphon, but unfortunately it wasn't enough help to keep him in the game. He's going to end up getting dropped by a huge shotgun shot. But look at what's unfolding here. Cold and Ritual are continuing to make chaos unfold here on the field. Cold jumps down to get these very important mats here. And Ritual finds another one as well. What is going on? Normally, the conversation is so different, but Ritual is in peak form here.
Oh my
On
god.
the low ground, it's a 2v2 now.
It's
Who
a
would've thought we could
2v2,
have
guys.
some Duos.
Visuals versus
and Braids,
Visual
a
Braids versus
long-time
Ritual and Cold. They
duo.
have the trump
Now
card.
here, ready to
Visual,
try to take game
Ritual,
number
and
one, but they're going
Cold.
against Cold. They're going against
Not really a
Ritual.
good
Two
idea.
different mythic
Bridge,
weapons in the
yeah,
inventory of
Visuals
Cold.
and
The
Braids,
only
you can
blessing
try
that
to
they do
hold
have
on
from down
right
below
now.
is the lack of resources. When he drops down to the backside of the zone, Cold lands a good shot, opening up that opportunity. Ritual just trying to keep pace up above. There goes Visuals. He's down.
Dang it.
There goes Braids as
Dang it.
well.
Cold
and
and
Ritual
Ritual
pull
win.
off the clutch to keep them alive in game one and take it by storm.
And it
Peterbot
wasn't
died
just
too.
the first
They
one, it
still
was
were
the
even close.
second as well. The second time now, Ritual and Cold find themselves saying, you know what, Peterbot, you did a lot for us all year long. Give us a little moment to shine here. And they are doing exactly what we expect a top-tier team to do, and that is perform when it matters. But a Game 2 victory in the books here is huge. And look at how they utilize Peterbot. They say, hey, just send yourself out there, get loose on the field, create chaos for us, and then they capitalize from hiding.
Yeah, with the mythic drum gun up above, they're just trying to put pressure, make sure nobody can survive, even if they get the eliminations or not. And there goes Cold, opening up it from the flank, getting that first shot, to just leading the charge on the other side, taking them both down. Ritual, Cold, and Peterbot. Game number 2, they pull off a big win and rise up that leaderboard. Zeke, what do you think of that action?
Whoa. Cold. Listen. Whoa. Are you guys feeling that? Are you guys feeling that cold? Just casually
Brr.
jumping around with 4 builds, just perfectly like navigating the zone, running on a single metal wall, and then utilizing that structure to block the shot on the other end. Cold, you know, I got nothing to say, Cold. Bye. You guys take over. I'll see you later. Bye. Bye.
You know, meteorologists say that if you're looking for the perfect storm, you need a cold front, and that's exactly what we got right here. Peterbot going down just a little bit earlier than we were expecting, but this is a lot more of what we saw from the previous weeks of competition. But what I love from this high ground is almost an exact copy of what we saw from Bugha's trio in game 1. We saw around zone 7, zone 8, they build this tower on the edge of zone, they rotate early, and then from there they just control high ground from zone 8 all the way on. Vivid, there was a moment where Ritual and Cold were holding high ground as a duo, drop down right here, and then no one takes height so they can reclaim it for themselves.
Yeah, I mean, it seems
Guys,
like Matt
you guys
right now,
gotta
of
get
course,
back
over the
on
course of
height.
the first
That's
2
the,
games at least, that
Come on,
hey,
come
listen,
on,
if the team
guys.
is
You got
out on the
this.
high
I
ground, there's
know.
going to be
I
no
know,
teams
Clicks,
kind of
Clicks,
interested
I
in
believe in
taking it
you.
at any
Clicks, I
point in the game
believe
or
in
even
you.
applying any
I don't need to
pressure
know. I need
at
to see the
all.
standings. They
I
didn't show the
can't lie,
standings last time, or
back-to-back
I missed it.
games for
But
the
guys,
duo of
oh my
Cold
gosh,
and Ritual,
so
right?
Clicks and
Peterbot
them, they
going
have
down
not been doing the
early in
greatest right
both
now.
of those games. A lot of people might be looking at this and being like, oh, this is bad. Like, Peterbot's just not in form today. I think this is a good thing. I mean, you know, Cold and Ritual being a duo, picking up a top 5 in game number 1, winning the game in game number 2 as a duo. Just wait and see what this trio does when Peterbot does find his foot in one of these games. The whole entire trio is alive. I can't wait to see what kind of happens there. But hey, listen, I think we have to at least point out the fact that there was a big question mark on Ritual. You know, how's that practice kind of going for him? He was definitely holding his own in that end game right there. It's great to see.
I don't know, man. I'm kind of feeling MDF. I'm feeling that like he called out Peterbot was like this distraction, right? You let the dog off the leash, you'll cause chaos, and then that's enough, right? Peterbot's job is done. As long as they get the VR, Peterbot, feel free, go ahead and get eliminated. That's fine. Or, you know, actually, I would be down, Vivid. I would like to see Peterbot just go on like a 25 elimination spree. I get it. You got me. I'm back up to Vivid. Yeah. Okay, anyway, we're going to go to a break. When we return, though, more games here from Major to Finals. So we'll see you real soon.
Alright guys, thank you for all your support. Let's do it.
Welcome back, everyone, to the FNCS. We just wrapped up game number 2, where Peterbot Cold Ritual got a victory royale, minus the Peterbot. He was eliminated, but it's okay. A VR is a VR. What else happened in that game, though? Coop Curly, or Booga Rapid Threats, rather, are showing up massively here in Major 2 finals, really trying to lock down one of those spots going to the Global Championships later this year. I have never been more excited to see Booga going crazy in these games.
I mean, you love to see it, and you also love to see Threats with that drum gun. I was wondering who gave Cole the mythic drum gun, and I guess it inevitably came down to Threats. That was the one to drop it right there. And they held a really good kind of mid-ground game here. You could tell that a few moments that they were kind of peeking up on height. Was there an opportunity for them to take it? And then they saw that it was Peterbot Trio holding high, and they said, no, we're going to stick to the mid-ground here. They like to kind of play the second height. They don't ever really go for full low. So to see them go for second height right here, and even being able to take down Peterbot, that might have been the right momentum that they needed to go for the victory royale, but there was just so much chaos going on that inevitably they would go down eventually.
Yeah, and tune in after that game, right? Going down in 10th place. Even after winning game number 1, still going to be finding themselves in
Clickster is 6
third place
right now. They have only
there,
have
just a little bit behind the 2 trios above them. And I'm not going to lie, one of the highlights today, I feel like, for the EU competition, right, was when Thomas HD kind of got his hands on that drum gun right there. And I feel like Threats is obviously like the aimer of the NA region, whereas Thomas HD is kind of like the aimer on the EU region. So to see him with that drum gun, that can be a very, very scary thing. But of course, what's also scary is the trio of Ritual, Cold, and Peterbot pick up some momentum, jumping up 4 places with that win. They now got the lead.
That's scary. That's scary. This is just game 2, right? We do have 10 more in total, right? But picking up momentum in game number 2, that usually means 900-point games. I'm just saying. Let's not do that. I did want to highlight here in second place, Reek, Curly, and Cooper. We've had 2 super solid games, Kelly. Game 1, second place, 7 eliminations. Now a third place with 10 elims. They are really targeting that consistency factor, and they are doing it really well.
That is King Peace to you. You can't just call him Reet. You gotta at least call him King Reet, although maybe right now watching him go down, that's a little less obvious. But Curly and Cooper having such a good run here on the low ground. And I love this shift. We see a lot of teams stay to the front of low zone, but they, realizing that they are a duo, a little bit of shambles when it comes to heals, stay to the back side. And that allows them to kind of let everyone else run to the front, grab some of these eliminations that we see Cooper get. And although it's probably not the game that they were hoping for, that was 10 eliminations, and they're currently sitting in second place right now. We know that with the change of the meta, that elims are so much more important. And Reek, Cooper, and Curly have that potential to rival the eliminations that even Peterbot's trio can get.
Yeah, I tell you what, I just love watching Cooper play. I'm pretty sure he remembers this, but like one of the first times I actually tuned into one of the streams, he made like an incredible rotate, and I kind of like playing the shot. I was like, dude, that was a good call to kind of go around that little hill over there. I literally can picture it in my head. Well, once he gets to those end games, he's just so good at kind of maneuvering around whatever terrain that may be presented in front of him. So it was a great clutch out of Cooper right
what
there.
are you looking at?
Let me see. Second place right now after 2 games.
Place. What are you looking at?
I also want to highlight, Visual Braids, Minish, once again, a similar situation, right? The first time I think we've seen a duo, like head-to-head to close out a game there, unfortunately. Obviously, Minish kind of being the one eliminated, but still, I just love to see when trios can, like, even being down a member, can still say, like, hey, look, we've got a plan. We're going to execute this well, and it's going to be enough to put more points on the board, because, ultimately, that's going to be the difference, right, of us going to globals or not.
And we've seen incredible solo clutches in the past, but for me, the biggest change that we've had with trios is how these end games play out when a player does go down, because having it just be a solo clutch for yourself is obviously a little rough, but having 2 players, you can effectively just control the game. We saw Cold and Ritual holding high ground as if they were a full trio. So I love that. I love that there's still so much potential, even when a big player like a Peterbot or a Reet or whoever goes down, there's still chances for the other players.
Absolutely. I love seeing more games of Fortnite. Game 3 is ready for it. So Jacob PR, MDF, over to you.
They say trouble comes in threes with game 3 around the corner. Trouble has to be on the horizon for those sitting underneath the weight of the 150-point cutoff, right? That third place is holding right now.
Yeah, it's definitely beginning to kind of spread out in terms of those point differentials, but there's still 4 games left today. There's a lot of time to really make up that point differential, and here comes the 3rd game. The battle bus is ready. Let's get right into it.
It's fine, bro.
This is it right here. You see an 11-point lead, first over second place, and then a 23 or 17 or so point lead from there. And this is where it really goes to show consistency is king. Reed Cooper Curley, a 3rd and a 2nd place with 17 eliminations. And when you start to look down that leaderboard in terms of consistency, I know it's only been 2 games, that's when you start to spot a little bit of the hiccups.
Yeah, but one thing that's really impressive is that 1st, 2nd, and 3rd have so many eliminations so far. They really are starting to break away from the competition when it comes down to showing what they are capable of when it comes to these end games here. But again, like you just kind of briefly mentioned, this is only the 2nd round, right? Now that we're getting into game 3, we're kind of starting to get ourselves situated here. Everyone's got a feel for the landscape. We got a feel for the dynamic of the way the world's going to kind of, you know, come to shape. And let's also think about how those games ended, right? They were very similar zones, so it makes sense that the same teams are still up at the top, right? Playing as consistent as they have been. Let's see if we get a little bit of a different end game this time.
Yeah, that team.
This time we're going to be able to see the Shining Span fight right out of the
Getting it
gates.
from Tebow.
Straight up on the bridge.
Tell me the truth.
Trying to grab the floor loop
How
and
much is
immediately
it?
put it to use. Donnie
Where
goes
does it
down,
feel like
eliminated fully. Yusuf
$1.
down on the other side, but they haven't been able to clean him up yet. Phenom doing
Where
a good
would I
job of
put it?
holding him off.
That's the
And
thing.
Prom, aka Craze, is going to be the last one left for his team down below. And as soon as they do get this revive off, I do believe they're going to push in and try to get that elimination.
Where would my camera see it?
Yeah, we talked about how Shining Span isn't really a draw spot set up to go the distance. It's either you put it all on the line or
Would
you
I
don't.
put it there?
You know, Yusuf starting to make their way in,
How did I
spending that very precious medal
so
there.
like something right there, yeah.
Prom somehow gets Joji up and slips away, gets a couple heals off. That could be the difference maker here, but no, Joji goes into the water. That's going to be dead fish there in a couple moments, but some counter fire coming here.
Same size, but we have
That was
Oh, let's
perfect
go.
timing for
Yo,
those shots
brother.
to
Thank
come
you
in.
for joining.
Almost felt
5
like he was
people
going to
in,
try to
7
drop
likes,
onto Joji,
7,
but Yusuf
8
was on the other
votes.
side.
Oh
Probably hearing the
my.
communication coming in for how
Hey,
weak he actually
Make
is.
sure you are voting.
Pump and dump in his
You
hand.
are something to see, bro.
A
Appreciate
little bit of a
you.
bait. No one's going to fall for it just yet. As Joji just peeking over the top. If you land here as long as they
No,
do,
you
you
are
got to know
not
how long the zip line
subscribed.
actually
Please
takes so you know when somebody jumps off it early. Phenom gets the elimination onto Craze up above the bridge, and now a 2v1 is going to be solidified here.
And there it is. Joji just baited out, recognizes that there isn't much that he can do. And this fight comes to a close here pretty quickly. They'll have plenty of time to go ahead and resituate themselves. Meanwhile, plenty of other teams officially getting eliminated in the game
Who got eliminated?
as all of this is unfolding here.
No.
So game 3 off to a pretty hot start.
Yeah, there's another team really, you kind of see them coming in at the end of this fight in the mini-map going after that armored vehicle, so they got to be careful for that reboot because they can easily try to push on over. As Noah plays, Chaos Gaming, Kazis starting off this game pretty well. 2 eliminations right out of the gate. They're almost looking like they're looking for that solo that might be left behind. I don't see him in the mini-map just yet. I do see an arrow at the bottom left, so he maybe found a time to disengage on out. So for Noah plays, Chaos Gaming and Kaz's, this is the start that they want. This could be like a little refresh moment for them in this tournament.
Yeah, it's their first set of points right there. So hard fought and well earned after the first 2 games. They were eliminated pretty much off the gate there, not winning their contested drop spot. Here's a fight that has also been back and forth. I made the joke to Jacob, you know, who's counting? Well, we are. It's 1-1 right now. As we're starting to tee up game 3. Much
Bryce
different,
was
right?
sitting.
As both sides are kind of
Monster.
situated this time around as opposed to a full-on 50-50.
Yeah, it just seemed like Bryce, Osid, G-Money, they didn't want to take that 50-50 fight. They went on top of the mountain this time to grab their loot. While Zonda, Evan, and Sandman, they went underneath. A similar strategy they've been going all day long. But in the third game, this is where the difference start to really peek in as they're trying to
Bye-bye.
towards that back forest underneath Mass Meadows. And even though they don't get any eliminations, this is a certain win for Osid, G-Money, and Bryce. They got a good amount of surge for this early game, and now they have
Oh,
priority
there's
over that map.
Bucky.
And just to give a little nod of appreciation to Bryce G-Money and
Brother.
Osid, even though they were the first team eliminated in
Yeah,
Game 2, they're at 13th right now, so they did have a strong Game 1. Just to kind of show you guys and emphasize how good of a trio they could be if they could break loose. Aegis Boyo and Acorn have almost done the same, but they've struggled, it seems like, to kind of break out of that cursed 7 zone. 7 zone seems to be the bane of this trio so far. If they can get past the mid game with a little more material, they are likely to set themselves up for a victory royale as our reigning champs kind of leading into the second major. But here, Jacob, we have a little fight breaking out once again here for Curve, Shadow, and Tyler.
Yeah, they don't just want the uncontested Demon's Dojo. They want uncontested surrounding areas as well. So as soon as they see that team floating around trying to get a little bit of loot, they immediately try to pounce on. Now that they got their surge, they're just going to go and continue their way back on over towards Demon Dojo, especially since the zone might be a little bit too early to tell, Monster, but it does look like it is pulling a little bit towards the south or maybe centered up instead of a straight north zone.
Yeah, those
People
northern
here.
zones
Creon.
have been plaguing all of EU
Creon,
as well
Tony,
today. So
Noisy,
the
trying
trend
to go after
continues.
WWE, please.
Creon, Tony, and Noisy continue to just flex how good of a team they are. And this
Creon.
is a surprise for me, but
They're going
they just seem
under
to be in
WW,
absolute shape and
please,
form
and
today,
Chaos Gaming.
holding their own, even now against the likes of, once again, Noah, Chaos, and Kaz's.
It really comes off the back of the big changes to Pump Power. They get the dill bits, they get some gold, they get priority over the Mass Meadows vault, especially with Clixiamzo and Higgs not even necessarily making their way on over throughout the day here. Different strategy formulated in Division Cup Finals this last time around as he returns to the scene. Creon trying to break his way in. Tony does go down. He's trying to save it. Tosses the body back into his territory. And this is where him and his teammate can try to go for a quick double revive here. But they're immediately trying to break their way in. Creon is trying to hold the pressure back. Noah plays, gets the wall. Spraying him back the best that he can. Creon continuously getting pressured more and more. There's a whole nother team there, Monster, now making their way in.
Whole number team.
I was gonna say, surely they
Whole
think that
number
they got the
team,
pickup already,
bro.
right? Like, look at how much
Good
time
work.
has passed, but Noah and Chaos are relentless with the pressure here. It seems like they've made the right call to continue to take this fight so far. Chaos Gaming trying to get these heals down now. But watch how it's playing out here. Still playing off the back foot. Creon and Noisy just trying to buy themselves some time, but the K-Polar and Cynics haven't even found the chance to jump in. They're just listening, watching, waiting for a moment, and finally they find it. This is on to Chaos Gaming. And with that, Noisy and team get a little minute to breathe, but Creon is already back on the offense.
Yeah, for him, that's our damage. That's our eliminations. Already going through 6 of his splashes to
That's
get himself
crazy.
in a much better fighting position. You see him reuniting with Tony yet again. Some more of those splashes are going to come out. Noisy on the other side has a little bit of elevation, taking a quick couple of cheeky shots, just try to get the pressure off, and this is going to be their opportunity to disengage. I see them making their way back on over towards that black market area, maybe re-up on some splashes if they have enough gold left over.
Yeah, part of me for a second there thought, like, wait a second, there has to be miscommunication. There's no way he's pushing a full trio that just showed up, right? So I think they kind of recognize, hey, wait a second, let's get our bearings back under us. Let's just go ahead and get out of here. We got enough damage, got a couple elims. They're content with that.
6, so
Polar
39
Decay
coins. Hopefully they can do
And
good.
Cynics gets to see another day as well as things kind of simmer out. So we do a little kind of loop around the world. Our number 1
This is
seeded
6,
team so
so
far. Here in
they're
game
surviving.
2, Cold Ritual and Peterbot
6 toys.
sticking to the strategy here. Playing these separate areas,
They're
just mass controlling terrain right now with these big bases, fishing for tags from other trios. As you kind of expect here, right? And look at this. They are at 181 points. It's got to be intimidating to start seeing that consistency creep.
Yeah, especially when they're straying away from their entire game plan. And you talk about game plan for Major 1, afterwards in Division Finals, them putting up elimination records, them putting up point records, them putting up damage records. Now it's all slowed down. They cannot continue to keep taking the risk to fight player after player, team after team. So they got to take that slower approach just like everybody else. The Bermuda Triangle, some would call this right now, between 3 different teams. The abundance of extra heals over on this side of the map. Lucky for Bucky, Okus and Cam, though. They're positioned right next to that black market, and they did already go in and get that mythic drum gun out before anybody made their way over.
This is one of the keys of success that we've seen so far, the mythic drum gun. Almost slept on to some degree, right? As far as a key item that trios were looking to secure. But give it a second here. What's going on right now? Another kind of battle unfolding here. We haven't seen Naps' team be too successful so far here on the day. Most of these early game fights have been learning experiences for Naps, Sire, and Cyrus. Can they get a dub under the belt?
Even can't amplify. I've been going through the trials and tribulations through the day, switching up drop spots, trying to get some sort of momentum going, start to build that confidence. But Zyre sneak up on the other side. Shots continue to land on Decat. No real big haymakers yet, but all it does is take one, especially since they're fighting in the zone, deep in the zone, just like that.
Naps dead.
Turn. Naps is actually gonna be the first one going down. Siphon just in time to amplify in a healthy situation. And he finally reunites with Shiny Cat, so this brings it down to a 2v2, a huge advantage lost on the other side.
Yeah, amplifying Cat, you know, this is where they've been earning their points, you know, game after game. This is kind of what's kept them in the running so far. This fight right here. But Cyrus' trio finally showing a little bit of life, but not for too long. It was super short-lived. Zyre gets taken out there, and all of a sudden, all that momentum that they were starting to build up, gone there. In one brief moment. Look, they're at 5 elims, right? You have to assume it's off the back of these re-pickups, right? Allowing teams to get those reboots.
Well, nice shot. Caught him off guard. He tried to hop through the window thinking he was being sneaky. They got that security system set up. There is no sneaking around our house as they take both of those players down. Solo went north to try to get some sort of heals, keep himself alive long enough. But I got some bad news, Monster. I thought this was going to center up, maybe a little bit of Western lead. We might have another north zone.
Yeah, we are seeing a little bit of that. Notorious Magic Moss is back in the name there, down at the bottom right. We'll see. Recoup and Curly. I mean, if you're these trios, you are extremely happy about this. There's a direct correlation between where the zone ends and how these teams, in general, right, perform against the zone. And so far, it has been in Reed's favor. And if it continues to stay like this, hey, we're gonna see them at the top.
I know.
Doing good right now.
What?
I think
G-Money landed some shots. Zonda going down due to the zone. Now it's all about just trying to figure out where he actually went down at. Shots coming in. G-Money slowing down, reapproaching the situation. Even with the cleanup coming in, it's Bryce that's going to go down, clean up that elimination, keep them going. And a very different look to their game. Instead of contesting the 50-50 right out of the gates, they took a slow approach, went to the overall top of the mountain and the backside on the south end. They got their loot, early storm surge, and now look at them. Even though they are deep in zone, when it comes to damage, I think they got themselves a lot of flexibility because of their early game.
And again, clearly, this is a team that can perform very well. This is a team that, after game 1, they found themselves just inside that top 10, and then they were the first trio to get eliminated in game 2, just gets caught up. So right now, they're showing us the signs of their strategy that clearly is successful.
Oh, Quincy also hig,
I don't anticipate I'll tell you that. If they make another top 10 this game.
Guys, clicks.
For Dozer,
Clicks, you
Aiden,
gotta be
right
good.
now.
Oh, amplified dog.
They're just sitting in the zone right now, kind of waiting this one out here, trying to see if they can make it through the Lone Wolf. But we all know that Clix' trio does tend to stay there for quite some time, especially when the zone is right on top of them.
Bryce in that early game damage, he goes down to the storm. You see him looking up. They know Clix, his entire team, landing over there. A huge late switch up of the strategy coming into the last division finals. They no longer kind of make their way over towards the black
getting
market,
beamed?
especially
Oh,
when it
shoot,
is
Noise
in
is
zone.
gonna
You see
be-
it there towards the north, just outside of Brutal Boxcars. That's going to make it a little bit harder for Clix, Higgs, and Yamzo to make their way on over safely and see if there is any splashes or resources left on by. So they're going to be hoping for a south pull, so that way every team has to rotate away from it, and then that gives them a little bit safer access to it.
Let's look at Tony, Noisy, and Creon's situation right now. Oh yeah, look at this zone. This is almost a mirror game back to back to back as things are starting to position up here towards the north. So it's very clearly going to favor these north teams once again here. For the Lone Wolf Lair, we get to watch it from their perspective. Higgs, Clix, and Yamzo. No elims just yet, but again, their goal right now is to find damage, find tags. Like that they've stacked there too.
Yeah.
Giving them the one of the most consistent trios basically on the region.
Yep, top fives
Oh,
in
shoot, Beam and Storm.
57%
They're
of their games. I think I get top fives in maybe about like 10% of my ranked games. A whole different beast, but it just shows the skill level is just above and beyond for a lot of the players in this lobby. The zone pulling all the way on over
have
towards the
any
eastern
kills.
side. That might be a blessing for Clix, Yamzo, and Higgs if it continues to pull away from the black market. They do have that gold that they haven't been able to spend, so this could be a chance, a small one, but a chance for them to access that black market and get whatever splashes are left behind, because Noisy, Creon, and Tony, they also access that vault for those splashes.
Oh, look at this, Muzzraj and Japko finding tags onto Noah Plays here, who's still, by the way, by himself, just kind of hiding out in the facility here. For how much longer can this go down? I don't know, because the surge is active. Surely, if we jump over to Noah's perspective, he has to be one of the lowest, right, of anyone in the lobby. But oh snap, I think Cirque might have caught wind of this solo inside the builds. We'll see if that trio ends up taking him out. Meanwhile, Tony, Trio, and Noisy have made their way to this kind of safe zone here. They've slowly moved their way out of the Brutal Boxcars, ever so slightly to the north here, for more favorable vision of the field. And wait a second, I might have talked too soon. Noah got a knock, but unfortunately couldn't get the finish. So, yes, it was a brawl that took place, and here it is, the next update. We're just gonna keep pulling north.
A blessing there for the teams that are already in the zone, because typically you would want to think, do I stay where I'm at? I'm already in zone, don't need to go ahead and use any materials. But no, you know that whole north side of the map is uncontested. Very, very little teams will be able to survive there and stagger themselves into the zone. So you can kind of free up space, get away from a lot of the teams that will end up crowding that south side of the zone overall. We know it's going to end up stacked. And if you're not prepared for that, good luck to you. It's Taki, Ishu, and Bert. They land at the north side of the map, so another zone that is going to bless them just a little bit. 67 above the damage threshold, though. They have the confidence to know they're not going to take damage, but in the back of their mind, they know things can change in the blink of an eye.
You know, NA really bringing a new meaning to why it's called North America. Like, at this point, if you're not landing Magic Mosses, you're not doing it right. Ishu, Taki, Verto are going to be forced to fight here. So are Coop, Ree, and Curly. Okay, this is an extremely big clash going down here. And now Coop opens up from the side angle onto Ishu. So they find the damage that they need to buy them a little bit of relief. However, they have to very likely push this one to the end.
Just a little bit too risky for their liking right now, especially since they do got themselves a safe spot in towards the zone. And you're seeing them every 7 seconds now, going to be taking 25 damage due to Storm Surge. Only 16 below. One shot from any one of their ARs will put them above that threshold. Bryce even goes down. He's been having a few struggles trying to make it throughout the course of this game. And you're seeing from 16 below to 167. Like I said, things can change in the blink of an eye, and if you're not prepared, it's going to get tough in order to survive.
Yeah, all that means is the competition is getting active, and talking about the competition, they get chopped out from down low. The free edits are ready. A beautiful code from Ishu, though, to set things up and give his team a little moment, a little chance at success here. The damage was good, but his teammates already down. They might as well go for the finish here, but they lose track of the trio. Maniac and company get away there, and now the zone reveals another northern pop for them here. This is going to continue to push further and further away, jumping into teams that are looking to position up early there. All the big boys, all the big names are here. Peterbot is as well. and fighting instead of healing here, waiting for his team. This is the confidence that exudes out of this trio right here is incredible. And look at this, Jacob. They're already at 3 elims as well this game.
Yeah, 400 damage above the threshold all the way from Crime City. And this is the scary part of the game, because now they start to get that confidence as every other team start to rotate forward. Only one more team to their right slowly trying to make their way forward, and that's where it's going to get dangerous because they have to rotate too. We're seeing how the fight even started and broke out. They're only 146 damage above the threshold at this side of Beef, Skittles, and Chimp, likely below, forced to take a fight. And there goes Cold, making all the right moves at the right time to get all 3 eliminations.
Such a big moment for them, and that is really the difference maker as to even why they're above the threshold right now. It's those eliminations they just picked up. So clearly, even though they're playing a different strategy, it's not the most consistent. Their damage has been borderline all 3 of these games. With the rotate right here, Peterbot is trying to get ahead right now. Focus starting to come in. They're saying, hey, we got enough match to do something big here. But it seems like they're playing a little too fast. This costs them a bit extra.
They need to try to
They
take
still
down
gotta rotate towards the zone, and it's just Peterbot, the constant target throughout each and
Oh my
every
God,
one
Peterbot's
of these
getting a little bit
rotations. They
weak.
took what you
Literally
said
has all
serious
the healing.
in that last game. He's a little bit of the bait. Kind of freeze up Cold and Ritual
I'm a whip.
to start to make their way over towards the zone. The majority of the lobby here.
Okay, come on, clicks, y'all doing Higgs, let's go, guys.
81 for some.
Absolute A-Fomax.
Higgs and Clicks were able to find.
They got elimination, and 1 Fomax 200.
Most importantly, the damage.
Lucas
200.
Coop
Fomax.
ground, but you have Tyler on the high ground
Fomax.
for the win right now.
700.
Hold up, though.
Set HUD.
Coming in here for
No, set HUD, you know
well
what I mean?
inside the top 3 right now. Continue to maintain
Like,
the pace here. Now,
touchdown
they
for
haven't picked up any
Box.
elims, but they are starting to approach the point
So
where
like,
these
and
placing
1
points
full
are going
box.
to start being given out.
Oh, full box 270,000.
Meanwhile,
set HUD.
finally, Angel, Spoilio, and Acorn have
170 HUD,
break
set
right
5.
in the end game. Every time we jumped in with them,
45 million.
kind of rough, kind of crazy for them. However, now
They
they
are,
seem
they
to
have
slow
to.
down the pace and say, hey, let's not go for high ground. Let's just play for some
Booga!
mid-ground positioning here
Oh.
and just make it all the way through to the end where they're
they
shining
are.
the best.
No, I'm joking. I'm just saying some random stuff.
Shadow Curve and Tyler, since that last
But they
zone,
are
we
getting-
thought that they took that
everyone's
high
getting
ground, and
damaged.
now they're just kind of trying to hold on to it, pressuring teams down below. You see the proactivity formulate from Tyler. If it pulls that way, we got to
But look
quickly
how many
run,
kills.
connect to the zone,
Yo,
being very, very careful not to get chopped down. That's going to be Curve holding their backside position in the zone
know
as
how
Peterbot,
it's-
Cold, Ritual looking to get aggressive yet again. They don't find the opportunity to get that elimination, so they slowly back off. With only 55 damage above the threshold, Monster.
The legs.
Not where you'd expect them to be. Reek goes down. There's a lot of pressure now onto Curly, even with elimination onto Phenom. This is his only opportunity. As they go for a revive, he has to match it and drop that med miss.
okay,
Yeah, I was going to say, this is a
Okay.
very important
Oh, Coop down!
But no,
Oh,
he
no.
just gets distracted
Oh,
there
Reek.
in the
Oh,
final. He's gonna end up
Curly
playing the med miss,
dead.
But that means that
Curly's
team
about
can
to
play
go-
it too if they want to and go for the fight here. but
Curly
they get
about
the
to go
siphon,
down. This
Heals
sucks.
there and then turn tail.
Okay,
Looking
Mama
for the
whip.
escape. Meanwhile,
That's-
Higgs clicks in
I gotta lock
inside
in.
his zone, sticking true to the strategy. This is probably the most consistent we've seen
I don't know about that.
from any of the trios in the game so far. Now as game 3 starting to heat up, Acorn though, Boyo, Agers
I
are
will.
on the front side as well. They know how to do it best too. Meanwhile, on the ultimate low, we haven't seen Booga Threats and Rapid down here, but everyone seems to be adjusting here coming into this 3rd round.
Yeah, even Curly in the backside of the zone taking a cheeky attempt and trying to get damage.
Come on,
Misses that
Clicks,
one.
Higgs.
And a new
Come on,
team
Clicks,
is going to be
Yazoo,
on
and
high
Higgs.
ground.
Come on,
That's
guys.
Rise. That's Yapko. That's Mud.
Boys,
Nice
Yapko
zone.
and
It might have
Rise
been too
on
early for
top.
their opposition, but now it's
Where's-
theirs for the
where's
taking.
Peterbot?
Looking down all around the front side of the zone, even the back, trying to pressure
Boyo!
teams into an altercation.
Boyo down!
Below finds a quick elimination, getting him the siphon, and what's most important, the materials to keep himself going.
That's exactly what we wanted to see from Peterbot. Him actually making it into this end game and starting to really turn online, but it's going to be at the hands of Acorn as he gets crushed under the weight of Peterbot's shotgun, and so does Curly. And all of a sudden now, they have the points and a little bit of footing underneath them to try to do something bigger here. 8 teams remaining in the game. Big points starting to be earned right now.
Come on,
A little
Clicks.
bit of a
Come on,
last
Clicks.
spin for the
Please,
Nuggets,
Clicks.
But they are starting to fizzle
Come
out.
on,
They're gonna have
Clicks.
to make a move.
Please win this game.
Here's Higgs, here's Clicks,
Come on,
here's
Clicks.
Yamzo. Sticking true to the strats. It's looking so
Clicks
bad.
with elimination there with Bye-bye.
Exit Higgs, the recent signing.
Come on, Batman Booga.
Now really starting to turn online. As
Alright, Peterman. Peterman getting caught in storm. Come on, guys. Get up. They're all low. They're all low.
That was perfectly
Please
placed
take him
on the
out.
zone. You see the two teams
Please take him out.
on the low ground, back of zone.
Let's go.
Peterbot
Let's go.
left by himself, even with the men with smoke. He is on the
Get
ground.
Mitchell out of there. Whoop, whoop. He's won.
He goes down.
Let's go.
And rapid
Go.
again,
Come on, Clicks.
once more.
Come on,
But
Clicks,
then
win this.
Now getting revenge. He's
We
getting
win
take after take for the
these.
zone.
Yamzo, watch out.
With 12 HP.
Threats on it. Bye-bye.
No time for him to pop it. He's getting pressured from
He's
all
getting
around.
pressured.
And it's
Alright,
incredible
you
work
got
by
this,
Clicks
Click.
Trio.
Come
You
on.
got this.
Booga down. Threats 1 HP. 12 HP. Let's go. They're cleaning up. They're cleaning up. They're cleaning up.
Come on. You got this.
3 teams left. 7 people alive.
Come on.
It's a trio. Curve right there. 1 HP. Dead.
Gets a taste
Dead.
of medicine there too.
It's a 4.
And this is
It's a 3v.
situation.
It's a 3v3 right now. They're all going down. Trying to take out Clicks.
For the swings here.
They're going for the
That
top.
first one was a miss, but that's only going to be strike number
Clicks,
one.
Buzz,
Big
Yap,
has
going
an opportunity
Rise.
to try to make
Everyone.
the front side of the zone.
Come on, guys.
Goes
You
down.
got
No, my teammate. Okay, they traded. They traded. They traded.
Okay.
They traded.
Not get the loot. There is
They
no
traded
time.
elimination.
Up above is Mud.
Okay.
It's Yapko. They're trying to put the
Come on,
pressure
Click.
on, but Rise goes down.
Click.
Right side.
Yes.
They get
Click.
Come on. Let's go.
Alright, that's how you do it.
Let's go, Click. Let's go, Click.
However, Clicks, the man himself,
Oh my God, Clicks looked the hell off of my 200.
who better to be in a
Go, guys.
situation than Clicks, but he didn't even have the match to beat it. Look at
Go.
the time though, Jacob.
Go, yo, my brother.
Yamzo
Go, Yamzo, Hayes, and Clicks. Let's go.
delivering
Clutch of a lifetime. They just got so many eliminations. They just catched up to the whole pack, bro.
Yamzo really changed the tide.
How many did they get?
Like 3,
4-3?
4 eliminations late into
Bro,
the game.
that's
And even
11
Jackson
eliminations
Shaw
right now,
here
bro.
make a read. Clicks
11.
was in a 1v1 situation here. Yamzo was the distraction, so Clicks gets the elimination onto Rise and eventually
Oh my
onto Mud.
God! 14 elimination win, guys!
Just before the
Stop
last
playing!
major, but game
Yeah,
two is
bro.
done. Zeke, Kelly, and
See that,
Pippin
what's up,
need
Temba?
some help breaking down all that
Let's
action.
go!
Yeah.
Go!
That's cool. Something cool happened. Something cool happened. Kelly.
Zeke?
Kelly, something cool happened.
Yes, Zeke, something cool happened.
Clicks gonna be here!
Oh my God, Zeke! Oh my God, Zeke!
Yeah, what just happened, Vivek?
Did you see Zeke, bro? This
Coming
man's going
out on
crazy.
top. It was a high ground versus low ground 3v3. We see this so often, and more often than not, it's a high ground that's able to win the game. But Click
Eyes on me back! Oh!
yet Vivid and comes out with the victory royale for game 3.
I mean, there's so much that we could break down about. We could break it all down, Kelly. Zeke will just be over there screaming the whole time. There's so much we could talk about with that trio actually winning that end game so clean. And the part that I really like the most, the one that I want to hit home the most on right here, is that, you know, Kelly was kind of hyping up this, hey, you know, they keep playing for that front side of the moving zone, but this game, the adaptation was made, right? For whatever reason, they didn't actually play towards that side. They were kind of playing off to the side, right? Letting people kind of take that space from them, getting shots in from the side, picking up the eliminations, and it worked so well when Booga's trio was found over there. And then, you know, just worked so incredibly well for them. They were able to take that space, find the resources to actually put themselves in a competitive 3v3
Clicks
situation.
and them just
to win
caught
that
up
tie.
so-
It's a beautiful game.
Bro, dude. Yo,
you
Peterbot, bro.
know, we
Peterbot,
got
Acorn,
pitch
them,
stats,
they
so
got like
I
this.
asked him if I could see
We're
the
trying to
damage
get way
numbers,
past
but
everyone.
from zone 9
Clicks and
on,
them just
and
came out and
recent
destroyed
EDAC,
everyone
it was
at
actually
the end.
Yamzo and Higgs that
Yo,
were in first and third
let's
place
go,
respectively.
brothers. I'm like,
People
oh
competing.
my God, I love it,
I think this game was
I'm sorry, guys. I'm just so
incredible.
excited, bro. Bro, Click.
And
I've been
hey,
watching Clicks for a
Yeah,
long
mentioned,
time.
you know, Jacob screaming.
I've been watching him
Clicks
for a
fans,
long
Rise,
time
Clicks
since
also
when
being
I
able to
started
pick up
playing
every
for that,
single one of those
and he's just-
eliminations
He's,
on the final trio right there.
bro, he's probably going
Played to
crazy.
perfection.
And he's thinking, bro,
14 elims is crazy. That is just game number 3. We've had 3
Go,
unbelievable
guys.
games.
David
on
Blue
NA.
David
It is so
absolutely
crazy to
destroying
think. We're gonna
everyone, you know what I mean?
to go today, and then 6
Absolutely
tomorrow.
buttered,
It is
absolutely
shaping up to be
destroyed,
a
absolutely
fantastic
buttered.
evening of Fortnite. Congratulations again, Clicks, Iamzo, and Higgs.
Clicks, Yams on Higgs.
Victory Royale.
It's my brother from another mother, if you know what I mean.
We are going to go to a break. When we return, we'll discuss a few more things that happened last game
Brother
and then
from
prepare
another
ourselves for
mother.
the second half of the
Somebody.
competition. So, we'll see you really
Brother
soon.
from another mother. That was insane, bro. Was that insane? That was actually, look, there, that was Clicks. They just showed him. No, it's like a very short show. Shortly. Like, they're showing everyone. There's this new thing, the May 10th. It's not new. It's been going on for a while. It's called a Pro-Am. Right. Pro players and then content creators go. They're in Cali for this thing. I might watch it. I don't know. I don't know. I might watch it. I don't know. It's cool because like Typical Gamer's gonna be there with his pro teammate and then all that stuff. I might actually watch it. So it's cool. So it's like Typical Gamer and a pro person. So like just, I don't think it is, but like just like an example, like Quicks and Typical Gamer, Cypher PK and Booga, like just they're not. It's not those people, but not those people in general. But I'm just like just an example. Just don't. I gotta check. It probably would tell me. I might watch that too, cause that looks cool. You know what I mean? What, bro? This one's almost at 1,000. I'll make my 9th video to 1,000, bro. And my stream probably is gonna get a lot of views. It'll get a lot of watch hours for me when they like refresh the watch hours. Like, so I'm almost at like 150 views on the stream. Like 136 right now I have. And it has already 9.2 watch hours. It just keeps 137 actually, and like 9.2 watch hours. So like, it keeps so many people are in, or not a lot of people are in. There's only 4 people in 7 likes and 8. Oh, bro, I might actually post that, bro. I gotta show people, bro. Oh, did you get a lot of views, bro? Did you get some views, bro, or not? I'm talking to Data's Blaze guy.
Yeah, I guess so.
I mean, I'm checking right now. Wait, is your stream? It's 20 seconds, guy, until we're getting back. Hold up. Say. Yes, sir.
We're being traded to some peak Fortnite, ladies and gentlemen. Clicks got himself a victory in game number 3. He's actually streaming as well with a delay, so if you missed it, go check out his perspective from that last game because it was crazy. Other things did transpire in that game, though, like Muzz, Yapko, and Rise making it to 2nd place, really trying to push
Muzz,
that
Yapko,
consistency
Rise.
factor to its
Oh my
very
gosh,
limit. I love
Clicks
seeing
in
the fact that
2nd
they
place. Let's go,
I'd like to
Clicks.
see this trio.
Oh,
They're
100%. I think
29 points behind Peterbot. Let's do it, guys. They're there. They're there, bro. I can't believe it, bro. They're locked in. They got back to where Peterbot is now. Then they can get there. They just have to do way better than Peterbot next game, and they'll pass Peterbot. Let's do it, bro. They got this. I believe in them. Bro, I believe in you guys so much.
And
Let's
I
do
like the fact
it.
you kind of mentioned that right at the end there, right? They're just getting started because their first 2 games are kind of, as Levin would say, they're a bit of stinkers, you know, like 17th, 23rd. But the highlight for me there, you know, and Kelly kind of mentioned it right there, is that this was kind of the first end game that they've kind of made, right? Taking into account how those first 2 games went. And they were the first trio to actually take high ground. So in my opinion, right, if they've been the only trio to kind of do it, and that was the first game that they've actually made it to the end game, then maybe this is a little bit of a pattern, right? Maybe it'll be easy for them in these following games where they do make it to end game. Hopefully they've sorted something out to kind of continuously make the end game, take that hideaway. And yeah, I mean, we've seen how Height's kind of going today. You're kind of getting it for free once you do have it. So I think this is good news for this trio.
I will say that there was a moment there where we saw Muzz's, Peterbots, and Acorn's trio all in the same little edge of zone together, and we actually saw Muzz's trio make the fastest rotate I've ever seen. And so I'm wondering if maybe that's the reason why we're not seeing them in endgame, and they've kind of learned their lesson a little bit, and so now we're going to be seeing kind of some different rotates from them. But speaking, Zeke, these zones, what did we say about North zones?
Gosh.
My apologies, guys. I'll check the supercomputer. I don't know what's going on myself. I'll go check it over there. Speaking of checking things, let's check the standings right now. At the top, Peterbot, Cold, and Ritual. Guys, we have not had a game that we've dropped out of 5th place. Game 1, 5th place, 6 elims. Game 2 was in BR with 13 eliminations, and now once again 5th place with 7 eliminations. I mean, this is starting to get really, really scary. And the fact, Kelly, now they're at 249 points. They are starting to pull away. Someone needs to stop them.
It's so surreal because in my mind, I'm like, wow, they're really doing bad at the start of Major 1, but they've already won a game and they're in 1st place. It's such a weird conditioning of our brains that if they aren't just winning every single game, we're wondering, oh, what's wrong with them? But they're doing so well. They understand that if they're not able to go for high ground, which we've seen them do over the last few weeks, that they need to stick to the low ground. They need to go for those eliminations. And Ritual once again sticking it out as a solo in the final moments right there. And
he's down.
I
second
really just
now.
want to give Ritual
And
all the flowers
29
that he
points
deserves.
behind first.
Yeah,
The
doing
first
very,
team,
very well.
they got
First
5th
being,
place. Look,
if not a part of the last
They're
duo
29
top
points
5,
back.
being the last
but
player.
these guys are trying to pull
Of
away
course,
because
alive right
Clicks
there,
can't
so
do
they're still
bad
holding
next
on
game.
to
Or
the lead
look,
right
these people
there.
like they're like 7 behind.
I
Like,
see.
19 behind. And they, this top 10 or like at least like top 5 could easily pass Clicks
That
if
game
you
for
and them
them,
and the
9th
team
place, 1
if
elimination.
they
So
do
I
bad.
mean, the 2 before
And I don't
being
want
second
that,
and
but-
the 3rd makes this one,
Okay.
hurt
Can I tell
probably a
you?
little bit, but regardless, they'll stick
There's
with the top of the
that
leaderboard.
gamer.
Yeah, and I think a
Sheer,
bit of that was
it
due to the
actually
fact that they
lights
kind of
up.
were
It
sticking in
goes
Flooded
neon.
Frogs for a
Say
long
what?
time. I'm
What's
guessing that
she-
there was some
what's
kind of
she-
early game engagement
See
that
how the
I
white
potentially
is-
would have
is
missed
like
for them
you
to
can
go
see
back
through
and
with the
farm
light
back
comes
for
through
Flood
a little
Frogs.
bit.
And I think that's just part of the
It's a
reason why
black
their
one
loadout
like
wasn't
that,
exactly
I
where they
bought.
wanted to in
From
the end game.
Mum.
But regardless of the
So that
situation
can
that
go
they're
in
in,
the
they're still
middle.
sitting
And
pretty
then
up
why
in
not
our
put
leaderboard
these
right
on
now,
either
Zeke. So I'm
side of
excited
your
to see what they do in the remaining half of the games we have today.
I know, it's
Try to
scary,
get a
right?
white
Because you
canvas
kind of
and
want to
put
keep
with
putting the
Austin
pedal to the
Davis,
metal.
Yeah.
With 3 games left to go today, that sets
what
us
I'm
up
saying?
for
Like,
day
if
number 2,
your
right?
camera,
And then
they can
without
see
that
straight
1.5x multiplier,
Anyway,
we need
those
to
are
be
just my
more
suggestions.
consistent
that.
after day number 1, right? We need to make sure we are primed for day number 2. So I'm curious to see,
Alright,
can we
I
keep
think
this
we're getting
momentum
back,
going?
we're
Not from
getting back.
just them, but from
Hopefully
all of these
they
top
can
performing trios,
keep being
especially in the back half.
consistent.
Let's find out. Monster D-Phase, Jacob take it away.
That's the key.
Momentum
Yeah.
is a real thing in these tournaments, but one thing you really have to take note of, even though they're in 1st place by 29 points, Monster, it's not through sheer force like they did in that last major, like they do in the divisional cups. So realistically, it's anybody's game still.
Yeah, and we're watching it kind of play out in real time. We're seeing how much of a different, slower approach, a little bit more of a methodic approach, right, to their early game. But let's just keep this in mind. It's all North zones. With game number 4 around the corner, let's see how it plays out.
Alright guys, so we're back guys. Let's Clicks with that good clutch game 3 win with Clicks, Yazo, and Higgs. With Peterbot, Cold, and Ritual, they're still holding on to 1st place. Clicks in 2nd. And then I don't know who's in 3rd.
But again, the
I
standings,
can't remember 3rd,
I think, are just a
it's
story
anyone's
of
game.
magic.
It still is anyone's
Every
game.
one of
Clicks
these trios
and
have
them,
had
they
that
have to
little
be
bit of
consistent. They got to
favoritism.
keep up if
So
they want
once
to
they
keep
start
going.
getting more of a
They got to.
difficult, let's just call it decision making put in front of them, right? Things might start to turn, but for now, if it's going to continue to play out this way, I mean, the story seems to be written in stone here.
Yeah, and this is a
people
fight
going
that you
down
know.
already, guys.
When you look at that
Thank you for
stone,
the
this
4
is
people in, 7
written
already,
all over
and
it,
8
contested.
people,
They
8
go for
votes.
Fleur
All
Loot
my
almost
stream.
right out of
Appreciate
the
it, guys.
gates
Thank
and
you.
immediately start teeing off on one another. But it does look like Craze from underneath is trying to sneak around. You mentioned yourself the closeness of the entirety of the bridge, especially underneath, and now he's getting free shield. So if anybody's going to be the one to make a play, it is going to be him up against Yusuf. He gets the elimination, and I do believe that was the wipe.
Oh, a little turn of events here for Joji, Donnie, and Prime. Okay, so a little life coming out for them here at the Shining Span. We'll see what they can make with this game here. You know, the cool part about a 2-day performance is that anything can happen, right? You have a lot of time to start making some micro adjustments and, you know, really play this tournament out to the best of your capabilities. Team that's been doing just that as well is No W Plays Chaos Gaming and Kazis for the second time now. We've seen them at least survive the initial touch of their drop here. It's not all teams, you know, that land kind of in this northern area that are walking away with, you know, free placements to the top of the standings. At the end of the day, you have to prove that you can stand amongst the best here and win some of these engagements. Kazis goes in, face check here, but the tick was ready and answers with a monster shot here, slowing down all momentum that this trio was looking to build.
Yeah, all three of them saw he was here as a solo. They beelined it over, but the scanner's out. Noah plays. All of their positions got to be revealed, but no more builds out of the tick, so he's going to be an easy target. And the first one to get dropped. Quick cleanup there. They're going to get the Cypher mats, and you can see absolutely needed because Noah plays is almost fresh out of materials as well. And now they're forced to try to disengage. Maniac trying to go ahead and move on over to help his teammates, but that same distance that he closes is going to be the same thorn in the side because now he has nowhere to run.
Yeah, but Noah's barely got anything to work with here. Just a couple shots. Attacks from behind.
Oh, shoot!
No mats to really work with either.
But
it is going to be a nice quick elimination. Do note with every tag they get, more confidence starts to increase. What? 2 quick elims. Kind of get to reset here. Gonna be happy with that.
Peterbot right there on that hill over there. He's trying to get some
more and more action going down
tags
just the
over
north
there,
side of Flooded Frogs. Visual Braids and a Minish. Foxy Floodgates, excuse me there. They land at this spot. We have seen them contest the server room, but Visuals
just
out
got
of
beamed.
Braids.
He's done. He just got beamed.
And just gets taken down. I do believe that was Peterbot.
That was Peterbot.
Landing at the train, the top side of the mountain, got that loot from the server room.
Beamed, bro.
And there's so much distance between Braids and the rest of his teammate. I'm not sure how much help he's going to be up close.
Yeah, I was going to say, I had to look at the standings for a second. Visual Braids and a Minish are in 5th place. Do not let this early game fight fool you. This is definitely a team that is trailing very far ahead of 6 and in the conversation right now.
Almost took him out.
Little setback there, minor setback, but not completely taking them out of the running just yet.
Jojo, okay, we got some good
old
big
Peterbot
fight here.
Probably keys
Prom going down.
Does what he does.
Ward going down.
Carelessly.
Seek trying to block shots
takes his
from
time,
Robotic.
takes his damage, calls it a little win.
It's his fight just north, I believe, of Kappa Factory. Just following each other, not trying to let them escape. He's here, the bat
big fight here.
Joji takes
big
the
fight.
first
Jojo
couple
just got
damage.
hit.
Both his teammates go down. Let's praise him. Donnie, he got lost, and
He's
they
trying to
break
hide.
his way in.
Oh,
even
he's
hiding
done
behind
for.
barrels.
He
There's
just
no
took it
chance.
out. Wow.
He's a hide and seek master as Seek, Veer, and Dash take him out. And with 54 points here, a couple of them coming from this game alone, at least they start to build that confidence up going into the second half of the day.
Definitely. That's going to jump them up
Where?
towards
What
19th
happened?
right now. If the standings are locked in stone. Putting them just behind Bucky Okus Cam, Bryce G Money, and
Bucky
Osid.
Okus Cam? Oh, Bucky Okus?
Take a look at the highlight here from Seek's perspective. Oh, yeah.
Bucky Okus and Cam, they're okay.
Getting to work with the bat. And, of course, closing out with the shotgun.
He knew his teammates were there. Almost no worry, even if he does go down. But you see a triangle being formed right now with Kanata, Bolts, and Sphinx just trying to catch somebody off guard. And
Sphinx, they're trying to catch the other guys off guard.
It might be Dash, but as soon as those shots fire off, this is giving Bolts an opportunity to land some big damage on somebody not really paying attention. It could be Seek. But nope, that opportunity comes and goes just like that.
Come on, guys.
Both Kanata and Sphinx just a couple of pieces away from
They're trying to
really breaking through the glass ceiling here. Their problem has just been the mid-game. Once they get past that and kind of start approaching that end game, things just haven't seemed to have lined up for them so far. Do keep in mind they are one of the few teams kind of playing this deep zone from the southern areas on up. So they've had a lot more to worry about, right, as opposed to some of the northern trios.
And fun fact about that,
he's probably still
they
I forget what
actually
it's
have
called.
the
What is
most
that?
distance traveled out of everybody in this lobby, Monster, because of those zones.
And they're still in
game
13th,
four
right?
right
So
now,
again,
but-
all the more just impressive how they've at least managed to kind of stay in the conversation. But
Pollo.
ooh, here's a fight I didn't expect to go
Acorn.
down this
Wait,
soon.
where?
Pollo,
Where's
Agers, and
Bolts?
Acorn.
Or Agers. I
A
don't
little
see-
bit of a
Agers is
contestation
not
happening
there.
here at the Mass Meadows.
He's probably somewhere
Yeah, it almost makes you
close.
wonder what's that going to do to the game plan,
Osid,
because G-Money,
Buster,
Osid, and Bryce,
Bryce.
they're kind of used to not getting a lot of
Agers
serves,
is
not
right there.
fighting
Okay,
teams
they're
up on
trying to
top of the
look
mountain,
at
having to
Agers.
rotate
Do they
north.
see Agers?
But
He
Agers,
could literally
Acorn, and
beam
Pollo,
them.
the whole strategy relies getting extra heals, going just towards that black market,
Is
building
Agers
your
looking?
surge bases, and taking
could
advantage of
easily
teams
beat-
just
oh,
like this.
shoot, Agers
Now
has
they've
the
been
jump cut.
sidetracked off of that
I thought-
game plan, and
I
so
thought
it starts
Bucky
to
and
put
them
things in
beat
your
it.
mind. Obviously, we're all looking at Acorn. Do you start to
shoot,
rotate the zone?
Acorn.
Is this a team that
Okay.
now you must try and
Okay,
fight
okay,
because now
you
you're
just got
below
a
the
little
storm
bit
surge
ahead.
threshold of games past? It's a lot of questions that I know are going to be answered
guys, you
shortly,
got
but it just goes to show the impact of one team's decision and how it affects
right back,
everything
guys.
else around them.
Yeah, this is like the shoe put on the other foot. Bryce is the one with that ultimate high ground here. The cards kind of in his hands here to be dealt. But okay, Agers, Pollo here, opting to not play the Storm. They want to make a little bit more of a favorable positioning for themselves.
I'm
I
back.
don't blame them.
What's happening?
Osid not taking advantage of those
Osid,
fresh builds though while they were
G1 for
rotating there.
Bryce.
It's going to be missed damage, missed opportunities.
5 people
be
in, 7 legs.
Reflective of the
Votes
fact
on
that,
this.
again, this is like a newer
The
trio, right?
polls
Kind of
trying
being
to get
introduced to this
more
extreme
subs,
high-level
like, subscribe, comment,
competitive play. One of the reasons why Kanata wanted to kind of mix it up.
Comment board.
Back on over to the action here. Polar sitting next to K, keeping us entertained here. Fight for the top 10 position here remaining against Naps right now. Polar.
Okay,
doing a
Polar
great job here.
trying to take out Daps. Okay, they just did.
All at the
Polar
Demon's
DK
Dojo.
Sinks.
Things unfolding pretty quickly. Meanwhile, Cyrus kind of watching this unfold from the distance. Decay, not even wanting to let
Oh,
this
he
team
knows. They
get
know
too
already.
comfortable
oh my
either.
God, DK. He's going up there.
Yeah, he spotted out the builds, kind of finished building. He knows Zyr's there. And it does look like Zyr's just going to be a big distraction. He doesn't have a shield. He has half HP. He's just trying to buy his teammate time so that way he can make that rotation off the side of Demon's Dojo, potentially try to get the reboot card for his teammate, or if they potentially have it already, get his teammate back into the game. But for now, they're going to be looking at the long game. Instead of little short wins throughout the course of the game, they're going to be looking for a revive and some big moments to try to finish this one off.
Yeah, no information on where the trio went either, so they're just going to play the rest of this out blind here. Still big eliminations for them.
There's Yanzo clicks in.
Yamzo
Higgs, they got a
Higgs
big win.
and Clicks right
Last
now,
season.
coming
Last
off that momentum. Ridiculous win, 14 eliminations. Got to watch it back from Clicks' perspective in the speed at which he was able to react and pick up those 2 elims in the end was just absolutely incredible. But the setup from Iamzo, you have to give him so much credit. Iamzo and Higgs playing crazy angles there in the end game, opening up
Oh,
so
shoot,
much
Clicks
opportunity
got
for them.
beamed. He did not beat
Even turn that into victory royale. This is the strat right here, right? High ground, surge bases, fish for tags.
Clicks
I know we
trying
haven't
to
seen
get
the
some
zone yet,
tags.
but it
Wow,
does
I don't
look to
know
be
what
very
else is happening.
reminiscent
Okay,
of the
DK
games
Polar
prior.
6, Dash.
I want to talk
Beer
too soon
and
about it, though. We'll
Tron.
see.
Trying to
So
get
you're
away.
saying another north
Or actually,
zone
they're in Storm, so.
is quite
Saying,
possible.
maybe
But you see Dash, Seek, and Veer. I feel like they're kind of getting used to these north zones. Obviously, it's not as easy. They got 4 eliminations. A lot of their resources are being expended. 1 med kit for Dash. He's going to have to use that in a few seconds. But in the sense of this has been their game plan. Ride the whole eastern side of the zone, move up towards the north, get surge on a lot of the teams that are kind of left behind. Because more times than not, if they're this far back in zone, they might not be the most healthiest. So that's going to be the perfect chance. Just try to pop some shots, keep it moving in towards zone. And then you even see that solo player just below the D and Demon's Dojo on the minimap, trying to look, hey, is this the time I can get my teammates back? He doesn't even know that's a whole new team on top of that mountain.
yeah, a lot of uncertainty in the air.
Coop, Curly.
Let's jump in with Coop, Reet, and Curly here as they continue to get the favorable zone pulls here up towards this kind of Flooded Frogs area. They're just sitting pretty right now. wishing for some tags to kind of come their way. Reed's in charge of the bill. He's already put 64 up. Not bad at all. We'll have to jump off this base eventually, though, and start to get to those mats. But again, you can just see that there is no rush in doing so.
Soul just went down.
Kind of see this slow play on one side of the lobby to the next. Bolts Kanata Sphinx working their way up from Hopeful Heights. Quick chase down on the Water Sprite, just trying to make sure that they have as much of those resources as possible before they make their way down off the side of the mountain. Because they have this elevation coming into the zone, they are able to spot out a lot of the teams that have already rotated in, the teams that have already boxed up and solidified their position. So even though they're taking some storm damage, eventually going to have to use some HP heals, it's all a worthwhile sacrifice for them because it gives them a much safer path.
Taking advantage of that path as well.
Oh no.
Very
Quicks just got
well-timed
knocked.
movements here.
Quicks.
Jumping in with
Quicks.
Otis, Bucky, and Cam right
Do it,
now.
Quicks. You can't
They
die
seem
now.
to have found the trio lurking behind at the Foxy Floodgate for a second there.
Please.
And pushing up ahead. We're retreating back here to try to pick up some of this leftover
Die
material.
right now. You're gonna lose so much.
Almost a much different position than we've seen him in some of the games before. I think a lot of teams are kind of catching on to how drastic some of these North Poles have actually been and are now trying to rotate just a tad bit earlier than they have in some of the previous games. But Cam is the one that gets caught off guard by Agers, rotating deeper into zone. It does look like Cam is going for a little bit of a revive while Bucky's just trying to hold them back the best that he can. Make them think twice about continuing to rotate on over here for elimination that might not even be that easy.
Medmiss has to come out here. This is probably what I was gonna say Acorn and Agers Spoyo was thinking about. Like, hey, stop down right there. Yes, stay in the zone. Let us fight you. We need this damage here. But they're gonna be content with a little bit of damage that they managed to pick up there. That Medmiss saving Bucky's trio. Boyo was in full W key mode for a second there. You saw him how aggressive he was pushing up.
My only question about this entire situation is we saw Pollo, Acorn, and Agers fighting at Mass Meadows. How did Agers get the mythic drum gun? That's going to be a big question as Kanata breaks into the box, taking down King. First elimination of this fight. And you see Sphinx, the IGL of the trio, quickly reunite, and he took a lot of that early damage along with Bolts, knowing that Kanata's the one that has his position set. They all regroup, heal up, kind of reassess the situation. Do they want to continue to fight the team that they know is a duo or rotate to zone because they know it's now moving further and further away?
Yeah, but here's the thing. Kanata's team has done well with these storm fights, and they beat these teams over and over again when the fights have kind of gone down in these early situations. That didn't happen so much last game, but this is looking like kind of like the game one storm fights that set them up for success early on. So I think they're feeling really confident about these battles here. Jargu, all that's left on the trio. Sphinx is gonna end up finding him, boxes him up, and puts him down. Nice little med kit fished up right there. Actually, 3 med kits for the trio. Oh yeah, they're gonna be super excited about that.
I forgot you can't hear me, sorry.
Just the material count that I'm really going to have questions over. Did the team they fight drop enough materials to kind of replenish what they had lost up to that point? Because I saw Kanata was rather low in his situation as we jump on board Shogun's Arena, the island, Cold Ritual, Peterbot returning to their clouds, and now they already got the boss taken down. They have the medallion, the extra chug jug, and the height advantage. Blessings for the lobby that it is going to pull a little bit more north, so they're going to have to leave that island eventually. But until then, they have the luxury to be able to look back in zone just like this and try to spot out any players, whether they're a full team or not, rotating in.
I was saying, let's not forget they just get to glide too, right? So like, they're not gonna have a problem right now so long as they condition a lobby and or move sooner rather than later. We'll see what the decision ends up being here in just a moment.
Where's Quicks?
For the team that's trying to maintain the pace right now, Braids diminishing visuals. Trying to get just past the mid game right now here.
Curve just knocked Quicks.
No surge warning, so the activity in the lobby keeping relatively at pace here for a pretty fast game for game 4.
I don't know where Quicks is. Quicks takes
But let's see how long that's gonna
We
last.
got Braids at mid to the visuals here.
Wow. Visuals, Braves, and Minutes have each spent less than 2 minutes in the storm, the lowest of any of the top 20 teams. And when you land at Foxy Floodgates, middle of the map, and it is continuing to pull north, it just goes to show that they're very, very proactive in terms of where they position themselves. They don't wait for Storm Surge to come to them. They go and look for it in terms of where they kind of set up shop. And game after game, it's been working out. So jump back on board Reek, Coop, and Curly. Finally rotating west of Flooded Frogs, not too far away from where they actually landed. So when we look about distance traveled, I'm going to be looking at a team like them to see how much distance they didn't have to travel compared to other teams in this lobby.
Well, your Acorn Agers, though, losing the trail end of the kind of exchanges here. A little I'd say to my surprise, they've had, it hasn't seemed like they've been the strongest, and you think differently. Agers and Pollo, some of the better fighters on the region, but having a bit of a harder time.
Oh, Higgs. Higgs just clicks. Just
I think Higgs and Clicks both getting some eliminations. I do believe that might have been Okus that got taken down as well.
In the storm, too.
Yeah, that's just one of those tough situations. They weren't even the original ones fighting both Clicks and Cold. They were already in zone, looking back at this fight, seeing a team end up in a scuffle and just immediately focus in that direction. Luckily for Evan, Zanda, and Sandman right now, they're able to get the revive back up. They have the Chug Judge bandages if needed, and then the splashes on top of that with not too much distance to cover before they're safely inside of the zone.
Take a look how it went down. Evan here. Pushing in from the side, gets right on in. It was a full-on surge fight. That's going to put them 400 above. How long will it last, though, is the real question. Heard about Cold and Ritual. Already set up 1,000 above themselves here. Full HP, fully loaded material count. This is probably the strongest position we've seen them in so far here for an endgame setup right now. I mean, it just makes you wonder, right? How many North zones you got to pull before they just continue to fine-tune the game plan, right? And they're just looking better and better as the games have gone on.
Yeah, and how they're rotating right now, I see it in the mini-map, too. They just got it down, rotated, gliding in as Ager slides in, gets that one onto Sandman. Saw it in the feed. Glad we're able to see how he's actually able to pick that one up. Proven, hey, the Mythic drum gun, even though they might not necessarily get it every game, it really could change the course of how you're getting your Storm Surge and how easily you're able to break some of those bullets through to get just 1 or 2 shots to connect.
Because Ludi clicks.
They're at the safe zone right now. Below the surge here. Zan and Evan coming late off the storm. Talk about a gift being handed to them, but still below. They got to get that damage. There it is. Okay, gives them a little bit of time. The question is, do you go for that loot, play for the heals, and kind of wait this one out? Try to force another battle is going to be the real question.
What's unfortunate about that whole situation, as they do run over, pick up the loot, is those players were weak. It was active surge, so they didn't get a ton of damage to accumulate in terms of that Storm Surge leaderboard, but they're making their way back on over. They were able to kind of see the ground before. Not too many teams were rotating through the south side of this pool. Most of them through the middle. The rest is going to be towards the north, so it's going to be a rather easy rotation for them, especially since they can go underneath the bridge. But a farther pull for Bugha, Rapid, and Threats. And if you look at their material count, if you look at the empty weapon item slots, Monster, this game has not been too good for them.
Yeah, I was just going to say, all the teams kind of taking note of Clix's rotate down that river bend is just such a beautiful rotate. A couple of teams are trailing down there. Bugha, Rapid, and Threats taking the high road, and you can see the difference here. They're met with the resistance all the way through. It really just shows you the little differences in how you approach your endgame strategy and how things are going to set up. Yamzo, Higgs, and Clix. It's no surprise that one player's down here because they had to force the engagements here, but unfortunately, Clix is going to be caught from behind. Higgs now down to put up the fight here. Great tag here onto Bugha's trio. Still looking for a little bit more. 74. Well, this is not a safe position to be in by any means right now.
38 above, 23 above.
Yamzo on the hunt here. They're playing 2 different angles. Bugha under pressure from the lobby. Rapid falls probably to the storm there, so Higgs is going to be excited about that. They're gonna know, hey, the team to our right could be a potential pickup, but first, gotta get to the new zone here.
Oh, and it does cut back on over towards the north. You see the whole edge of that zone right now overcrowded. Bugha's feeling the pressure of it, runs out of builds, tries to go right back on over towards Threats. Creon gets cleaned up. You see the very little bit of mass being spread out between Threats and Bugha. And now they don't really have the luxury to be one of the first teams to rotate. They have to let all these teams rotate out first before they can even move a step. But over on that left side, Muzz, Rise, Yapko, they already made their way on over. Agers, Acorn, Pollo, Peterbot, Cold, Ritual, a lot of our top teams on that leaderboard being very, very proactive for these next couple of zones.
Yeah, Agers, Pollo, and Acorn continue to do these late rotates. This is like an after game one adjustment to their strategy. Peterbot somehow a little lagging behind as well here on the move, but I'm most interested in the high ground. Reet is on height. Let's not forget, Reet came into this game in second place, so if Peterbot, Cold, and Ritual can't find themselves some prime position to make this end game go all the way through to the end, it's going to be all but over for that lead they've managed to build themselves. Look at this setup right here. They have fully connected this space now. They are matted up to the gills here, and it is looking like a coup win here potentially.
Yeah, what a transformation of this trio. Reet starting off as the IGL, then the global champion, takes the driver's seat a little bit. Dual forces here is underneath Pollo, Acorn, Agers. Just trying to make sure everybody stays off of their low ground. If they cross their path, it is going to come at a risk, but now moving up over the mountain. They find an opportunity. Bugha goes down. That was what they were looking at. Since they no longer could solidify it, they see Threats as well. They're assessing the situation right now, seeing if any of that loot can be theirs to grab. But the zone is going to pull back to over towards the south, so no max pulls for anybody in this lobby.
And this is kind of interesting because Peterbot, Cold, and Ritual have all this old material they can recycle essentially for this rotate. However, we know they're not content with not being active in these end games. Expect them to make a big move, and no one has looked up for high ground just yet. So what you have right now is Coop, Curly, and Reet with this monstrous, fully kind of developed fortress taking place right now. And it's only going to become more and more difficult to overtake them. Meanwhile, Peterbot, Cold, and Ritual, like I said, we're going to be looking for them to get active right here.
And already you're seeing a team below, a team above, not letting them have that easy rotation over. But on the other side, it actually a launch pad coming up. Oh no, they broke the launch pad. Peterbot goes down.
Peterbot dead.
Everybody
right now is
Peter
just died.
off script, trying to make something happen.
Peter just
with
died.
The wonders that are right in front of them.
Everyone's
Cold
going
and
for
Ritual
Peter.
yet
Oh my
again,
god,
down
Peter
as
died.
a duo.
Cold and Rich were still alive. They showed it in the game.
They
literally
everything went south at the same time, and we caught it on broadcast. That is just crazy. I'm wondering what's going through the minds of these players right now, but Aminish and Braids have a chance now. Kind of as they control this second height layer. They're looking up, they're looking down. Still not content with exactly what they're going to do just yet. They're going to play for the front side of the zone. Meanwhile, Iamzo and Higgs are still alive. Now officially inside the top 10. Acorn, Aegis, and Pollo had been taken out to the hands of Taki's trio there. And this is just really starting to go downhill for everyone else in the lobby. But if you're Recoup and Curly, you are absolutely thrilled at the opportunity here to start dropping your way up to the top of the standings.
And this is the very first time throughout these past couple zones the team has even had a chance to try to look up, and they're being persistent on top of that. So they're going to have to really start thinking of a plan B if things do go sideways. And Reed's already being the lead charge. He's going to try to reconnect, but down below, it's Cold and Ritual running wild yet again. Even with Peterbot going down, they deserve all the credit in the world for making something of these games, particularly Ritual, because once again, in another game, he's a solo.
And Muzz and Jacko still up too. This is insane. All the teams that have continued to make these endgame placement points are still in the running. Muzz, Rise, and Jacko, arguably the only healthy trio that can actually challenge for height. Did Reed's team expend too much material? We're going to find out here and now as the pressure finally starts to come up. But he breaks the build there. Can he get some damage? No. They end up using the kneecappers to get off here. But look at how they've already started preemptively editing these floors down. They're thinking about making the break here. Players starting to come down, though. You can see it from Reed's perspective. 28 builds still, plenty to work with. Kneecapper in hand as he jumps up, just really taking advantage of the high ground hold here.
Near miss. No, even takes a little bit of fall damage.
Oh my God, Reed!
That's a big blunder.
Yo!
Still battling for it.
Reed!
Rise. They're trying to
Reed's
make their way
team,
up.
oh my
Yapko's
gosh,
still
no
alive.
way.
The trio's taking everything they got and putting it to the test as Cooper goes down as well. And now we have another team on the high ground. And Monster, this is redemption. Remember last game, they lost a crucial 1v1 to Clicks to lose the game overall. And now it's their time to shine.
How's the Yamzo still standing, by the way, inside the top 5, clutching up points right now? Aviv, Chip, and Skittles, though. Pressure's on them. Conversations on them right now. What can they do? But hold up. Don't count out Higgs. He's still going. 6 eliminations now.
Oh my
Trying to
gosh.
find another.
6
Reed jumps down to
eliminations.
low ground. Desperate, and he gets swallowed up by Yamzo, too. And a complete finish. Yamzo, though, goes for the sacrifice plays. Higgs play the outside of zone. Finds a shot into Muzz. He could be the disruptor. Everything's starting to fall now, and the story is unfolding as Higgs is the last man standing there behind.
Higgs was the last person. Oh my God, he just cussed up second, and then Muzz and them, which got
their revenge, and they got it on the team
got
that
first
took them
because
down
they
in
literally
that last
second
game.
and
Muzz,
first
Rise,
has
and
been
Yapko are
literally
finally
just switched
catching that
places.
form. They land at Shining
Quick,
Shafts.
and
The zone moved in
he
their
would've got
favor,
first
and they
last
played
game, and
that
they got
one to
second this game,
perfection.
and
All the way
Muzz
down,
wasn't
Monster,
his
to
team got
poking
second
up that
last game,
high
and
ground
then
play
got
at
first
the
game this game.
perfect moment to take down
Wow,
Curly,
that's
Rise,
crazy.
and
Clicks and
Cooper.
them
Love
just
to see
clutched
the
up a
story
second
kinda
now.
go back and forth right now.
That's crazy.
But it's all eyes on Muzz, Rise, and Japko here to talk about having the heart to go for high ground here. We thought it was all but over as Coop and Ritual or Reet there had the high ground kind of safe and sound. But look at Japko cook here, picking up Elim after Elim, and then closes the deal onto Higgs. And Higgs nearly clutched that one out. What a game 4 that was for us there, Zeke.
Let's go, Muzz! Let's go, Muzz! Yapko and Rise! We now have had 2 games back-to-back super solid from the duo. We don't talk about those first 2 games, Vivid. Don't worry about those games. They don't exist. But to see this trio come out strong, we're starting to hit the ground running. We're starting to build that momentum. Has got to feel so good for the trio. That was a crazy game. Height swapping hands, trios looking to fight other trios in different situations, saying like, hey, I ain't got nothing, you ain't got nothing. Let's just fight. Let's see how it goes.
You know, I feel like not looking at their first 2 games is almost is a disservice to them. I think by showing that the first 2 games were really rough for them, and then they in game 3 we saw this just tiny little adjustments being made, and then we see what can happen when you're able to kind of self-reflect and look at what changes you need. And this is what happened. Muzz, Yapko, and Rise now able to get the first victory royale of the day for them, and they did it in a fashion that we hadn't really seen yet for North America, which is taking high ground around zone 11. So many times, Vivid, we've seen these teams just kind of let whoever has high ground control high ground, and Muzz said, we saw what happened to us last game, we're now going to take it.
I gotta say, zone 11, even into zone 12 here, one of the hardest moments to actually take high ground, I feel like, in Fortnite competitive. I mean, super impressive for them to kind of pull it off, but I mean, there was just no like pressure kind of being returned from the high ground team from Reet, Cooper, and Curly, right? Like they were kind of just up there kind of shooting
Higgs
for free.
did his job.
No pressure being returned. They finally get the builds knocked down. One of the trios or one of the members of the trio on height goes down to the fall damage. Is super well played. They kind of applied that pressure throughout the entirety of the end game, and finally when that pressure ended up paying off, they of course went for the take, the 3v2, and cleaning it up. Again, we have like the head-to-head trio, Clicks' trio versus Muzz's trio at the end. Of course, this time flip-flopping around. Muzz's trio comes out on top, gets that win, but super great Fortnite from this trio for the past 2 games.
Clicks.
Absolutely, bro. We are
Both those
again
trios.
trying to play for consistency. We've got 3 spots on the line. When it globals, pressure is on. With 2 games left to go, we can't wait to show you guys the standings. But first, a quick break. When we return, about to blow your mind. See you in a little bit.
I do appreciate you for joining. If you haven't already, like, subscribe, comment, it's cool, poster for the item shop. And, like, I think you already did. You voted on the poll. Thank you, dude. Appreciate you for coming in. Crazy games been happening for it. I'm back. We're back. That was insane.
All right, welcome back to the
Last two
FNCS.
games.
Time to blow your mind. Okay, are you ready for this? Because we're gonna look at these standings, and when you see who's at the top of these standings, prepare to have your mind blown. It's a tie, 310 to
What?
310 right now.
It's tied.
Flux is going head to head with Peter.
It's
Bot,
tied,
Higgs,
guys. Oh my
Ianzo,
gosh. It's
Ritual,
literally
Cold.
tied.
It's a battle. I mean, David, quick math. The points hit me.
What points? 310 minus 310 is 0. Zeke, they're tied,
No,
man.
third place, Vivid. Read my mind.
Oh, the third place. 57. Boom.
Oh,
job.
good. That was fast math.
That's crazy.
My
Dude, he's
goodness.
so good at math. I cannot believe
Wow.
after just 4 games here in Major number 2 finals, we are already seeing 2 trios stand above the rest, and they're tied. And again, Kelly, when trios like this start to pull away from
Insane.
everybody
They're
else,
already tied.
it gets that much more
Clicks
difficult to try and rein them in.
Ianzo and Higgs.
I mean, I
But he
want to
clutched
see this
out
because I
that.
want to see
Higgs
clicks
clutched
at
that.
globals, but someone stop Peterbot, please.
It's so hard to stop Peterbot. Actually, I should change that. It's so hard to stop Cold and Ritual right now because they have just been doing such a good job when they go down into a duo. And obviously, Peterbot is grabbing a ton of eliminations in the early and mid game so that when he does go down, he's still bringing value to his trio here. But truly, it is definitely Cold and Ritual that have been carrying these end games, Vivid.
Yeah, I can't believe we're in like game 4 and we haven't had Peterbot kind of alive in the final moments for the trio, right? Like crazy stuff. Haven't had a Peterbot-esque game. I was for sure thinking, first 3 games, whatever. We'll start the same in game 4, game 5. Has not shown up yet, but that just means that Ritual and Cold, they're showing up for sure. And another trio that, of course, is showing up. Heck, I say trio. Why don't we go ahead and keep talking on duos right now? Higgs and Ianzo being the duo, kind of the pop off this game, clutching up from 19th, 18th place when Clicks went down all the way to 2nd place as a
nuts.
duo. Eventually Higgs being the solo. That's crazy.
He literally, every time we would turn back to Higgs, he would now have 2 more eliminations. Just every time we went to look at him, he's just going back and back, and he's doing such a good job right now, especially when we saw Clicks have such an incredible end to game number 3 there. To carry that momentum on after Clicks goes down just a little bit early is exactly what they need right now. They're an emotional team. They definitely fly off of those vibes, and so I think Higgs being able to make it into the final 2 teams is definitely keeping those vibes up right now.
Wow.
And we said it at the start of the show, the only way a team is going to be able to rival Ritual, Cold, and Peterbot is if they can bring the elims like they can. And look at that, Zeke. It is just a 1 elim difference between those 2 trios.
It's so crazy, isn't it, Kelly? The way they're mirroring each other, right? Like, look at the placement points, look at the elims, look at the VRs. They are taking steps at the same time, just little tiny differences, and yet they are still going head to head. And remember, Ritual, Cold, and Peterbot, they're already qualified, right? So if we ended the tournament right now, 2nd through 4th place would be securing themselves a seat on the battle bus going to globals, right? Like, obviously we still have more games to play, but man, these trios are showing up and just putting on some fantastic Fortnite. With 2 games left to go, what are we hoping to see out of this game? Like, I would love to see more Reet, of course, but like, is there things you guys are hoping to see with 2 games left to go?
That's exactly what I was going to say. I want to see a Reet victory royale. When you look at the leaderboard right now, it is all of the big names with a single VR, except for Reach Trio.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's what everybody's kind of asking for right now. And I know one in particular person who's probably about to crash out is definitely asking for it. A South Zone, right? I mean, Kanada's trio, Jacob kind of called it out that game. They're the trio right now with the most distance traveled. So they're really putting on an effort to kind of make it into the end games. But like I mentioned, right, landing at the southeast side all the way in that corner. I mean, most of the zones they're going to have to run, but holy cow, some of these zones, they've really got to run.
Okay, everyone, just manifest South Zone. Okay, here we go. Together now. Manifest South Zone. Okay, Jacob PR, MDF, manifest South Zone. Keep manifesting it.
Come on, Zeke. We know you are not changing the script. We know what's going on over there. This has been some incredible stuff. I mean, if you get these zones like this, you need to be up at the top of the standings. And you know what? For Clix' trio, they're doing just that.
Yeah, and it's coming off the back of changing their entire strategy in the last Division Cup finals, because more times than not, they loot their POI, they go to the black market, and they find their surge there. So a huge switch up, and it's actually working out for them. With game number 5 ready, let's get into it.
Let's do it, guys.
This is it
5.
right now, Monster. A first place tie at
First place tie is
310
insane.
points. 2 games left to close out our
crazy,
day.
guys.
Then everybody gets
First
a little bit of a
place
break.
tie right
A
now.
little bit of break to hit the
I
vibe
can't believe
reviews, make what little
they're
adjustments you
tied.
can, because then tomorrow we crown
They're
a
tied
new
right now.
FNCS champion for Major 2.
Yeah, and the truth is, I mean, how do you adjust after the first 4 games play out almost identically back to back to back? Like I said, the teams that started performing well just look to be refining their strategy ever so slightly game after game, and this is exactly why the leaderboard looks the way it does right now. And Zeke called it best. If you just ended the tournament right now, I mean, it is going to come down to the teams that, of course, are well within that top 5 right now, and they're starting to break away with a monstrous lead. In Jacob, what I'm thinking about, what does that do to the mental, fatigue, right? Game after game, getting eliminated, maybe short of where you want to be. Like, a lot of this does come down to mentality.
Yeah, and I do think tomorrow, some of those teams, we might see a switch get flipped, a little bit more aggression, especially in some of these contested fights where you want to try to get, a victory or a disengage. Obviously, you want to win as fast as possible, and already double knocks going down for both of these teams, but only one of them is instantly going to be revived, and it's actually 3 teams overall at Brutal Boxcars, and these are the type of things I expect to continue on for day 2, depending on where you're at on the leaderboard. If you want to make some money, if you want to go to the global championship, or you want to win the FNCS, you're going to have to make up the pace with eliminations.
Oh, yes. I mean, and you know what? Some teams do well on day 2. Let's go back to history, right? With Acorn and what he's been able to kind of restructure and bounce back, but there's other trios that have never done that, right? They just don't have it in them, and or it's even harder to go ahead and kind of dig deep and find that moment for yourself. But again, so many new trios are here, a lot of new opportunity. Let's just go ahead and lock in for this little battle right now. Polish Jackson, Zach, find him looking to initiate here onto Cyrus, Zyre, and Naps. Okay, so Cyrus's team here putting some points on the board now, finally catching their momentum, right? Catching a little streak for themselves here coming into game number 5, and for once they have to drop to themselves, but it's going to be short-lived as Noah W plays his team, starts to rotate in. They find Polis disengaging on the outskirts here. I expect a full collapse here shortly.
Especially since he is going to be a solo. I for a second thought his teammates were on top of the Brutal Boxcars mountain, but nope, he's just by himself. And there's a lot of pressure on his shoulders to at least give his team a chance to reboot something in this game. As you jump on board, Noah, Chaos, Kaz is not staying as long as they would over towards the black market. This time around, they're just going to get their loot and get on out. Muzz, Rise, Yapko, quick to get their early elimination onto 1 and push the team out. And this is where I'm saying everything kind of speed up here in the 5th game of the day.
Time is flying by as well, as these rounds are already starting to come to a close. Muzz, Japco, and Rise, though, look at their points right now. Just jumping back up into the conversation after somehow finding themselves trailing out 2 games. Basically, the first and second not going in their favor, falling somewhat in the middle of the pack, and then a second and first place back-to-back against the likes of Clix's Trio. So love to see these stories just start to come full circle, but it also shows you that you can come back from a bad position on the standings with 2 big games. So do not count these trios out for games 5 and 6. Anything can still occur here.
I think there's still the chance of when you get into day 2, how many drop spots will change up overall. We've already seen some throughout the day on NA, as it does look like Boltz, Kanata, and Sphinx did get that armored vehicle, extra heals, and just rotating right towards the Kappa Kappa factory. Very, very similar strategy they did in that last game to get some early surge.
Gotta appreciate these early surge strategies. However, this one right here, ooh, I was gonna say it's like playing chicken. Like, who's gonna jump first? King jumps first there. I'm not even sure Kanata saw him, but after the rock broke, clearly Kanata's looking to dive in now. It's just straight jokes when you really think about it.
Feel sorry for him, but it's only going to be a knock. His teammate, solo player, still down low at the POI. They dropped at. He's trying to pickaxe. Doesn't necessarily, I don't think it works the same with the med mist. I think it's just the water sprites for the most part. But you're seeing everybody just trying to get as many tricks underneath their sleeve. Storm Surge, it kind of frees up your game plan. You can continue to stay in your surge tower. You can rotate early while every other team has to stagger themselves back. It gives you a lot of options as they look across. Phenom trying to dodge the initial fight at the bridge, but the fight comes to him. He goes down regardless.
Yeah, unfortunately taken out right there. And Eulogy, Yusuf left to contemplate their decisions, and no, Yusuf taken out as well. So Eulogy just completely doubling back now here, kind of giving up the positioning. Player along the outskirts. Probably not even going to have an opportunity to play for those cards either. It's given the way the zone's going to be, but it seems like he's just going to go ahead and chance it here. Jacob is just going to hang out, see if he can pick up those cards in a couple minutes.
Yeah. Luckily for him, we might have another north zone. You already see it on the edge, pulling up towards the north, pulling towards the west just a little bit. And so for him, he's just hoping a lot of those teams that, particularly the one that got the eliminations, continues to rotate towards the north along with the zone. That'll allow him to go back into the zone, get the reboot back up, and depending on how far it pulls, his teammate will be able to get a little bit of a chance to let up. Cyrus taking down Polus. We saw Polus was a solo, so that team is out of the game here in game number 5. They got one more last chance on the day, and hopefully they can make some minor adjustments with the time that they have at their hands.
Let's try to get some tags.
You can see while we're chilling in the early game, go check out that shop. Pretty sick merch. They're starting to approach the FNCS Pro-Am coming up. There's so much exciting stuff happening here. It's definitely feeling like such a finals weekend so far. Got to respect the competitors, giving us an amazing set of first 4 games. And things are just heating up. Things are just getting interesting now, Jacob, because we have a tie, right? 3-10 between Peterbot, Ritual, and Cold, Clix, Yamzo, and Higgs.
See, they've averaged 11.7 eliminations per finals this season. And you can see that's on a kind of a downward trend, because game 1 they have 6, game 3 they have 7, last game they have 7. The only game they have at that average or more is game 2, where they actually were able to pull off that victory royale. And you're seeing how the change of pace is really affecting a team like this, rightfully so. The most aggressive team, I feel like, in the history of the game, particularly the FNCS. And when you kind of force them to slow things down, really think about their moves, sometimes it just gives your opponents a little bit more time to work with and kind of formulate a strategy to fight back.
Just to go down history lane, I think the most aggressive team in all history, MMB.
Ah, you got
it. You know. All right, I'm just gonna put it out there. Peterbot is the GOAT, but the trio GOATs, MMB all day. But Tony, Noisy, Creon right here, getting active right now. A little bit of a kind of messy fight here for the teams here, but Brutal Boxcars has just been this all day long. You know, starting off, Tony's team was doing so well, maintaining kind of their top 5 position, and it just seems like that strategy not sustainable for them, as it's kind of like digested its way down into just, again, messy fight here at the Brutal Boxcar.
And it almost surprises me because of the buff, so to say, to pump power, where they're landing at, the extra gold, the dill bits, you can see the extra splashes, and the mythic AR that they no longer have because they just lost it in Creon. I would expect them to kind of be following suit to the meta, you know, using the extra heals that they know they can get from the black market to try to get Surge, but they're staying true to what they know, playing aggressive. Unfortunately enough, though, it did cost them in this game, giving up not only that mythic collateral AR, they gave up some splashes, they gave up hope to Josh, Causers, and Magma.
Yeah, definitely, and they're just going to move on out, so everyone here just somewhat disengaging, but another team rotating in, so we'll catch up with that fight in just a second. And now that we just catch up, let's catch up with Curly, Rhea, and Coop here.
This game and another game.
They have just found themselves in high ground. They found themselves in multiple end games, and time again, they've played this so well. Last game, though, you just couldn't expect
I'll
Muzz's
try.
trio.
If
Kelly
during a break, I'll
had
try
a
to
feeling
help
that Muzz's trio was going to end up taking a stab at it, but
3 to
for
5,
so long, no one looked up. No one even tried to contest them, right?
Yeah.
It makes you wonder, why is it that they
do.
had so much time up there by themselves?
Yeah, it's just, I think the chaos of the zone pulling towards the north, a lot of
Good
teams
for him.
expending their materials, and then Storm
Yeah,
Surge
good for
on top of that, kind of forcing everybody to go box to box, toe to toe. Bryce just peeking out, trying to land some shots on Evan and Sandman, and Peterbot over
Peterbot
towards
and
Crime
Ritual
City.
getting
Finally a
in
fight
there
where they can start to feel a little bit more confident, and that's going to show as Peterbot gets the first drop onto JoJo Fishy. Pike's trying to disengage, but Cold hot on his tail. And immediately as he runs away, they backtrack to try to 3v1 the last solo that's here, which is a Yoxi. Luckily for him, his teammate's going to get a chance regardless of what happens to get the reboot cards.
I like this push right here from Peterbot, Ritual, and Cold. This is looking very reminiscent of Major 1 type aggression right now. Taking these fights, wrapping them up, and getting the damage this way.
See, I thought he was going to be able to get out. It was just a wild thought in my imagination. But Peterbot, he's getting back to his old form, Monster. He went and pushed him as a solo. He said, you two handle this. I'll take charge on the other side. And this is after already getting this elimination on the JoJo Fishy to open up the fight.
You see JoJo, like, he was just so many steps behind. Peterbot already had the cone in there. It was
Where's
already,
Quince?
you
Yeah,
know,
I got the
kind
elimination.
of building. My gosh. It shows you how sharp he is.
Oh, quick, dude.
Updating the look on the standings here in real time. Ritual, Cold, and Peterbot set of eliminations thrust them way up. 4 points for Elam really does start to come into effect,
Way past
especially later into the tournament when teams start to slow down, really think about their positioning, and almost, you know, harbor the fact that they are in the standings, in the race for a win. It's always those adjustments in the strategy that
died.
can end up backfiring. But a team like Ritual, Cold, and Peterbot, they've already qualified for Globals. They are just playing differently, and they're going to continue to play better because they don't have those pressures, right? That's my one concern about Clix, Yamzo, and Higgs.
Yeah, and I know I said it last game about Kanada's team. Well, after game number 4, there's a new team in first in terms of distance traveled on the map, and that's Cold, Peterbot, and Ritual. It's not a large number distance, maybe like 6 meters between them and Kanada's team, but it just goes to show, even though they do land
Bucky,
closely towards the north side of the
Ed,
zone, they're still constantly rotating around, trying to find damage so that
they
they
have
don't
it,
end
you know, a lot
up
of-
having to think about it when they're already below the
over to
threshold
check
and really out of options. See the Brutal Box cars just at the edge of the mountain. That's where Bucky, Cam, and Oka is going to position themselves at. It's kind of separated, though. You see Oka's on the side of the mountain with the drum gun. He's going to be the one kind of appointed the role of just spotting out a lot of these teams with that thermal scope.
I was going to say, I don't know why they're down here. We all know they need to start heading towards Magic Mosses. This mountain is only going to be briefly lived.
There's
Visual
Higgs
Braids and
over there.
Diminish.
Oh, at the,
A little bit of an
I don't know
exchange
what
here at the
it's
Brutal.
called.
Seems
I
like
get the
Muzz's
name
team
of the
has
PY, but
managed to rotate ahead.
big house.
Already cutting off these
Yeah,
late
Wolf
trios.
Boys. The Wolf is the Wolf boss.
This is where really where I start to make you think, because there's that trio right in front of them, just outside of Brutal. Remember, we saw Bucky, Okus, and Cam. Just south of Brutal, a team Visual Braids and Diminish could potentially run into. And so they got to start assessing the situation. They look at all these structures built from small boxes to surge bases, and they're just trying to formulate a strategy of how are we going to rotate into this mess. Going towards the mountain might not be our best play.
Oh,
So I can
shoot.
see a team like them rotating to the north
Peterbot,
and then
Cold,
going to the
Ritual.
east
They're
to try
trying
to
to go
find
after
their
the
comfort.
Yogzo.
And here's a team that hasn't moved from their drop. Still Peterbot, Ritual, and Cold. Oh, for a second, I thought we jumped in with Clixus. I'm tripping. Peterbot, Ritual, and Cold at the low of layer. I was like, hold up. Got a little too comfortable with the team that's normally here. Look at this ridiculous stat. Peterbot has had the most damage dealt in his last 4 FNCS finals across everyone, essentially on the region, really showing you just how much of a force, how much of a juggernaut he is. I would say, though, this final so far, right after these first 4 games, Ritual and Cold really have been the center force
Clicks and
of
them
this
had them
team's
move away.
dynamic, of the team's success.
They did try to destroy him.
Uh-oh. Ooh, did they get it?
Oh shoot.
I thought it was just barely hanging on with the med miss smoke. 20 is going to go down. Liam and Broken from one fight. They're already getting pursued by Visuals, Braids, and a Minish. Looking this has a chance of some easy surge, as Broken is going to be on the other side.
Visual movements and Braids.
Slow playing their role right here. They don't want to get too antsy, because remember, this is all enemy territory in terms of builds. They're really just trying to just take their time. They have the gold splashes, extra pickaxe swing. They see Liam on the other side. Now it's a decision of how they're going to try to 3v1. They do have an opportunity here. Liam tries to break his way down, skirts his way through these boxes, just a little bit of safety.
See Visuals losing track for a second, kind of getting frazzled in the mix there. And I gotta say, the pacing, this game has been honestly very much consistent. We haven't had a dull moment yet. So many teams looking to engage on one another. Peterbot mixing up the strategy here, really bringing us a whole new dynamic right to their playstyle right now. And this zone is still playing to the north, so very, very interesting to watch how, again, teams are refining their plays round after round, especially when the zones have been very much similar every single game. But Liam re-engaging now onto the team, but Visuals
We have
side jump
had
here,
a
both
big
sides
shot of Visual.
knowing that they punished each other though. The confidence is there. It's going to come down to one few shot. Braids though gets tagged in the exchange, and a beautiful piece right there onto Broken.
Took him out.
Gonna put them in the lead now. 700 damage above from 200 to 7. They're very much comfortable now.
There's Bucky, Okus, and them on top.
And they can focus primarily on those rotations. You saw the battle that they're going to have to go through as it
Oh, there's
literally
the dog.
goes
Oh,
over
just
Magic
got a
Mosses
release.
again. No, this is not Deja Vu or a rerun. It's just where we like to see our competitors try to frantically find their way in. 681 for Reek, Cooper, and Curly. Not much distance for them to cover from Flooded Fogs to where they're at now, but instead of going deep into the zone, they're going to find themselves onto the edge and kind of box up and make space, seeing if they can spot out some other teams in the distance, but they get spotted out first by Taki, Ishao, and Vert. Just some cheeky shots being traded back and forth, nothing to connect and nothing to build the confidence to go in.
They're in Storm. I don't know why.
Fortnite servers could be working on its own personal record for the amount of Magic Moss's endgames in consecutive order on a finals day. As we are approaching zone 6 now, and I'm just looking at the northwest lining here from Tyler Curve and Shadows. They're gonna have to continue to
Clicks it up. They're in
make
Storm.
this trek across the field.
I think they want to be in Storm.
Past the pump power. Love the double splash here to make sure they're capped off, but someone's lurking behind and finds a couple cheeky tags there before they get on the move. Meanwhile, Phenom Osid, oh no, below the surge here. Price is barely handing on as well. G Monster falls there. They just get themselves above the threshold here. Talk about an unfortunate turn of events here just outside the pump power, and they're also left to play the Storm, so they really don't have much to work with.
Yeah, they're going to take a long rotation around, but since it is pulling, a lot of those teams will end up stacked on the south side, so they're kind of relying on the fact that they're hoping the north side, rather slow approach, is going to have less congestion, an easier spot for them to position themselves in. As Peterbot Ritual cold. I wouldn't say they're the highest team up, because you look across, you see the only other team threatening that position, but they have their eyes on them. That's a team they're going to be looking at from zone to zone, depending on where it pulls, to make sure that they're the ones that have the best chance to solidify high ground.
Yeah, the team I would be most concerned with is definitely that Muzz, Japco, and Rise trio right there. We've already saw that they have the ability to retake high ground, even from some of the best on the region. Meanwhile, look at this high ground hold right here. Clicks, Higgs, and Iamzo. No surprise to see them once again positioned very, very well here. And not only that, they're kind of away from the congested southern area, right? They've already read this playbook here, and they're doing it very, very perfectly as far as their position is concerned. Oz is kicking things off with the kneecapper, opening up a nice little elimination for himself there.
Beautiful shots by Causers. Remember, he was the one early on that took down Creon. That's how he was able to get these extra splashes. That's how he was able to get the Mythic Collateral AR. But since they were so congested over at Brutal Boxcars, you see they weren't really allowed a lot of opportunities to get surged, and so they're barely 34 above, and with his teammate getting knocked, it's a lot of pressure on him as a solo. As you see where it's going to pull all the way on over towards the east, so a good portion of the lobby getting a medium-sized pull, but there are some players that did get that max.
Yeah, definitely. Clix's Trail was one of the few teams on that max pull here. Boyo, Agers, and Acorn sizing up the high ground team. No surprise there, and they notice another trio goes for the break.
Oh,
it's actually
shoot.
Acorn who sets
Oh
up
my
the break.
gosh,
So
they
they
just
had the
all
information
fell down.
downloaded
They all
because
died.
Acorn was
They
under
all
the
died. I
base.
think they all probably
And now
all died.
we're gonna be looking to rotate
They,
across
they
here.
all just died. He just got all the
Splash comes out.
Wow.
The commit here now.
Wow,
And there they go. High ground is there. Shout out to Acorn with the information play right there.
What? We'll get Peterbot under him. Peterbot's
That was
under him.
perfect for them, and now they're the team just at the edge of the zone on high ground, but they look across, immediately set their eyes on Bolt Sphinx and Kanata, and go to work yet again. Agers.
Only being by
Precision is his specialty, and he took no damage while at it. And for a lot of these teams that are already positioned on the high ground, it's just a waiting game, see where the zone pulls. But for down below, you're seeing a lot of the chaos erupt. They become the focus, shots breaking through, but they're able to get the double revive off. Quick med miss smoke going down. But eventually they're going to have to turn this situation around because they're only 3 damage above the threshold. They have to figure out a way to work, and they have to figure it out now because they've just fallen below.
The metal being the big difference for them right there, keeping them in the game here. But 28 above, barely holding on here. A slither of hope in a dream right now. This is the worst we've seen Curly, Ree, and Coop right now as we're approaching into this final rotating zones here. And they're right amongst the congestion, trying to decide which way to go here and now. Layers are available, barely any, but nice little find for some loot there. Still though, greed starting to kick in here as they're trying to just kind of regather themselves. That little fight just cost them so much material usage there. Meanwhile, Acorn, Boyo have that high ground on block right now. And take a look at what they're doing, just putting down so much pressure. You would have thought Kanata would have been happy, put a little bit of a zone pull there, but no, force to kind of rotate back across now. So you get one, and you get to get taken by another there.
There's really nobody that's really positioned themselves on the front side of zone high ground just yet. Kanata, Bolt Sphinx, they're on that side. Aviv, Skittles, Chimp, they're on that side as well, but they might not have the material to back it up. But on the low ground, 300 plus damage above. You're seeing them find little opportunities like this. It's actually Cooper. Remember when they were getting focused? This is who was at the cause of it all. Cold, Peterbot, Ritual. They take down Cooper and leave them as a duo.
The big play right here. Peterbot, Ritual, and Cold haven't looked any better than this. Cap material, final moving zone starting to play out here. And we might be witnessing this team really look to separate themselves from the pack.
Trying to separate each other.
Not before
That's
we
the
get out
problem.
with Clix
Clix
Street,
and
see
them
how
have
they're
not
doing.
got any
But
elimination.
first threats,
And they're
Rabbit and
not.
Buddha.
And
A knock
never
comes
gets
into
so much
threats, but it's not over
Clix
just
wins.
yet. High ground still being
Unless
beautifully
Clix
maintained
wins.
by Boyo, Acorn, and Agers. A
Clix
textbook
wins,
strategy
then
here
they
now.
get
Do keep
there.
in mind, though, they are so high up that they're not connected to any other builds, right? So this structure is going to become increasingly vulnerable as the zone starts to pull across.
So we're going to be looking at some teams, particularly this one, to maybe see if they like the odds of being able to look at high ground. Clixie, Amzo, Higgs, they're getting pressured. Backside of the zone, he almost gets lost from the rest of his teammate, but he's still figuring out a way back. Almost going through unscathed until that moment. 50 shields gone just like that, but the builds that he just had to expend in this situation, an immense amount, but he still figures out a way back to his teammate. Meanwhile, Peterbot getting PC on the other side. Doesn't matter who crosses his path, he's ready to take him down.
Yeah, critical moment right now for all the teams on your screen here. Agers, Acorn, Boyo. It just looks like the recipe for success on NA is don't even look for height. Just take it and then play it out, ride it out, and make yourself an endgame. Meanwhile, everyone else is doing the dirty work for you. Clix's team in a box fight here down to the low ground. They're in desperate need of the refresher, but teams on both sides of the layers here. But Yato and Higgs are cooking up. And finally now they get that elimination that they were looking for down there. Peterbot, Ritual, and Cold, though, cooking on the mid-ground layer, starting to work their way up towards height. They are looking to go ahead and do something big here. Up Peterbot goes. He is inching his way up. He's got plenty of mass to play with. Look at him work.
Yep, he's already
Go to
changed
height.
layers. They didn't go for the high ground just
Yamzo's
yet,
got
but now
better
he's reassessing the
location.
situation. But as soon as that happens, they put the pressure down, and the battle's gonna
Oh
begin.
my God, they're
Peterbot's
going for it.
up. He's down.
Peterbot's going for it.
Primed, ready to go, and he's instantly
Pollo.
on the high ground. Ritual Cold on the other side. They're following
What if
suit.
they
Does
all
look like
get chopped?
Acorn probably
Imagine
made
they
the call
all
to
get chopped.
disengage. It's not worth it, especially with the materials they likely have already
What
expended.
if they all got
And look at that. He now starts to target them, gets to the front side. He is just outplaying them little by little, but Acorn's team goes for the med miss. That's the perfect play to keep this team distracted, keep them on their toes. Peterbot, Ritual, and Cold can't really get situated here, and they're starting to run out of material. There goes the little mad split count. Peterbot steps into the zone, but no! Ritual falls there from another
Ritual fell.
team that seemed to have focused them.
And high ground, it pushes back. They are all ready for it, but with Ritual going down, that leaves him in a 2v3 situation. Peterbot quickly running out of builds, 3 materials left, forced to drop down low. Cold is gonna follow, and they've retaken their glory in the clouds. Pollo, Agers, and Acorn have waited for this moment. They have 9 eliminations, and are looking for more.
Oh my.
If Ritual didn't fall there, that was a ridiculous play from Peterbot, but hold up. He's still going. Don't count him out just yet. This is what we've been waiting for.
Yeah,
now he's the last
yeah,
man
do it,
standing here.
man. That's
Rapid
fine.
barely switched
That's
away,
fine.
and he misses the chance, the opportunity for the siphon.
Peterbot
No
is the
match
last
now,
one alive.
and it's all up to
But
him.
he's gonna
We've
just
seen him in
get
these
everything
situations
he can.
before.
All the tags he
Starting the
can.
game off a little bit colder than we'd expect, but he's still hunting.
It's
A
good to see
predator
them
in the
still
jungle
alive.
right
Yamzo's
now,
the
trying
better
to figure out where they're at. And there goes almost the
Oh!
pump. That's Kaz as he
Oh
goes
my
down.
God, he
and a
just
pick
got
me
it.
up opportunity as he gets the chug jug and the siphon mats.
That's
Notice he
bad.
looks back, tries to see what else is there for me to go ahead and absorb.
No.
There's nothing.
He's going-
You
has
know
to go
where
for
blow
Clicks
up.
right now.
Clicks. Yamzo's trio just waiting there
Skittles.
for him. Down
Watch it.
bodies everywhere. The
Oh,
timing's
Clicks
got to
is
be
dead.
perfect, and then you attack. Peterbot's ready, but misses the first shot. Finds another one. Finishes off. Clicks there. Goes back to the zone. Finds a flopper. This is going to buy him a couple moments, but is it going to be enough? No, it is not. And now we're up to the last few players. Japco is up top, though, trying to play for the back-to-back victory right now, but Yamzo and Higgs are not going to let that happen.
Yep, we've seen them perform already on the day as a
Yamzo
duo.
and Higgs.
They already got a
Say it.
victory royale under their belt, and both
Oh, they-
solos are just
Yamzo,
climbing
they
higher
all
and
at
higher
7.
up. A situation didn't really expect, and now they're both into the zone. Pollo running around, trying to buy himself some extra time from second to third. There's extra points, could be the difference, but he goes
Pollo
down.
dead.
Elimination being gathered up
Yamzo
by
has to-
Yamzo.
it's
The
gonna
knee
come down, I
counters are
think.
going off, but it's not
Let's
enough.
go,
The
Clicks!
team to
Another
win 2 games today.
victory
Goes to
out.
Yamzo, Higgs, and Clicks.
Oh my God.
And it is back and forth, a race for the victories between
Wow.
Muzz's trio and Clicks is here all around, though. A spectacular showing, and who would have thought they would have won another game? Jacob,
Wow.
these North zones have to be taken off the conversation, because if it keeps going this way, it just makes sense that these teams are performing so well. But that is a part of the formula here. Let's just watch it back
Wow.
though one more time. Yamzo, Higgs, and Clicks just got so
Insane.
active at this mid game. We weren't even focused on them though, right? We were watching it from Peterbot's perspective.
Yeah, and you see in multiple eliminations, this is where Clicks eventually goes down to the Storm, but he was able to do enough damage, give his teammates enough resources to continue to hold the entirety of that low ground and everybody else behind them. They were all in shambles. Up until this point, they needed to go for a home run that did not land. Clicks, Higgs, and Yamzo, we now know they're in first. By how much, Zeke? Let us know.
Oh my God!
Wow.
Are you kidding me?
Insane.
Are you kidding me? This is the
Yeah.
craziest FNCS we've ever seen. Okay, it's it's up there. It's like top 5. I cannot
Mama
believe
win.
the quality of games we're getting today. Are you insane? Especially the fact that half of this is done by just duos, right? Oh my gosh. Congratulations to Clicks, Yamzo, and Higgs. You guys are putting on a crazy run. I just cannot believe how
and they
far
got- and they got second, they got first
411
again.
points. And to set that into perspective, Peterbot
They,
is
bro,
at
Higgs and
374
Yamzo, Clicks
right
is
now.
going down, but he does
These
so much.
guys are on a legendary run.
No, if they pass,
This
they get it
is
first.
insane. I mean,
I just don't know how
much.
much.
Higgs and Iamzo currently in first place right now, almost at the end of day one, which I don't know if we have ever
Body
actually
shot
seen. But
Yeah.
also, all of
It's
these
crazy.
end games, Vivid, are
I
mind-blowing.
just-
I
it's
couldn't
crazy,
have tried to
bro.
predict the end games being this way in a million years, where we have all the big teams grabbing victory royales and Clix grabbing the second one finally, but all these different teams controlling high ground. And we have all of our big teams coming down to duos and solos. I don't know what is going on this end game, but I'm here for it.
I mean, it's just insane to me that consistently the two teams that are getting
fun.
top two over the past 3 games are the same ones. Clix, Higgs, Iamzo,
Don't worry.
Muzz, Rise, and Yabco on the other side of it, right? They are just trading second place, first place, back and forth right now. Another incredibly well-played game from Clix, Higgs, and Iamzo, and they went into this endgame with 0 eliminations. They ended up finding 9 total. Incredible stuff, right? They're playing their end game so very, very well. And I'm not gonna lie, those first 2 games that kind of happened on the day, I was like, oh yeah, maybe, you know, they kind of showed us what we could kind of expect. Maybe the group stage was kind of giving us a little bit of insight of how it's gonna kind of go for them. We can go ahead and laugh at that group stage performance right now because they are absolutely playing so well right now.
And I love the little adjustments that we're seeing from this trio, a trio that stays to the front side of zone. But from this point on, we can see, or not this point on, it's zone 12. But earlier on in that game, they stay kind of in the middle of zone right there. And I really do appreciate that the elevation and the ground was kind of weird. And I think that they avoided the front side of low ground because of that. And that allowed them to kind of recuperate themselves when Clix did go down. So again, love just these micro adjustments that are coming from these trios.
7th, 8th, 1st, 2nd, 1st. My goodness. Clix breaks the 4th place curse, and we get a day 1 performance like this. The day's not done. A single game left to go, and of course, 6 games tomorrow. But if Clix keeps this up, wow. With that being said, we have to prepare ourselves for that last game before we say goodbye. So for now, a break. When we return, we'll break down a few more things and set up for game number 6 from finals. So we'll see you real soon.
Insane, bro. I can't believe that. Clix, bro. Iamzo and Higgs are literally just streaming, bro. I'll be right back, guys. This is about to be the last game of the day. Clix and Netflix. It's getting crazy.
That is really cool that your guys doing so good, man.
Yeah, but it does. He has to do good tomorrow too.
It's all together.
2 days, yeah. Like, he could do good today, but if he messes up tomorrow, then he's got to keep it up.
Now, is it just him or is it his team?
He's a trio.
Right.
Quicks, it's Quicks, Yabzo, and Higgs. He used to be called Batman Booga. Yeah.
Welcome back, Fortnite fam, to the FNCS. Day number 1 of finals is on its last game. Day 1 is about laying the foundation. So day number 2, we can come back stronger and look to claim one of 3 spots going to globals later this year. This last game, Clix, Yamzo, Higgs got themselves yet another victory royale. They are almost 100 points ahead of 3rd place. Now, obviously, we talked about Clix, Higgs, and Yamzo. Before we went to breaks, we wanted to kind of go ahead and head down the standings, right? Let's go ahead and focus in on Peterbot, who is not letting go.
So, just to remind everyone of Major 1, we actually saw at the end of day 1, Ritual, Cold, and Peterbot 90 points below first place, Agers, Acorn, and Poyo. And so, mathematically speaking, if we see another similar game from Peterbot, Ritual, and Cold, they'll be in a better position than where they were in Major 1 after the end of day 1. Now, this is something that we've talked about for the last 2 years about Peterbot especially, is that he is a day 2 player. Historically speaking, throughout all the majors, they have performed exponentially, or not exponentially, but they perform better in day 2. And now with there not being a 1.5x multiplier for the points like what we saw for Major 1, that's no longer going to have as big of an impact as we've seen last year. However, this is the first game we've seen Peterbot have that solo clutch, Vivid, that we know he can pull out.
Yeah, I don't know what happened with that flopper right there. Right before the flopper went off, looks like he picked up the Chug Jug, which ended up replacing the flopper in his inventory, so that one didn't go off. Could have maybe potentially even got more from that one right there. But they did such a good job of taking height. They had so many materials. Peterbot just used it to go ahead and pretty much just free build up to the high ground. Took it from Acorn, Agers, and Poyo, but it was just one of those scenarios again where Acorn, such a good play, just dipped out in the storm, had a couple of med miss. They just sat back there, and Peterbot knew. He tried to even push into the storm to 1v3 them to prevent that. Ultimately could not do it, but yeah, still good game from them.
Yeah, another great game, obviously, from Poyo, Agers, and Acorn. We saw, once again, Zone 8, a little bit of a tower, which eventually turned into this incredible tarp that they had throughout the entirety of that game until Peterbot did try and steal. But the recovery that we had from this trio, just like you were saying, Vivid, them, once they lost height, pulling back a little bit, healing up, and then going once again for the high ground take. I loved being able, it's not just what do you do right, but that when things go wrong for you, how do you handle it? And this is one of the trios that handles it best.
Yeah, and we got to give a quick shout out to Muzz, Yabco, and Rise, right? Because while that was all going on between those 2 trios, they looked up and they were like, hey, listen, we can go ahead and take height again. After games 1 and 2, they were in 19th place. They're now in 5th. What a rise from that trio.
I want to talk about so many more trios, but unfortunately, time is out, which means we've got to go back aboard that battle bus for the last time tonight. Yes, I know we are already at game number 6. So buckle up, get your popcorn, because this is it. After today, we call it quits. We come back tomorrow and hope we've VOD reviewed, learned, or done whatever we've needed to do to secure one of 3 spots going to the Global Championship. With that being said, for the last time today, MDF Jacob PR, take it away.
Yeah, let's do it, guy.
Thank you, Zeke, and that's right. 6 games of Fortnite on the first day, 6 more tomorrow, and we're already in the final moments here. Jacob, who would have thought it'd play out in this way? And now Clix having 40 points ahead of Peterbot's trio is definitely making it interesting.
Yeah, and I saw on social media after that game that prophecy is what they're calling it, and will that be fulfilled here? It's the last game of the day, Monster. Let's jump right into it.
Gotta see. Quicks can hold on to it.
I was talking about the prophecy because if you look at the EU leaderboards of who's on first place, if you look at the match history of Clix, Higgs, and Yamzo, it is almost identical. They just need to go through this one last game of the day. But what you've also seen, Monster, is a lot of jumps up to the top spots on that leaderboard. We will not crown an FNCS champion today, but the goal is to get as